Sup, my fellas. Don't forget to leave feedback, and enjoy the story. A glowing sign heralds the arrival in the ominous land of the dead, Necropia. Under a blood-red sky, a lifeless realm stretches wide as winged shadows glide past the glowing moon. Above the bleak expanse of Necropia, a single imposing castle rises, shrouded in mystery. Within, a vast cathedral hall reveals golden pillars and intricate murals. A magnificent marble hall filled with elaborate sculptures comes into view. An ultimate symbol of power and control is introduced. From the shadows, a spiked black gauntlet emerges, signaling a powerful presence. A dark, armored figure sits upon a massive throne, asserting absolute rule over Necropia. A sinister, spiked crown-wearing figure emerges from darkness, radiating overwhelming power. After a century wielding power over death, the Transcendent One realizes humans are not meant to control such forces. Once, before all changed, Karnak was the illegitimate son of a disgraced noble family. Losing his mother early and enduring constant noble pressure, he was isolated and abused by peers. With fierce determination, he swings his glowing sword, driven by an intense desire for power. Discovering a forbidden necromancy codex, he abandons the path of a mere human. Karnak unleashes destruction, wiping out every human and annihilating the kingdom. The fourth martial king and 3 grand mages launch a coordinated assault against a formidable opponent, filling the battlefield with explosive energy. Transforming his enemies into loyal followers, he confronts the guardians of the world who attempt intervention. Overpowering the mighty dragon emperor with powerful magic, he conquers the last guardian. Transforming his body into the ultimate ascendant, Astra Schnaf, he rises. Thus, the strongest Death King is born. A bold strategy is set in motion, unsettling the battlefield's balance. The narrator reflects, realizing their past sense of possession and entitlement. A gloved hand seizes the glowing orb, claiming it from the shadows. A skeletal figure broods on his throne, lamenting 70 years trapped in an undead body. A voice demands how much longer this futile struggle must continue. Beneath warm sunlight and gentle breeze, a long-haired figure embraces a child. A bloodied sword rests abandoned as the narrator longs for pain over emptiness. A masked figure with glowing red eyes declares that hope still remains. Purple energy surges from an ancient stone tablet as activation begins. Armored feet step onto a glowing, rune-etched floor as an imposing figure makes a dramatic entrance. A horned armored figure strides through a shadowy doorway, commanding the scene. The commander salutes and pledges allegiance to the Death King in the Grand Chamber. 2 armored figures stand before a glowing purple energy pedestal. One announces preparations complete, while the other reacts alarmed. A skeletal figure in dark robes stands confidently in a shadowy hall, radiating sinister assurance about his plan. The armored figure clenches fists in triumph, overwhelmed with excitement at achieving their goal. Reflecting on futile attempts to regain pleasure through vampirism and possession, a monstrous figure watches a spectral young man helpless below. The Ascended discover a method to regain lost pleasure. A determined young man confronts a towering skeletal figure, reflecting on the loss of human pleasures. Chronomantic gears surge, revealing power to reverse time. 2 armored figures stand before a glowing altar, discussing the risk that failing their dark ritual to go back in time could erase their existences. A skeletal figure mockingly questions lingering regrets, threatening to leave the other behind. The armored figure dismisses the accusation with confident amusement. 2 figures, energized by a swirling purple portal, brace themselves to embark on a crucial mission. 2 monstrous armored figures collide violently, unleashing dark energy as haunting memories linger. Crouched in shadows, the young man listens tensely for danger above. A worried figure urgently tries to rouse a groggy young man regaining consciousness in a dim, ethereal setting. Barrows kneels beside the injured man, checking if he's regained consciousness. In a dim cave, one man recognizes an old acquaintance as the other confirms his identity after absence. One character sits on the ground defensively as another mocks his appearance. 2 armored figures pause at a cave entrance, assessing an imposing wooden structure inside. A young man places a mysterious, ornate book on the table. An ominous narration announces the beginning of the story. A cloaked figure stands by candlelight, revealing his mastery of necromancy began with the codex before him. Determined, Karnak raises his gloved hand, ready for action. Dark magical energy erupts from his hand, filling the air with intense power. The mysterious book releases a torrent of swirling purple energy. One reveals his remaining magical power while another questions the wisdom of using it all at once. A character regains full awareness of their memories. The speaker compares the forbidden codex to mostly basic, unimportant information. A cursed artifact is engulfed by swirling purple energy and destroyed to prevent future threats. One character receives a playful compliment on appearance and planning from a companion. The 2 stand in uneasy silence, silently assessing the situation. 2 figures react with surprise and excitement at an unexpected request for food. 2 figures walk along a sunlit rocky path, deciding to stop and eat. As rain falls, the crowd scrambles past a large building in a rush. 3 people sit around a table, overwhelmed with joy as they savor barley bread. Tears stream down a man's face as he bites into bread with gloved hands. One ecstatically devours bread while another reminds him urgently not to die after being revived. A young man overwhelmed with emotion celebrates surviving by eating bread. Karnak tearfully listens at the table as he is warned not to eat too much because money is tight. Excitement fills the room as food is served to the eager group gathered at the table. Alarmed, a character urgently warns another to watch out as danger approaches. The group stares at a lavish roast chicken, realizing it's far beyond their means. A character stands on the brink of violence, gripped by dark thoughts. One unleashes dark energy as another begs desperately for restraint. Two young men sit at a tavern table, worriedly counting coins and realizing they are too weak to fight now. A character laments poverty while gripping a nearly empty sack and considers ordering more bread. A character's eyes widen in realization upon noticing something crucial. A voice solemnly addresses the young master with respect. Two men sit across from each other, one alerting the other to a serious problem as tension rises. The armored man expresses concern that their time travel has altered events. Both young men sense something is wrong as they stand tense and alert. A heavy sack spills silver coins on the table as someone reacts with disbelief at unexpected wealth. He looks down in frustration, questioning where everything began to fall apart. The narrator reveals the Jestrad family was struggling financially. A man reflects how his grandfather's failed ventures left the family with debt. He admits his father couldn't manage mounting debts. Two sons from the original wife appear in cracked portraits, highlighting family disappointment. A man reflects on surviving family scorn as he and a woman embrace solemnly by a gravestone under moonlight. Karnak crouches trembling as three menacing figures tower over him. Karnak stands startled at the counter upon discovering a bag overflowing with money. Two men sit anxiously in a tavern, questioning whether the time regression spell has failed. He wonders if they truly returned to the past, noting too many similarities with memories. One eagerly suggests using money to buy chicken while the other reacts shocked at the excitement. Two hungry men debate how much food to order as a glowing roasted chicken floats before them. Someone loudly orders 2 whole chickens as the sun sets over a traditional building. A figure laughs menacingly, clutching his stomach beneath the dramatic sunset. Two riders talk about being full and look forward to sleep as they traverse a quiet forest at sunset. He glares at the sunset, expressing resentment and hatred toward his family. With a sly smile, the young man resolves to adapt and survive by aligning with the powerful. Riding side by side through the forest, the travelers quietly discuss the many oddities surrounding their situation. The rider decisively claims another horse and advances with determination. A cheerful man comments on how the stage station manager tried to flatter them. A young man rewards another with a shiny object as a third reacts with surprise. Two figures on horseback are spotted ahead, prompting suspicion from observers. Two figures stand tense and wary, recalling harsh judgment they once faced. Villagers greet newcomers with overwhelming joy, bringing some to tears and leaving visitors stunned by warmth. They walk tensely through the woods at dusk, uneasy about recent events, deciding to seek answers at home. Two riders approach the estate at sunset, nearing their destination. Karnak stands in the forest at sunset, overcome with nostalgia reflecting on a place long unvisited. Karnak expresses frustration about being in a place filled with unpleasant memories while Barrows listens quietly. A lonely boy sits unnoticed in shadows as adults pass by, revealing his difficult orphaned life. Barrows lies alone in bed as his parents quietly abandon him during the night. One character finds another collapsed and barely alive in a dim, cluttered room. Barrows is brought home and unexpectedly welcomed by the father. Two boys stand side by side on a cracked surface, their shadows stretching in silence. A young man reflects on being an illegitimate child needing an attendant while someone urgently calls out to him. Two riders approach the Jestrad residence, uncertain if they've arrived at the correct location. Karnak confidently asserts certainty about their location. Two figures arrive at the mansion gates as a dramatic sound fills the scene. Two young men arrive at a familiar place, unsure if it matches memories but determined to confirm its significance. A tall brick wall covered in roses stands bathed in sunset light. A grand 2-story mansion with a terrace is revealed under the sunlight. The character recognizes the estate and gardens as familiar. The character observes the estate's remarkable transformation and wonders about its funding. A surprised guard spots someone in the grand hallway and swiftly acknowledges their arrival. Two travelers approach the guarded gate on horseback with an unexpectedly welcoming atmosphere. Armored guards bow as the group receives a formal welcome at sunset. Both men freeze in shock as one tries to speak, alarmed by what they witness. A sudden alarm rings out as the mansion is illuminated beneath the glowing sky. A lone figure sits in a shadowed room, reflecting that 6 months have passed. The head of the family is shocked to realize half a year has passed since taking his role. A butler serves tea and pointedly asks the startled young man if his goal has been achieved. In a sunlit room, one questions another about their true purpose while a third listens intently. A composed man expresses approval, recalling that the late Lord and Isabella would have been pleased. Stunned by news, Karnak demands to know how his father and stepmother died, with Barrows tense behind him. After recent losses left the group in turmoil, the man on the throne explains these hardships motivated him to become Lord. A character clenches his fist in anguish, desperately asking why his entire family died. He reveals his true purpose is to master necromancy secretly, opening a glowing spellbook that surrounds him in magic. Sitting on the throne, the protagonist admits lying about his intentions and questions necromancy's necessity while his companion listens closely. A man tries to reassure two anxious people while serving tea in a warmly lit room. Barrows asks to postpone the conversation as the young master is exhausted from travel. A panicked man clutches his chest, admitting his mistake under pressure. Someone urgently insists that another person go rest in their room. The ornate double doors shudder as a powerful force slams into them, causing visible damage. After a successful moment, the two share a high five, celebrating their teamwork. They walk through a sunlit hall, discussing confusion and uncertainty after slipping away and hearing surprising revelations. The young man smirks confidently, hinting he has a plan for the situation. Barrows enthusiastically urges Karnak to prepare as they walk side by side. Karnak signals it's time to act while everyone else sleeps. A grand mansion stands beneath the full moon, its glowing fountain illuminating the night. A mustached man sleeps soundly, undisturbed in bed. Two people quietly check on the deeply sleeping man. Two young men prepare for a mind inspection ritual. One presents herbs while the other readies himself. A hand lifts a bowl as dark flames burst forth, signaling ritual commencement. Dark energy intensifies, crackling in a glowing orb as mystical awakening begins. Dark tendrils creep over an unconscious man, claiming him as a servant. A male character stares in disbelief as he realizes something impossible has occurred. Blue flames engulf the man as he submits to an unseen master, while observers watch the control take hold. He demands an explanation about how the family's finances improved and how he became head of the household. 4 years earlier, a man sits amid eerie blue flames as a flashback begins. While training in mountains, the second young master unexpectedly discovers a massive copper mine. Two young men discuss how mines are usually covers for nobles' illicit activities, but this mine truly exists. Someone demands to know why every family member died within 4 years, pointing to the mine as the source, while three gather around a glowing figure in bed. A mine in a neutrality zone sparked war as Jestrad and Deventer families claimed ownership. The Deventers display unity and discipline as soldiers raise swords under a military banner. An undefeated knight stands confidently amid ruins, sword raised. An armored man swiftly defeats Baron Kraput and kills the eldest son on the battlefield. After losing his legs and committing suicide, tragedy deepens as the Baroness succumbs to shock, leaving broken lives behind. A ceasefire is agreed upon after Karnak is named successor, though concerns about the mine and compensation remain. Karnak boldly declares a trial duel against Viscount Deventer to save his family. Two characters react in shock and alarm at the sudden duel announcement. A formal notice states a trial duel, sanctioned by the Allium Order, allows participants to appoint substitute warriors. A deadly ritual duel is announced, overseen by the Ilium priest and decided only by death. One character smugly blames the other for his misfortune, eliciting visible frustration. Facing inevitable defeat, the speaker chose a risky duel to gain the copper mine and prevent starvation. A stern armored man warns that survival is impossible with such skill. One resolves to prepare thoroughly for the duel scheduled in a month. Karnak and companion narrowly avoid danger, recoiling with relief and surprise. A lavish table loaded with desserts and sandwiches leaves an attendant in shock. A lavish meal surprises the group, leaving one overjoyed and grateful. Two young men relax over tea and desserts, debating whether to rest with the duel approaching. He casually asks her to attend an event in his place, assuring her it's allowed and offering her tea. One grabs another by the collar, confronting him about bribery and killing 3 martial kings. Despite success, the young man admits necromancy made things easier, but true skill requires more. A boy gasps, shocked that mastering advanced swordsmanship in 1 month is impossible. Two young men argue over lack of suitable knights, with tension rising amid frustration. Radiating confidence, a character declares necromancy the only option, conjuring ominous purple energy. Karnak listens as Barrows points out a new problem during their serious discussion. A law prohibiting necromancy is announced. Someone recalls a time when they were on the run. Torch-bearing pursuers race through the dark, rainy forest, urgently following fresh tracks. The household was secretly eliminated via necromancy. Karnak and Barrows flee desperately through shadows from relentless pursuers. The priests of Allium accuse the narrator as the culprit. 3 armored attackers rush through dark woods to ambush a lone figure. Priests and soldiers surround 2 men, convinced one is a necromancer. A male figure begins a dark ritual, summoning wandering souls. Karnak unleashes race spirits, channeling ominous purple energy at his target. A robed figure emits dark necromantic energy as opponents brace for battle. A shadowy figure descends as the group prepares to defend with guardian plaques. A man is attacked by surging shadowy energy as another looks on alarmed. A powerful armored figure breaches magical defenses as panic rises over a failing goddess blessing. Karnak charges, releasing intense purple energy from his hand. Shadowy energy explodes, hurling figures through the air amid agonized screams. 2 flee down a dark corridor as armored pursuers are struck by purple blasts, fleeing before others catch up. Realizing necromancy has been detected, 2 run urgently while studying their book for answers. A startled man is tackled by a blonde figure, cutting him off. One laughs, recalling a past ordeal, while his companion listens surprised. Sitting in a grand chair, he realizes the plan. He devises a scheme to use necromancy secretly while appearing to fight ordinarily. The priest declares priests will judge the trial duel from a balcony. 2 companions plan to steal jewels and money before escaping. Karnak mocks maintaining a virtuous facade in the library as Barrows reacts with refreshments. The protagonist insists his actions are genuine and resents being portrayed as a villain. One urges another to sit down as he tries to leave with food plates. Karnak confidently proposes a risky plan. At the Sunlit training ground, the instructor orders trainees to take a short break from intense sword practice. The armored man easily defeats trainees, leaving them sprawled in pain. An armored knight is asked about duel preparations. 2 men exchange taunts and warnings before sparring with swords drawn. The armored man mocks his opponent, scoffing at wasting time on inexperience. A man speculates on the duel outcome but is distracted by unexpected softness he touches. A skeptical man notices another merchant arriving, remarking on rising outsiders. Training is disrupted by a merchant loudly advertising to noblewomen, prompting soldiers to resume positions. The character smirks confidently, hinting at a calculated plan. The protagonist crouches with determination after a crucial realization, observed by a woman afar. Someone secretly observes the area, gathering information unnoticed. Two armored men clash fiercely in a heated duel, with one exhibiting heavy, rough techniques. The armored man launches a confident attack, easily predicting his opponent's moves. In the village square, one inspects worn training dummies while another watches silently, troubled by slow progress. A woman confronts a young man, questioning his intentions toward her brother. The man excitedly asks if the woman is the famous knight's sister and praises her. A cheerful vendor eagerly offers ornate handkerchiefs at a special price. Nervously pointing at an item, one tries to appear confident as the other praises the choice. The scene shifts to the empty, sunlit drill hall of the Jester's estate, marking a new setting. A cheerful attendant energetically checks on the young master's stamina training. A panicked figure rushes to an unmoving body as a ghostly apparition looms. A desperate blonde character frantically shakes an armored figure who weakly protests feeling sick. One questions the other's poor stamina after a grueling 50-lap run leaves him exhausted and collapsed. One questions the point of continued training while the other encourages persistence despite limits. Exhausted from training, the protagonist asks to rest and exhales in relief outside the building. A stern mentor announces real stamina training begins, leaving the trainee shocked that rehabilitation is over. A monstrous figure looms menacingly as a frightened boy recoils, marking brutal training start. A tense countdown begins, marking 20 days until the duel. At breakfast, one eagerly eats a large meat piece while another questions the unusual meal. Two trainees struggle through grueling push-ups after strict instructions in the drill hall. Karnak strains to finish 100 pole swings as his mentor intensifies training. Two exhausted trainees force themselves through 100 squats side by side. A break is announced, signaling a brief pause. A weary young man slumps against the wall, announcing the break. Two men eat large meat portions with intense focus, quickly finishing the meal. Two young men compete at push-ups, one balancing a heavy stone slab on his back. Two trainees spar in the courtyard, wielding a pole and a heavy stone weapon. Two figures perform squats outdoors as part of training or punishment. Drenched in sweat, the protagonist carries heavy sandbags across his shoulders during grueling training. Gripped by desperation, he struggles to suppress panic and regain control. Barrows approaches the young master in the courtyard to compare their training progress. On the training ground, one announces sword fighting practice while the other reacts excitedly. A serious young man receives a sword from another in daylight. The young man surveys the chaotic scene, dissatisfied with what he sees. Karnak struggles with demanding training as the instructor corrects his stance and movements. A strict instructor pushes a sweaty trainee to maintain sword stance during intense training. Two men raise swords, ready to spar. A young man brings down his glowing sword in a powerful attack. A man is caught off guard as a swift glowing attack hits his stomach. A young man practices a powerful technique on the training ground as someone urges stance readiness. Karnak blocks a relentless flurry of attacks with his sword. He braces and holds ground as a force crashes against his weapon. A violent strike slams into his abdomen, blood and energy bursting from impact. The white-haired man stands over a fallen armored man, holding his sword dominantly. Kneeling in the courtyard, Karnak explains how power imbalance allows knights to oppress civilians. After sparring, one helps the other up and offers tactical advice on handling continuous attacks. In the arena, one questions the duel's point while the other says it displays fighting spirit. One toys with the other, flaunting skills before cheering spectators. The armored fighter launches a powerful attack aiming to end the battle quickly. A determined young man urges someone to prove resolve and not give up. A warning urges immediate action to avoid a fatal blow. He stands in armor, sweating as he braces for confrontation. Karnak charges forward with shield raised, counting down to 5. Two opponents clash swords explosively as one demands more intensity. The white-haired man drives back his armored opponent with a fierce strike, shouting to fight harder. Karnak swings his glowing sword, commanding everyone to raise their voices. An armored man strains, blocking a fierce attack with his shield. An armored man crashes to the ground as his opponent stands victorious. A brutal slam drives an armored man headfirst into the ground. Amid swirling flames, a furious young man raises his staff, issuing a harsh warning. A commanding voice orders to always roll on the ground. Exhausted and embarrassed, Karnak crouches in a sunlit room. A relentless attacker slams his sword down, forcing his opponent to the ground as the defender cries behind the shield. A character is violently thrown across the room by a surge of blue energy. Karnak swiftly dodges a powerful attack in a bright arena. Exhausted and injured, the protagonist collapses, fearing death before facing Randolph. Barrows ends training, assuring the exhausted trainee he is nearly ready. Confidently, he signals the final phases start, gripping his sword upright. On the training ground, one announces teaching the four martial king's sword technique, while the other reacts with surprise. Surprised, one questions the other's knowledge, who confidently replies he mastered most techniques. A powerful figure asserts control over the four martial kings. The speaker reveals mastery of all but one technique as hooded figures gather under a purple glow. The armored man demands why the other hasn't learned her abilities. Karnak confronts the other about not turning her into a death knight. A masked figure coldly recalls a woman cut into thirds and made a palace gatekeeper for resisting. One questions his morality while the other stands uneasy against the crimson backdrop. The instructor announces teaching Marshal King Levin's Delphiad sword technique, though the trainee doubts mastering it in 2 days. Karnak confidently states they need only 1 day for their plan. A massive arena stands ready at the border as crowds gather for the event. 2 young men banter eagerly outside, discussing who will win the upcoming match. 2 discuss hopes and concerns about Karnak's chances as others stand nearby. Several gather in the arena, waiting for the event to begin. Karnak commands his attendant, who agrees promptly. A crowd murmurs in anticipation around the ceremonial arena. An official announces that the copper mine dispute will be settled by combat. A commanding voice summons Karnak to face the goddess. An armored knight strides into the arena, drawing the crowd's attention. A powerful voice calls a challenger to confront the goddess. A confident fighter enters bearing a massive wooden beam, shocking the crowd with his imposed handicap. An official oversees as 2 fighters solemnly swear to fight honorably before the match. An elder raises his staff, invoking a formal pledge in sunlight. The trial by combat is officially declared, starting the confrontation. 2 men confront each other in rain as tension mounts. In a large outdoor arena filled with spectators, 2 prepare for a public duel. A confident blonde grips a broken wooden beam, defiantly refusing to back down. One charges with a large sword while the other braces behind a shield. A powerful slam forces the other back as he struggles to block. An armored figure declares the outcome will be clear only with progress. 2 fighters dueling fiercely as one taunts the other. A warrior leaps and delivers a powerful overhead strike as his opponent braces. 3 young men watch eagerly as a lord displays unexpected strength. The blonde smirks, testing his opponent with a measured attack. Karnak grips his sword and advances, ready to use his mastered technique. Resolute, a figure vows to show unwavering determination in battle. An armored figure defiantly challenges a towering opponent, sword ready. The blonde man assesses determination and spirit despite lack of skill. The young man raises his glowing rune-marked sword, preparing a stronger attack. An armored knight panics as sword energy overwhelms his defense. A towering red energy spike erupts violently upward, signaling a powerful attack. An armored warrior charges at full speed, launching a fierce attack. An armored man with cape smashes the wooden floor, releasing energy. A young man reacts in shock, witnessing an unfamiliar, crude skill. Villagers cheer as their lord skillfully dodges an attack. 3 robed figures observe astonished events from a balcony. A heavily armored man mocks his unarmed opponent, boasting about not needing a shield. An armored man taunts unseen foes while wielding a massive sword. Enraged, he vows to silence his opponent after provocation. The armored man challenges his opponent with a confident grin. A blonde young man jolts in shock, reacting to something off-panel. A knight in ornate armor assumes a battle stance, preparing a signature technique. Young men recognize the sword stance as created by a legendary martial king. Supporters speculate their lord, trained in Martial King's techniques, might win the battle. Regaining composure, he prepares to focus after near provocation. A young man readies an advanced sword technique, though onlookers doubt his ability. He mocks his rival's attempt at a powerful technique, doubting victory. A man smirks, acknowledging his opponent's impressive technique. The new lord raises his wooden sword, boldly declaring his authority, and challenging his opponent. The armored fighter braces as his attack fails to overwhelm his glaring opponent. In the practice yard, the armored man urges the trainee to imitate the legendary technique roughly. The young man assures no more sword training will be needed after this, hinting at hidden intent. The armored man panics as a barrage overwhelms him, while a blonde crouches beneath. 2 opponents clash swords, sending a shockwave as the fight intensifies. The armored warrior endures the attack, shouting defiance. A frustrated observer questions why someone is overwhelmed in the fight. A determined figure proclaims the sword of Jestard will never fall. Villagers stare in shock as they realize the true nature of the underestimated person. A voice challenges Sir Randolph, questioning if he is scared. 3 emotional followers declare unwavering loyalty to their lord. A pale-haired young man smirks, pleased that prolonged assault forces the opponent to dodge. An aggressive rival shouts a challenge, daring the opponent to fight. Struggling, the young man clenches his staff, fighting through irritation. The injured armored man tightens his grip, defiantly challenging his assailant. With energy surging, the protagonist charges and delivers a decisive finishing attack. Grinning fiercely in rain, the protagonist senses an awaited breakthrough. An armored figure rushes forward, urgently warning their lord as anxious onlookers react. Armored and resolute, the protagonist prepares for a pivotal moment. On training ground, one armored man demonstrates sword technique while the other watches. A young man charges with his staff, aiming at opponent's legs to restrict movement. The armored figure shifts defensively, driving his sword into the ground with energy bursts. A shocked onlooker recoils as a newcomer blocks an attack. Focused, he swings his sword upward in a powerful diagonal arc. A caped warrior lands a crushing blow, forcing the white-haired man to stagger in pain. A gloved figure urgently shifts grip on a weapon's handle. A fierce combatant lands a double uppercut sword strike, delivering a decisive blow. Blood splatters violently, signaling a sudden intense confrontation. The armored knight braces, gripping sword in preparation. Ignoring his bleeding chest, the man taunts his opponent defiantly. Unfazed by wounds, the man taunts while carrying a wooden beam. Sensing danger, he panics and braces for impact. Injured but unfazed, he mocks his opponent, while resting a wooden beam on his shoulder. An exhausted armored man drops to his knees, struggling as he grips his sword. 4 men in uniform watch anxiously from a balcony as the match nears conclusion. Young adults stand outside, confronting the truth that miracles will not save them. 2 men confront each other tensely on a terrace, exchanging taunts before their duel. The armored man taunts confidently, unfazed by threat. The young man notices a change as dark energy pulses on his opponent's chest. A massive black and purple energy slash erupts, catching a startled character off guard. A man screams in panic, overwhelmed by dark, shadowy energy while clutching his sword. An older man senses a powerful aura as soldiers rush past. A desperate swordsman unleashes a massive dark energy wave. Someone urgently shouts for Randolph. Karnak rushes forward with sword drawn, refusing to back down. A devastating dark attack shatters enemy legs, leaving him screaming as another watches in shock. A cataclysmic attack splits the ground, hurling figures backward in terror. A powerful black aura radiates from a balcony figure, stunning the crowd with its strength. A young man shouts, publicly accusing someone of necromancy as others watch anxiously. An older man commands soldiers to attack as magic strikes the arena. A desperate figure fends off masked attackers rushing with swords. A dark energy crackling spear leads a charge as armored zealots demand surrender, with soldiers poised. A white-haired man releases shadowy energy at attackers amid the chaos. Sarati sweeps armored opponents to the ground with a single forceful strike. An older man points urgently as another unleashes dark magic on a bridge, exposing necromancy. A man is struck in the chest by shadowy force and staggers backward. A man desperately swings his sword against a vortex of dark energy. An armored figure steps forward, reprimanding a group for causing disturbance. A woman looks anxious. An armored man smirks, confidently signaling with raised fingers. A male character is overwhelmed as shadowy purple energy engulfs him. The older man and knight tense, resolving to kill the cursed individual if possible. A shadowy figure descends, startling armed guards below. A man cries out in anguish as darkness rapidly engulfs him. A young man is struck by a powerful blow, screaming in agony. Blood spurts from his mouth as he collapses from the brutal strike. Cornered in the arena, a wounded man unleashes dark energy as guards watch tensely. A group gathers in a forest clearing around a ceremonial platform for a significant event. Armored soldiers and a robed official find a dead body and order an investigation at Viscount de Venter's estate. The presiding official condemns a fighter for using dark powers during the holy trial and declares the verdict. 2 armored men are presented before the crowd as one is introduced as Baron of Karnak. A blinding light signals triumph as figures stand silhouetted at the edges. Investigators uncover blankets and cloaks marked with necromancy symbols in the estate, revealing key evidence. 2 men confront a distressed woman holding suspicious items, intensifying accusations. A young woman hurriedly insists a bottle contains only hair growth formula amid necromancy accusations. A ceremonial man announces a forthcoming hearing, leaving a woman in red shocked. Days pass as the scene shifts to Jester's estate. Barrows marvels at a lavish banquet, overwhelmed by incredible food. 2 armored young men celebrate their victory with a lavish feast. While eating, one asks how the other devised a clever spell. He explains he used their opponent's temperament. The story shifts to events 1 month earlier. Tension rises in a library as one angrily questions another's plan to use necromancy. One argues necromancy is worth the risk as punishment is death anyway, while the other listens warily. The young man reveals Randolph will use the plan. One proposes deception while the other listens uncertainly. 2 opponents prepare for battle as one plans to deceive distant officials during the fight. 2 discuss a powerful necromancy spell's aftermath in a library, confident their involvement is undetected but aware of a lingering problem. He hesitates, unsure if his blade is sharp enough to make his opponent bleed. Someone urgently calls on the young master to stop. The blonde grins excitedly, contemplating where to strike to make his opponent bleed. After ordeal, one mocks the other's suffering playfully. 2 quietly discuss how investigators wrongly concluded necromancy was used despite contrary evidence. The scene shifts to Gesselin Grand Temple, the Order of Alium's headquarters. 2 robed figures confer before a stained glass window, confirming investigation into De Venter's dark powers. A priest examines a vial, warning of a necromancer of unusual power. The group studies a transcendent fragment, confirming perfect attribute matches with information from the goddess. Karnak laughs victoriously, celebrating his fortune with the darkness of the apocalypse. 2 cheer and laugh, celebrating newfound good fortune. 2 walk briskly down a bright hall, urgently discussing rival factions and the need to grow stronger via necromancy. A distressed armored young man fears discovery by the order. Karnak stands alone, plotting secret necromancy usage. Months later, a grand mansion stands surrounded by moonlit trees. A mage channels swirling energy at the center of a glowing ritual circle. Karnak concentrates, channeling magic as he meditates. A ritual circle glows under moonlight, dark energy gathering for a powerful incantation. Karnak refines a swirling orb, focusing to extract pure essence from magic. A glowing red flame bursts above his hand as powerful magic is summoned. Karnak completes his spell, holding glowing red energy in triumph. Chaos magic bursts forth, filling darkness with a red glow. 2 men clash fiercely with swords under bright sunlight. After months of training, he pushes harder to become an official knight of Jestad. A blonde man strikes a senior soldier to demonstrate soldier's lack of skill. A blonde young man freezes as a black-gloved hand lunges, catching him off guard. Two exhausted swordsmen end their sparring session for the day. Two men face off, exchanging gratitude and mutual respect before training. A young man receives praise for rapid growth but humbly admits he has more to learn. One invites the other to drink, declined due to an important task assigned by the young master. The conversation ends with a peaceful sunlight view through trees. An enthusiastic attendant bursts in, announcing snack time. A devastating blast hurls a character down as another stands shocked. A dangerous technique is accidentally unleashed, startling one who demands to know what was done. Two debate the magic's true nature, realizing it may not be necromancy. Red energy swirls as one demonstrates magic, prompting questions about mana use. Three legendary artifacts appear, representing battle aura, mana, and divinity. A hooded figure channels necromantic energy as dark runes glow and shadows swirl. A radiant figure absorbs energy, channeling only the aligned force within. A lone figure absorbs intense energy. Reaching the moment force becomes new power. A unique power binds to the recipient, preventing the use of others. Two men discuss how powers evolve into new stages rather than changing entirely. The speaker explains a strong bond to necromancy due to a difficult past and affinity for corruption. The speaker compares his power to fermented foods, carefully processed to remove unpleasant aspects. Someone reflects on shedding negative emotions like hate and grudges. Karnak channels swirling dark energy, converting it into pure mana. A character demonstrates his chaos mana, receiving an indifferent reaction. One suggests pretending to be a mage, questioning if the other can replicate former strength with chaos mana. Karnak contemplates the potential disaster of possessing great power. Determined to defend the estate, he vows to gain enough power to protect the territory. Armored soldiers confirm elimination of monsters in the mines and prepare to withdraw. A figure leaves through the forest while unseen eyes watch from darkness. A monstrous beast lunges at an unsuspecting man as his companion warns. An armored man whirls as dark energy hurtles toward him. A powerful sword strike crashes on the beast with allies observing. A massive beast crashes into the ground with tremendous force. Barrows arrives just in time to save the group, prompting relief. A young knight laughs in the forest, admitting awkwardness about recent knighthood. A group discusses monsters growing stronger, confirming recent rumors. Karnak questions a cloaked figure about the rumor. The term, Goddess Oracle, is introduced, emphasizing importance. A cloaked figure descends amid swirling clouds as a prophecy warns of Death's King bringing destruction. Monsters from a nearby continent launch a ferocious attack led by a giant dragon. Necromancers lose control, unleashing chaos and accidents. Religious orders, empowered by divine oracles, mobilize priests under the goddess's blessing to protect the world. Two men discuss the oracle's unexpected appearance and lament lack of past information. Barrows questions if rumors relate to them, noting a timeline mismatch. A timeline diagram clarifies the oracle occurred before regression. Panicked, one fears world collapse while another despondently feels helpless after failed future changes. A young man on a throne questions if world destruction is truly so simple, recalling past failures. Two decide to trust heroes and local forces to solve the problem. Someone suggests remaining in their territory to live peacefully. A priest from the goddess of sun's order demands cooperation, leaving two young men anxious. The group discusses tracking a fugitive necromancer in a nearby forest, requesting a local guide. Sensing threat, one urges rejection while the other remains calm. A gloved hand lifts a steaming teacup and sips calmly. One laughs confidently about handling the goddess's matters while another looks surprised. A meeting is arranged with a promise to send someone soon. A final farewell is delivered, followed by a scream. Two debate involvement in worldly affairs, one calling it a chance to assess the situation. Someone demands to know what will happen next, increasing tension. A shadowy figure unleashes dark power as another reels in pain behind him. He sprints anxiously through dark forest, wondering if he escaped pursuers. A desperate young man flees through rain from unseen pursuers. A lone figure sprints through dark forest, determined to survive and seek revenge. A man casts glowing magical orbs at armored soldiers advancing in the dark forest. Startled by a trap revelation, the man collapses alarmed. Armed guards surround the lone figure, demanding surrender. A furious man refuses capture, unleashing dark purple energy. Karnak unleashes a massive purple energy surge in fury. A skeletal wraith shrouded in dark energy appears suddenly, causing terror. Dark energy ambush strikes group as someone orders protection charms. Armored figures are struck down by swirling purple energy. A frustrated man watches chaos. Two armored figures sit on a large tree branch, silently watching a glowing purple light below. One criticizes a spellcaster's technique, while another urges proceeding with the plan. A figure darts into dark woods as someone signals pursuit. Two young men quickly plan to intercept their target before capture. A hidden cave entrance emerges under moonlit sky at rocky cliff. Exhausted, a man searches for hiding place after overusing power. Two sitting by campfire notice a third arriving, expressing relief. Two crouch by campfire, one noting it's their usual hideout and asking if it's the other's first visit. Tense standoff erupts as one demands to know identities around the campfire. A young man warns enemies target someone in the cave. Furious, he steps forward ready to confront unseen foes. A dark figure commands spectral servants as energy swirls in the air. The desperate man threatens to use enemies as bait for time. Karnak and Barrows face a large group of hostile spirits, quickly considering options. Karnak prepares to test chaos mana, focusing as swirling purple energy gathers. A lone figure bursts from cave, fleeing into moonlit clearing. He sees his chance to sprint deeper into forest while pursuers are delayed. He looks up shocked by something unexpected. An explosion sends the shocked figure flying back, overwhelmed. Two block the path, confronting an escapee through smoke and embers. The young man unleashes a powerful spell causing his sword to glow red. Massive fireballs slam into ground, erupting flames as two watch devastation. A man reacts alarmed at swirling purple revealing magic in burning wasteland. Realizing he's outmatched, man decides to take desperate action to avoid capture. Karnak unleashes dark energy, summoning a massive evil spirit. Two dismiss misconceptions about rates with irritation as they watch swirling purple energy. The young man taunts opponents confidently, mocking their fear. A young man in rocky darkness furiously rejects fear. A figure declares mercy is no longer an option, heightening tension. A figure unleashes powerful purple energy from above as two watch tensely. A young man releases a glowing attack as purple energy erupts. Karnak commands an opponent to kneel after unleashing dark power. A lone figure stands firm as a violet energy blast crashes before him. A man collapses, overwhelmed by a surge of dark energy. A startled man recoils under moonlight when accused of necromancy. A young man radiating purple energy taunts his unseen opponent confidently. A young man taunts while conjuring mysterious green energy in a cave. Startled, Karnak looks up as glowing green magical claws materialize above. A resolute young man unleashes glowing green energy into the ground, activating his specialty. A male character screams in pain as overwhelmed by powerful green surge. Two approach a glowing artifact cautiously in shadowy forest. A cloaked figure orders a man surrounded by blue energy to stand, while another watches. A young man demands how necromancy powers were gained, told it was simply luck. A terrified man collapses in an alley as monstrous shadows surge over him. An overwhelming apocalyptic power surges through the narrator, marking a foretold transformation start. Karnak seizes dark energy with relish, reveling in his newfound power. Dark energy crackles as the figure defeats everyone nearby, advancing toward the mansion. One dismisses a stranger's threat, while another notes the stranger is armed. One insists they must restore order. A pool of black liquid spreads ominously across the ground. Barrows lies on the ground gripping his dagger, bracing to strike. Karnak absorbs fallen enemies' dark energy as Barrows reacts in disbelief. A figure investigates swirling purple energy, warning of an arriving search party urging caution. Karnak stares in shock as dark energy engulfs his arm. A worried armored man rushes toward disturbance, checking if young master is safe near someone crouching in rocks. Sensing danger, the cloaked man orders a thorough search as intruders arrive. Several days pass as the story advances. A glowing magical barrier activates in the ornate hall's center. Inside the magic circle, one questions the need for secrecy while the other insists the situation is serious. In a grand library, two discuss mysterious dangerous power recently collected, seeking answers. Karnak nervously admits responsibility. A confused armored young man struggles with the timeline, questioning logic. One reveals the power matches him, leaving the other shocked. They discuss overwhelming spiritual power making possession dangerous, leading to regression choice. The protagonist explains they gave up powers and separated souls to return to original bodies, increasing success chances. Someone reflects on not retaining future power. Having abandoned his physical form to forge Astrashnaf, the figure now exists between life and spirit with necromancy tied to spirit. A powerful surge erupts as the figure's abilities cross time. Realizing his body couldn't withstand it, he notes most power was lost. In the library, one anxiously questions past affecting powers, learning it caused darkness threatening their world. Overwhelmed with despair, the armored man realizes returning scattered power could end the world. One skeptically asks if summoned objects obey as reliably as coins do when dropped. One armored man confesses he once tried to ruin the world, blaming current troubles on the other's ideals. A monstrous skeletal figure towers over two young men as they realize their dire situation and discuss next moves. After a setback, they discuss investigating other darkness sources and prepare to resume difficult lifestyles. A character reluctantly promises care despite conflicted feelings. Two riders set out horseback along a peaceful forest trail. Riding side by side, one jokes about how much easier things are now without pursuers. Two armored men discuss bandits kept away by backing, improving safety. Two riders discuss their true mission to seek clues in Dirarth. A young armored man asks if anyone has tracking magic to find darkness of the end. Karnak insists they'll handle the situation traditionally. Two riders approach a familiar fortress, recalling past visits. A wooden sign marks the Dirarth Adventurer Guild's entrance. Two arrive at a vine-covered mansion to gather information. They note their former adventurer status aids them now despite being wanted. He asserts their approach will change. They need not be adventurers anymore. Adventurers prepare in a busy guild hall. Glowing coin pouch placed on table as a reward. A cheerful guild staff member offers darkness of the end information. Inside a wooden building, one confronts another about the Lord's neglect of monster threats. A clerk searches behind counter for darkness of the end info while two visitors wait. A huge stack of documents is dropped on the table, shocking two young men. They examine documents, realizing they uncovered something significant. Frustrated by false info, the group struggles sorting conflicting documents. Flipping incident reports rapidly, one grows frustrated with misinformation. After reviewing, one instructs another to provide all info, emphasizing detail importance. A magic user activates stealth messaging by touching a companion's chest in a crowd. They speculate valuable clues might hide in insignificant documents. One admits the task is harder than expected while another stays calm and observant. One demands belief as two react with shock and suspicion. An urgent necromancer warning is met with disbelief and laughter. A frustrated man demands to file a necromancer report with companions behind. Two argue over documents. Frustrated temple refuses to believe them. A cautious one asks for an explanation to understand the situation. Karnak braces for confrontation in a sunlit room. A foreigner recently moved into an abandoned mansion on the town's edge. He flashes a charming smile, drawing attention in warm lighting. A young man hands out coins, quickly earning townspeople's admiration. A man captivates young women using mysterious skills confidently. Barrows breaks down over his fiancée's infatuation, clutching her portrait as others watch. The group discusses rumors of a wealthy newcomer, dismissing supernatural explanations. One snaps in frustration, while another reacts uncertainly in tension-filled sunlight. A nervous subordinate refuses to accept a report, pleading for understanding amid rising tension. A young man recoils in shock seeing the high cost to hire adventurers personally. A furious young man storms out vowing revenge. Another watches nervously. One mocks another's failed necromancy attention attempt, while others listen silently. After unproductive day, two discuss visiting a restaurant to lift spirits. The group quickly prepares to leave as one promises to share new information. Two men walk side by side outside a shadowy building. One addresses the other respectfully. Karnak and Barrows discuss suspicions about Cleo in a shadowy corridor. Someone wonders why a wealthy, attractive man targets rural girls with unknown motives. A girl trapped midair as dark magic drains her energy for a ritual. Others hurry. Two arrive at a forest path's edge, looking over a distant town. One confidently prepares to demonstrate as startled companion watches near horses. A concealed magical barrier raises suspicion of skill and darkness of the end affiliation. One considers the subject an ordinary necromancer, the other agrees. Someone calls out loudly on a sunlit country road, breaking silence. A cheerful young man in green waves energetically, calling to two nearby people. They spot a distant priest and react with surprise and caution. A high-ranking priest introduces himself as Earth Order's top inquisitor, surprising others. A knight introduces himself and companion to a surprised young man, questioning their forest path purpose. One explains overheard strange rumors and asks the other for a favor in the clearing. A flustered priest insists his actions serve the goddess, as two watch below shocked. A nervous young man shares necromancer suspicion, shocked to learn Order already aware. Two young men confront each other as one questions the other's solitary arrival. One reflects that the Order refuses action without proof, dismissing necromancer rumors as misinformation. Karnak raises concerns about suspicion warranting alarm. Someone notes being rich and handsome is easier countryside than city, needing only slight wealth and lighter skin. Alias admits trying to handle the situation alone, looking uneasy. Barrows assesses worn equipment and strength, concluding such a man cannot be weak. Sarati expresses excitement to collaborate, believing combined skills boost her spells. Karnak and Barrows walk away drained after a setback, magical energy lingering. One reluctantly agrees to accompany the other to investigate further. The protagonist panics internally, fearing his necromancer secret might be exposed. One suggests erasing memories while the other warns such acts cause insanity. Two shake hands to form an alliance as a third watches from behind. The group arrives at a town church surrounded by trees. The church looms ahead, its cross illuminated by fading sunlight. Inside the sunlit church, leaders warmly greet the newcomer. A townsperson assures that Mr. Cleo has no necromancy ties and mentions a priest briefly visiting. Someone taunts their opponent, implying wasted effort. In a dim chamber, the wary protagonist and uneasy allies silently assess each other's intentions. In a vast cathedral, one reassures companions the trip was worthwhile, others watch silently. The host welcomes the group and guides them to rooms. A powerful magical barrier activates around the mansion. A subordinate alerts his superior to another arriving investigator, prompting instructions to watch for suspicious activity. A man crushes a wine glass in anger, frustrated by relentless enemy arrivals. The host gestures to the door, inviting wary guests to rest as he leaves them alone in a warm room. Realizing questioning townspeople is futile, the group decides to confront Cleo directly. One questions the risk of visiting the mansion for interrogation, another listens intently. Alias calmly suggests a more effective solution. The young man commands others to follow his plan confidently. A magical barrier activates around the mansion, lighting the night. A figure steps onto marble floor, signaling a tense arrival. He strides toward a startled woman in a dim hall. She notices someone leaving and questions late-night plans. He steels himself to confront an approaching adversary, urging others to rest. She quietly leaves after bidding her master farewell. A man admires the ease of mind-controlling humans with his charm. After months of demon summoning prep, a man detects an intruder via barrier and briefly confronts before sending them away. A young man bursts in, declaring he's found his target. A guard confronts three masked intruders sneaking down a hallway. Masked figures confront the young master under the night sky, demanding money after being caught. The man smirks, mocking thieves and dismissing previous worries. Masked thieves holding paintings threaten attack after being mocked. A furious figure unleashes magical energy, ready to strike those deemed unworthy. A brilliant holy barrier erupts, protecting 3 figures amid a powerful spell. An off-panel voice confirms their obedience to their lord. A cloak whips through the air, heightening tension. One expresses shock at the easy identification of the other, who confidently asserts proven methods. A young man clenches a fist in frustration over a costly mistake caused by complacency. He steels himself to eliminate enemies here. Glowing with eerie green light, corpses rise as undead minions within a ruined building. Sarati stands firm to buy time as others sprint down the hallway to escape. A fierce sword fight breaks out as one dodges and counters multiple attackers. Karnak fires a glowing magical arrow at an opponent. Men are impaled by dark spiked projectiles as blood sprays. A young man urgently channels green energy, preparing forbidden power. A figure raises a glowing hand, opening a green portal to summon underworld beasts. A towering pillar of red fiery energy erupts, overwhelming stunned onlookers. The character's eyes ignite with raw power as he releases furious energy. A massive demon with horns and wings emerges, radiating menacing red aura. A young man taunts confidently, red energy flaring. A glowing young man unleashes holy light to purify his foe. A blinding holy spell erupts, filling the hall with radiant energy. The demonic figure pushes attackers back as desperation fuels a last stand. A man recoils as golden energy bursts through the grand hall. The man in ceremonial robes confidently anticipated the spell and confronts opponents. With piercing gaze and dark aura, a figure acknowledges group strength, shifting the atmosphere. The shadowy figure fully reveals ominous power. The man with an eye patch staggers, gripping his side in pain. A figure crashes down powerfully, sending debris flying. Energy crashes down on 3 as they brace for attack. A muscular man writhes as dark energy erupts around him, unleashing shockwaves. Panicked at inability to cast counter-summon, a young man is engulfed in red light. A figure leaps forward to shield an ally amidst dark energy battle. Karnak leaps, bringing sword down in a powerful overhead strike. A cross-shaped energy blast slams into a towering opponent, forcing a cry. A focused mage fires a glowing magic arrow at his target. A muscular man is impaled through the chest by a massive dark red weapon amid energy eruptions. 3 stand over a severely injured man amid unconscious bodies. A young priest recoils in shock as an unexpected event unfolds. 2 stand amid fallen opponents, discussing impressive teamwork and skill. In a shadowy corridor, one volunteers to handle a captive. A robed figure heals an unconscious man with glowing staff as others watch anxiously. A wounded man summons blue flames with a green sigil above him. One identifies swirling dark energy as the darkness of the end. A young man is ambushed by a gloved hand crackling dark energy as he prepares to clear a hallway. The dark-haired man readies ominous energy, signaling ritual start, while another kneels protectively. 2 conscious figures examine a glowing orb, confirming a fallen man was a necromancer who absorbed dark power. One considers an offer of great power, asking if there's more. One reveals another is a Tezranic cultist, handing over a glowing vial. Someone learns Tezranic is the god of death. One confronts another in a dark hall, questioning god of death reputation as the accused grips a glowing artifact. A young armored man hesitates by a window, unsure if anyone truly claims such a title. The cult's doctrine depicts Tezranic as a god purifying the world through death, bringing new paradise. 2 sit exchanging cultist info, concluding the mysterious leader is likely responsible for events. The young man reveals a glowing purple vial, announcing he gains something new. A magical experiment tests chaos mana purification with a priest's power. The man observes increased mana, estimating strength equal to a 4th circle magician. 2 discuss stealing holy artifacts and preparing to wake a priest as part of a plan. A cry for help pierces night. A figure calls to his father as another screams under moonlight. Relieved after escaping a trap, he thanks companions for a convincing deception. Outside the town, the group reflects as confused townspeople calm with church help. The group plans to rest in Dirarth City as their next destination. Someone announces departure, ending their time with the group. 2 riders leave on horseback as a robed figure bids farewell. Alias grows suspicious observing the rider's departure. Determined to uncover truth, he plans to investigate further. They decide to take a break and share food, enjoying leisure as they ride. He realizes the 2 encountered are more important than first thought. Riding under bright sky, they discuss a potential ally and agree to eat after returning. At Dirartha's outskirts, muffled cries echo from a small house as someone orders a captive raised. A desperate figure bursts from water, gasping breath. Suspended above a cauldron, a captive panics, confessing identity as necromancer and offering secrets. Interrogators demand answers, ordering the captive dunked again. Ritual intensifies with more holy water and glowing pool as captive endures purification waves. 2 armored figures stroll at night, celebrating a successful haul and planning cleanup. Karnak explains many necromancers were captured and is surprised at an unknown helper's request. He speculates they're investigated due to desperation after the Jelfa town incident. His tragic past makes him an obvious necromancer suspect, but he accepts autonomy and valuable cases. 2 armored men hesitate in a dim room. One urges longer stay despite the other's suggestion to leave. One questions the other's actions while the plan involves blocking spreading pathways, not gathering all fragments. The investigation reveals the power spreads through temporal gates, nearly complete with few necromancers left. Holding a sealed envelope, Karnak guesses a significant event may occur during the remaining process time. A gloved hand lifts the envelope, wondering if the Hatoba order contacted them. Barrows reads a summoning letter to meet Alias, with details to follow in person. A powerful presence near Hatoba Temple signals a significant event ahead. A cheerful priest greets newcomers entering a sunlit hall. A mediator introduces newcomers to a baron and knight in a grand hall. A blue-haired mage formally introduces himself as a Sixth Circle. A confident woman introduces herself as Adventurer Guild representative. Two young men analyze Sarity and Relthane's reputations and abilities in an ornate hall. Mages and aura users rank power by circles, with the 10th circle marking transcendence. A character reveals he's a grand mage limited by mana, explaining knight ranks from red to gold. Few achieve gold knight rank, with unmatched power and aura. Relthane holds status as 6th circle mage. Sarity is identified as a red knight, confirming backup capability. One questions another's lack of self-taught martial energy. The other defends fighting the 4th martial king evenly. Two pairs meet in the grand hall, exchanging polite introductions. One praises another for capturing necromancers, leaving him surprised. A composed man gestures for others to sit, preparing urgent explanation in the ornate room. A group gathers around a grand table as one warns of impending problems. Two discuss ongoing order problems after a Trist City incident. A map shows Trist City between rival kingdoms, a source of conflict. To end conflict, kingdoms arrange noble marriage and established neutral count family rulers. The city's strategic trade location led to growth, but weak governance allowed crime syndicates control. Trist fell into ruin as unchecked crime persisted. Two crime syndicates divided the city, battling for control, each claiming rightful bloodline. Rival factions waged brutal battles in ruined city for decades. The Platts allied with necromancers and attacked Ranfeld's, but were exposed and reported. The Order intervened with powerful magic, supporting Ranfeld's victory and Platt's retreat. One suggests resolution, the other hints at lingering problems. A young man reveals Ranfeld's accused of using necromancers but hid it well, unlike Platt's. Three sit at a large table, exchanging tense revelations about hidden connections and interpreting the end's aftermath. He recognizes people's denial mirrors a troubling past experience. Slamming a fist, the speaker condemns the enemy for forsaking humanity and calls them unforgivable. They gather to plan next moves, stressing caution to protect the Hatoba Order's reputation. Two discuss mission risks, deciding to disguise themselves before city infiltration. A young man reveals info leaks within the Order, noting skilled adventurers sent to Ranfeld's vanished. A high-ranking priest is accused of aiding Ranfeld's to expel Platts. Two quietly debate a secret plan. One insists on authority to proceed alone and report after. He insists on obtaining concrete necromancy evidence. The group discusses threats risking city hostility. They steel themselves with one reassuring the group can handle worse. The group ventures down a shadowed corridor as muffled screams echo behind an iron door. Three bloody prisoners hang chained, struggling with pain and exhaustion in a torchlit dungeon. Hooded figures survey the prisoners, noting it's been a while since the Order sent them. The hooded man readies for conflict, anticipating adversaries' next moves. A sinister figure gloats at anticipated victims being sent. A hand bursts green energy, shattering a shadow barrier. Four prisoners scream as slashing energy waves hit, causing chaos. A male convulses as dark green energy violently engulfs him. A robed young man challenges another, demonstrating swirling dark energy in his hand. The man fixes his gaze and explains his unwavering reasoning. He channels glowing green energy with intense focus. Surrounded by dark energy, the priest casts a divine shield. A man grins wickedly, awaiting tougher challengers. The group arrives at a promising location for greater benefits. The group arrives at ruined gates of Trist City. A hand examines tattered cloth among ruins. A weary young man sits alone on filthy street, lost in thought, rats nearby. For cautiously survey deserted, run-down town square, unsettled by crime. A sword is thrown forcefully through the air. A glowing strike catches two off guard as attacker lunges. A hand snatches a pouch, scattering gold coins on ground. Civilians scramble to escape amid chaos while three brace amidst debris. Furious after robbery, a man shouts with fiery fist as others watch. Three travelers walk ruined streets. One distrust sins, another leads to safety. The group tenses as one challenges unexpected order to stay. The young man arrives eagerly at Grand Place Manor, confirming location. Shock and disbelief follow an order to stay at a defeated family's house. A figure declares all involved in band magic, including father, deserve punishment as others listen. A noblewoman demands justice, insisting Ranfeld's crime cannot be ignored. The speaker shifts blame onto Trist Parish, with wary observers. Two discuss forming alliance, planning operation against Ranfeld. The group discusses mansion security and difficulty approaching without status. The young man reveals a plan to ambush the Ranfeld residence. Two allies question the simple plan, but the companion insists on its success. Two finalize infiltration plans despite lacking necromancer info. The group has extensive experience battling necromancers. Two pairs silently face off in tense standoff within a grand room. The Ranfeld estate is heavily guarded with vigilant moonlit patrols. Guards patrol while hidden group prepares below. A hand grips a Molotov cocktail as flames erupt. Three masked figures prepare a vengeance attack ordering start. Molotov cocktails fly toward rooftops as unseen attacker strikes. Arcs of fire rain on startled guards, forcing terror reactions. Amid magical explosions, guards scramble with orders to confront attackers. Four charge through burning battlefield, energy ripping enemy lines. Group prepares to infiltrate mansion detecting necromancy inside. Furious leader confronts armored soldiers, demanding assent by Plaths. Karnak readies to confront elite knights, preparing first attack. A massive fireball erupts, scaring 2 armored men away. Karnak unleashes chain lightning, devastating enemies. A cloaked figure suddenly trapped by glowing golden chains as others watch. A man writhes in agony, restrained by magic chains with armed foes closing in. A female warrior leaps under full moon, swinging a glowing sword. She strikes armored enemies with devastating aura attack. A red-haired fighter slashes through enemies, chaos erupting. A powerful sword swing cuts down armored foes as a protest arises. Armed enemies close in while a fighter prepares defense, and another criticizes lack of battle aura. A furious swordsman charges, initiating a hostile attack amid chaos. A devastating energy blast hurls 2 opponents back. A young man rallies comrades as red energy surges behind. 2 armored soldiers are cut down by swift strikes amid flames. A powerful blow crashes an enemy, surrounded by flames. A furious swordsman charges through flames, attacking as watchers shock. Karnak unleashes dark power, demanding surrender and stunning onlookers. The armored figure announces enemy retreat as group surveys devastation. The group stands puzzled under burning sky by absent necromancers. They observe the burning mansion, realizing enemies likely wait inside for advantage. For enter silent, dimly lit hall, alert for danger. Cautiously they enter, reacting tensely to an unseen voice acknowledging them. A towering spectral figure with hooded followers confronts them, noting their aura and high mage status. The summoned undead specter overwhelms followers, boasting unstoppable darkness power. A character uncovers critical evidence, advancing the investigation. The group agrees to capture targets and return, confident of sufficient evidence. 2 grin eagerly as they plot to profit from 3 unsuspecting targets. A hooded figure angrily challenges opponent, signaling attack in tense hallway. He unleashes swirling staff energy, draining life essence from shadowed group. A young man channels radiant magic, declaring goddess's judgment as he strikes enemies. A spectral figure materializes, wielding a staff to command swirling energy halt. A cloaked young man recalls hearing a priest is present, as companion watches warily. Sarati strikes her shadowy opponent with powerful sword, red energy crackling. A figure sprints down grand staircase, dodges magical blast as hooded watchers loom. Determined long-haired fighter dives, unleashing a powerful glowing sword attack. He slashes through multiple enemies with overwhelming strikes. 2 freeze in alarm, witnessing a shocking unseen event. A frightened woman denies responsibility amid swirling red energy. 2 watch alarmed as mansion contorts, glowing with sinister symbols and growths. Corrupting tendrils rapidly spread over sealed door, intensifying menace. The group stands shocked in a distorted red space as the environment transforms. A hidden figure revels, mocking defeated foes. 5 stand facing a looming figure as tension fills the air. A headless corpse kneels amid fiery shadows after brutal defeat. 3 tense men freeze as an ominous voice calls out, exposing identities. A shadowy figure stands over 2 wounded on the floor, declaring certainty. The sinister man reveals himself as Bishop, confronting accuser. A distressed man confronts someone for succumbing to dark powers, unable to accept betrayal. She slams fists against a living barrier. Exits remain sealed as others watch anxiously. A young man raises glowing staff, trying to dispel weakening death energy. A magical barrier flares as chaos erupts and an alarm is shouted. A panicked figure realizes divine power failed as energy vortex intensifies. Shockingly, divine power strengthens necromancy. The group braces in a twisted cavern as mocking voices challenge necromancer knowledge. A man confronts another, pressing for necromancy's true dangers. Karnak urgently warns allies to prepare as danger nears in a red-lit room. Recognizing the threat, 2 brace for possible disaster. They stand alert in the blood-red landscape, realizing imminent danger. 1 examines a powerful barrier combining divine and necromancy forces, only defeatable using chaos mana and necromancy. A challenge is posed, asking familiarity with the spell. Tense and alarmed, Karnak confronts swirling red magical tendrils from an unknown spell. A menacing voice declares no escape is possible, cornering its target. A monstrous shadowy mass approaches as the protagonist senses threat. The group recoils as a massive shadowy figure emerges in red-lit cavern. Towering chaotic golems surge forward as adventurers prepare to fight. 2 collide in fierce, chaotic struggle as energy erupts around them. A priest raises a glowing staff, summoning protective barrier as claws descend. A surge of green energy violently shatters a scene center. A young man strains to keep a cracking magical barrier intact as others urge him on. A magic user unleashes violent flames from staff colliding with swirling green energy. Massive red explosion blasts 2 figures backward amid chaos. 2 giant golems hurl 2 men down, overpowering them. Captors drag unconscious priest and mage through debris to imprison in basement. Sarati leaps forward, slamming sword into armored opponent, releasing energy. She recoils disbelief as her attack fails to affect the foe. A massive golem seizes a red-haired woman, dismissing others as useless. 2 stand together, clearly uninterested in the topic. An ominous presence threatens Sarati, causing terror-stricken scream. Karnak blocks an attack with his sword, shielding Sarati. Karnak drives glowing weapon in a powerful sword attack. He leaps and strikes a giant golem with his glowing sword. 2 dodge falling debris as the cavern shakes with red glow. Shocked by a strange technique, 1 demands an answer amid glowing cave tension. A precise attack exposes a chaotic golem's weak point in a glowing chest. One fighter withdraws support, leaving companion exposed to approaching armored foes. Karnak desperately tries necromancy, but it has no effect. Karnak strains to infuse swirling purple fog with necromancy but cannot control it. Urgently seeking solutions, the strategist realizes defeat is near. Overwhelmed by unfamiliar necromancy, a necromancer collapses as enemies close in. Karnak surveys a cavern, suspecting hidden danger and considering his only lead. The protagonist prepares to test his theory, determined. Karnak swings sword furiously, cutting enemies amid chaotic battle. An energy wave erupts from Karnak, obliterating rocks and darkness. A powerful blow smashes a chaotic golem, leaving its summoner in disbelief. A frustrated man in robes vents over underestimating opponents and debates necromancy scroll usage. Unable to overcome stone golems, the fighter prepares new powers as swirling blue force appears. A menacing blue spirit lunges amidst swirling energy. A sudden magical ambush surprises the group as fighters scramble for cover. A female dashes toward an energy attack as others watch behind a glowing barrier. Sarati charges her red energy blade, eyes determined. A fierce fighter unleashes a red slash as a menacing blue spirit appears. A purple-haired character is blasted by blue energy, crashing hard. A monstrous blue spirit strikes a red-haired character who screams. The aura user collapses in pain, overwhelmed by dark and blue energy. Someone forcefully interrupts the confrontation. Shrouded in blue energy, Sarati bows as a dark force overwhelms. Two unleash swirling magic confronting a startled necromancer below. Amid purple chaos, the protagonist confirms a suspicion. The barrier shatters as a menacing blue spirit plunges into chaos. A man with a cross necklace demands to know what has been done. Karnak mocks an opponent's barrier and lack of skill as the armored figure glares. Sarati sprawled on ruined floor mocks her opponent, refusing to back down. Undead surge from the ground, animated by green necromantic energy. Armed soldiers are startled by unexpected events in dim area. As a magical barrier collapses, two prepare for battle against summoned undead with one conjuring necromancy, and the other drawing sword. Two stand their ground as high-ranked undead advance in dark building. One slashes undead while the other casts desperate spell urging retreat as necromancy grows stronger. Karnak blasts dark energy, pushing multiple enemies backward. Three attackers unleash dark purple blasts at a collapsed white-haired figure. Men armed with sticks are knocked back by dark purple energy from an unknown source. A man snarls defiantly, mocking opponents' futile efforts against his overwhelming power. A towering demon emerges from a red magic circle as figures witness its arrival. A massive demonic figure emerges from shadows, glowing eyes menacing. A towering demonic figure demands the contractor state their desires. A ruthless antagonist commands his followers to kill the men and capture the woman. A massive demon demands to know who it is supposed to kill, towering over the two stunned figures. Someone mocks a necromancer for being easily deceived by an illusion. The confident man mocks his stunned opponent after shattering the magical barrier and revealing the illusion. The illusion shatters, leaving everyone stunned as the truth is suddenly revealed. A man explodes with rage as he shouts at his enemies. Two young men rest in the forest after escaping, mocking their opponent's weak illusion magic. The two armored men quietly agree that returning to the Platz is too risky, since the Renfelds will search there first. Sarati angrily confronts someone, accusing them of deception under the night sky. One young man checks on his companion's condition as they reunite in the forest at night, both relieved yet slightly awkward. Sarati angrily confronts her captors, demanding to know their location. Karnak explains that they are hiding outside the city to avoid the barriers and have been healing their companion instead of harming them. Someone threatens to erase the other person's memories under the pretense of good intentions. A wounded woman admits her injuries are so severe that she can no longer live normally or continue as a swordsman. Sarati, wounded and desperate, pleads to be killed under the moonlit sky. He pauses beneath the night sky, lost in serious thought. As tension rises, the group debates whether to risk using forbidden holy magic to heal their injured companion. Under the tense night sky, the group discusses possible uses for necromancy until one abruptly interrupts with concern. Under the night sky, one person desperately asks another if necromancy can restore her lost arm, and the other hesitantly considers the possibility. A character warns that accepting necromancy requires becoming their servant. Under the moonlit sky, Karnak proposes a risky alliance, asking if the other would serve an evil necromancer. Sarati realizes in shock that they are facing a servant of a necromancer. A necromancer's power to enslave souls is revealed, highlighting the grim fate of captured adventurers. Someone internally rejects a horrifying possibility, unable to accept it. One character stands silently while the other, visibly distressed and wounded, struggles with her emotions in the tense night. Barrows confronts Karnak about his intentions, while Karnak admits he acted deliberately and worries about overstepping boundaries. As night falls, one character admits he cannot offer advice and is reluctant to use necromancy, while another listens silently and a distressed figure awaits guidance. A tense negotiation unfolds as the red-haired woman anxiously asks what will happen if she accepts the offer to become a servant in exchange for regaining her lost arm. A powerless figure is subjected to a soul-binding contract that threatens death for betrayal. Sarati weighs the risks of the oath and realizes it's similar to the loyalty sworn by knights. An ultimatum is delivered, forcing a choice between freedom and a future as a swordsman. She steels herself, determination burning in her eyes as she prepares for what comes next. Sarati anxiously begs to be accepted as a servant under the dark sky. A A final warning is issued, demanding a definitive answer. The character firmly accepts the chance to fight again, valuing it over losing the ability to wield a sword forever. The challenge begins. A pact is sealed as one figure kneels and accepts servitude before the outstretched, glowing hand of another, while a silent observer watches. A glowing hand presses against the kneeling figure's head, surrounding her with swirling energy as she is compelled to accept a contract of servitude. Sarati staggers back in agony as a surge of magical energy strikes her. Overwhelmed by the curse, the character collapses to his knees as purple energy engulfs his hands. A red-haired woman stares in shock at her hands as they emit an ominous, shadowy energy, while another gloved hand reaches toward her. Dark energy engulfs a gloved hand, causing it to disintegrate as its owner screams in agony. A serious young man in a dark cloak calls out to the red-haired figure under the night sky. A character asserts control by declaring another as their servant. Sarati stands in the moonlit forest, pledging unwavering loyalty. In a tense forest clearing, the group quickly discusses how to rescue the kidnapped allies. The two men discuss the threat that using large-scale necromancy could destroy the city. The group faces a tense decision between rescuing their allies or abandoning them to escape. The group debates whether saving their friends is the right choice, struggling with the difficulty of making a moral decision. The two discuss whether to risk using force in order to save their friends, ultimately deciding that rescuing them is the right thing to do. One character enthusiastically justifies using questionable methods, while another smiles and a third appears surprised. Two characters joke about using necromancy while another protests in frustration. Guards aggressively search the area, demanding the townspeople open their doors and report any outsiders. A guard seizes a merchant and orders him to comply as a crowd looks on anxiously. The protagonist desperately struggles to break free from invisible restraints. Two armored men patrol a dark alley at night, one complaining about their late shift, while the other looks on in surprise. An irritated character forcefully orders someone to stop standing still and move. Barrows glares defiantly and challenges the order given to him in the dark alley. A young man, gripping a sword crackling with green energy, protests angrily as he confronts someone. A fierce blow lands as one man strikes his opponent with a glowing green weapon, catching him off guard. A young man, alarmed and defensive, tries to explain himself as tension rises when his sword suddenly moves during a confrontation. A fierce green energy slash strikes and injures the opponent, forcing a pained cry. An authority figure steps in to break up a fight between two men, ordering them to stop and get back to work as green energy pulses between them under the night sky. An enraged figure lashes out defensively, blaming someone else as green energy swirls around him. Three armed figures rush forward with weapons drawn, charging desperately at the monster. Surrounded by armed figures, the man radiates a green aura and protests in alarm as they accuse him of being a monster. A piercing scream of pain erupts, signaling a moment of intense agony. A figure unleashes a green necromancy spell from atop a building while two others watch from behind. One figure confidently conjures green energy and announces his plan to create an undead army, while another watches with unease. A character is taken aback by an unexpected suggestion. A determined character formulates a plan to confront Straff, relying on the abundance of death energy in the city. A figure on the rooftop decides to create more bodies for control as a battle rages below within a magical barrier. Two plotters justify their questionable plan as necessary to save their friends, while a third companion looks on skeptically. The green-haired swordsman fiercely attacks the armored foes, ignoring the fleeing townspeople as chaos erupts in the street. Two men clash swords amid swirling green energy, each accusing the other of betrayal. A furious attacker unleashes a devastating sword strike infused with green energy, forcing his opponent to scream in agony. Amid the chaos, a panicked fighter reels as a powerful blow from a glowing weapon cuts through the opposition. A powerful magical barrier activates around three figures, filling them with renewed confidence as energy surges through the space. A young man enveloped in dark energy raises his hand and summons his army. A massive beam of purple energy slams into the ground, scattering massed assailants across the nighttime city. Undead figures with glowing purple eyes surge forward, attacking with swords as dark energy erupts around them. A sword-wielding figure releases dark energy, engulfing several soldiers in ominous shadows. A tense woman warns others to dismiss any positive thoughts about a man, declaring him cruel and evil. An army of undead soldiers advances down the street as three figures prepare to confront them. A figure commands the group to march forward with overwhelming authority, while another hesitates, questioning if serving someone like this is the right choice. Monstrous attackers overwhelm the barricade and surge toward the defenders. A swarm of undead monsters charges forward, some flying and others brandishing weapons as they attack. Two figures survey the battlefield as a death dragon and 7 trumpeters are summoned among masses of undead below. One character urges the other to leave quickly to avoid being discovered, while the second expresses confusion about the danger. A character reveals that the zombies are merely an illusion, changing the understanding of the threat. One character calmly reveals that most of the figures are illusions, surprising the other under the night sky. The group receives praise for their progress as they are urged to move quickly, while one member quietly impresses and another questions the situation. A spellcaster stands inside a glowing summoning circle, beginning a ritual as 2 bound and unconscious figures lie at his feet. Red energy swirls around his arms as he confidently dismisses the advancing zombies as insignificant. A desperate man searches the chaotic battlefield as empowered hunters clash with winged demons. The group discovers a vast, secret basement beneath the estate, filled with tangled roots and eerie red light. Startled by a mysterious voice, Barrows is suddenly restrained by a red, tentacle-like force in the darkness. 3 figures confront their adversary in a sinister, glowing environment, with the confident leader taunting their target. Someone is startled by the sudden appearance of unexpected intruders. Barrows calmly addresses the exhausted Sarati after the zombie battle, while Sarati reacts in alarm at the mention of new arrivals. 2 men lie bound together on a glowing altar as preparations for a sacrificial ritual begin. Restrained by red tendrils, the furious man accuses his adversary of causing the chaos. An armored figure clenches his glowing fist, challenging his opponent's assumption despite his exhaustion. A shadowed figure stands tense in the darkness, expressing frustration at being unable to confront his enemies. Alias stands his ground and threatens the advancing horde of monsters. The group surges forward into the fray as chaos erupts around them. 3 combatants unleash intense magical attacks, their red and blue energies clashing violently across the battlefield. A resolute young man summons souls from purgatory with a surge of green magic. A surge of green energy signals the beginning of a powerful supernatural event. Spectral figures attack as the group fiercely defends themselves, clashing with weapons amid swirling green energy. A surge of green energy tears through the group, sending several figures flying back from the impact. Spectral, green apparitions surge forward as one attacker unleashes a devastating purple energy slash at the group. 2 warriors clash with their enemies, exchanging powerful sword strikes and bursts of magical energy. A terrified man scrambles away as a dark, spectral figure cuts down another person with a glowing purple blade. 3 defeated figures lie collapsed on the floor, surrounded by discarded weapons after a brutal struggle. A shaken man wearing a cross necklace yells in disbelief at how quickly the others were defeated. The protagonist declares he will unleash his trump card, signaling a decisive escalation in the confrontation. An unseen character summons a demon from Gehenna. A demonic figure bursts forth in a torrent of red energy, radiating overwhelming fury. Sarati raises her sword in alarm as Barrows reacts impatiently to the appearance of the demon Majnun. A young man smirks and taunts his opponent, while channeling swirling green necromantic energy around his hands. A massive red demon staggers in pain as a robed figure unleashes a powerful spell from a glowing magic circle above. A demon convulses in agony as corrosive green energy violently bursts from his body. The young man confidently declares the use of counter-summoning and orders his opponent to leave. A furious figure erupts with a violent threat, ready to tear everything apart. A horned character slams their electrified hand into the ground, sending a surge of red energy erupting outward. A towering demon emerges from the explosion and demands that the contractor state their wish. Standing within the glowing ritual circle, the antagonist commands his followers to kill the men and capture the woman, reveling in his apparent victory. A powerful demonic figure surges forward, sword in hand, as he activates the contract. 3 armored figures tense as the swirling red energy from the summoning gate suddenly halts its closure, leaving them alarmed and on guard. The leader, struggling with pain, urgently commands his allies to fight as ominous red energy surrounds them. A determined fighter leaps forward, unleashing a powerful sword attack against the massive red demon while another warrior braces himself below, ready for battle. 2 fighters charge together, swords raised, unleashing a fierce attack on the demon. A towering demon belittles the 2 armed challengers, radiating overwhelming menace. 2 sword wielders collide midair as a massive burst of red and purple energy erupts around them. A red-haired woman is struck by a powerful attack, blood spraying as she shouts in pain. A swirling fireball forms in one character's hand as 2 others brace defensively behind him. A massive demon braces himself as multiple fireballs rain down on him. A demonic figure unleashes a massive burst of energy, causing chaos and destruction. 2 warriors stand ready after a grueling fight, frustrated by their limitations, while one of them suddenly notices something unexpected. Karnak urgently orders Barrows to execute Plan P. Startled, one character urgently recalls a backup plan while another looks on, puzzled, in the dim hallway. A gloved hand channels blue energy onto the young man's head as he stands tense and apprehensive. A blue-flamed figure places his hand on another's head in a ritual, while a third person watches warily and questions the sudden declaration of kinship. A commanding figure unleashes a surge of blue energy, demanding absolute obedience. Energy surges as Karnak's eyes glow intensely, signaling the release of his power. A secretive strategy called Plan P, possession, is revealed against a foreboding backdrop. A spectral figure reveals his possession of the surprised warrior, who realizes she is the kin being referenced. A commanding figure orders an attack, while the seated opponent mocks the chosen name and reacts in surprise as energy surges nearby. A determined character forcefully seizes control of another's body, causing chaos as the original owner protests in distress. The red demon mocks his opponent for trying to use a battle aura without any aura abilities. She charges forward, wielding the flaming sword and defying expectations with a surge of forbidden power. A smaller figure strikes the massive demon with a glowing blade, forcing it to recoil. Sarati confidently declares her mastery over manipulating battle aura as a fiery armored figure looms behind her. A furious demon realizes his opponent has exploited his weakness and grown even stronger, making the fight much harder. A blue aura surges around the sword as possession grants new power, leaving the wielder astonished by the transformation. A powerful blow strikes the ground, giving the fighter a clear advantage in the ongoing battle. A monstrous creature swings its sword in a furious clash as the fighter charges straight into the attack. Sarati slashes through the air with a fierce, energy-charged sword attack. The horned adversary reels as a blue-bladed weapon lands a decisive blow, realizing defeat is imminent. Sarati leaps from above and slams her glowing sword down at the massive red-armored opponent. She charges forward, swinging her glowing sword at the towering demon as it raises its flaming blade in defense. Sarati taunts her opponent, while confidently wielding a glowing sword in the dim hall. A furious demon shouts an accusation at his adversary, his rage filling the dark scene. With a fierce glare, the man defiantly warns his opponent not to celebrate victory yet. A furious demon unleashes a surge of red energy at the fallen figure, declaring that everything ends once the body's possession stops. A devastating burst of purple energy explodes outward as a lone figure stands at its center. A powerful demon mocks the human opponent after gaining the upper hand. Someone demands an explanation in a tense atmosphere. A sly grin spreads across his face as he taunts the others about the summoning. A blue glowing figure suddenly ambushes a red demon-like opponent from above, catching him completely off guard. Karnak confronts his opponent, revealing that he saw through their intentions. A horned demon realizes he's surrounded by illusions and prepares to take action. A determined warrior charges downward with a glowing sword, preparing to strike the monstrous demon. Sarati swiftly dodges a deadly strike as energy blades clash with her towering opponent. A powerful magical strike wounds the furious red demon, leaving it weakened and low on mana. The wounded demon staggers, clutching its chest in disbelief after being injured by a human. A barefoot figure activates a powerful ritual at the center of a glowing red magical circle. A character urgently announces the sudden return of the summoning gate, startling everyone in the dim chamber. A furious demon issues a vengeful threat, promising torment before disappearing into the fiery landscape. A furious young man blocks the escape, demanding answers and refusing to let the other person run away. A furious demon vows revenge, threatening unbearable torment upon his return. A cloaked young man blocks an attempted escape, furious that his group's efforts are being disregarded. A gloved figure unleashes a surge of dark energy, launching a deadly attack. A demonic figure unleashes a surge of purple energy above a glowing red magic circle as someone reacts in shock. A monstrous figure convulses in panic as its mana suddenly reverses direction, causing intense agony. A monstrous figure screams in terror as energy slashes rip across its face. A muscular man screams in agony as violent dark energy overwhelms him. A massive surge of purple energy explodes outward, signaling the start of a fierce attack. Spectral apparitions descend onto the shattered battlefield. One character collapses to the ground in agony while another stands over her, calmly instructing her to release the powerful aura to ease the pain. The confident leader announces that only one enemy remains, causing shock among the others. The protagonist pauses, catching his breath as exhaustion sets in. A middle-aged man, clutching a golden cross, raises his hands and surrenders. Inside the dim stone chamber, one man offers to reveal everything he knows while the other quickly questions his intentions. A menacing figure threatens to kill and interrogate their enemy's soul, preferring a direct approach over complications. After receiving urgent approval, the protagonist prepares to kill his target with glowing green energy in hand. A man recoils in terror as a massive green energy attack crashes down on him. A man in green robes is struck by a powerful green energy slash while others watch in shock. A character is struck by a critical hit, causing green liquid and debris to explode across the scene. Karnak kneels beside the injured figure and prepares to unleash a green magical spell. A hand crackling with dark energy moves to seize the glowing green orb resting on the bloodied chest. A surge of green energy forms in the character's hand as another reacts with excitement, eager to return home. Two companions finish their task and start heading back when someone suddenly calls out to them. One character scolds another for forgetting about the two captives tied up on the stone slab. Two battered young men react with shock and disbelief at hearing that Straw was defeated by only 3 people. After surviving injuries from golems and being dragged to the basement, the group narrowly escaped when a sudden zombie army attacked the residence. A new necromancer leads a group of undead in revolt, forcing the defending necromancer to retreat into the basement after exhausting his power. The group secured victory with the help of an ally while some members were unconscious, as the events are explained after the battle. The group expresses relief over their recent success and requests the purification ritual be performed on the untouched corpse. A surge of green energy bursts from the character's hand as they unleash a powerful spell. Alias is stunned as he realizes the vial contains far more darkness of the end than any other necromancer possesses. One man questions the lingering necromancy power, while the other explains he left some behind to avoid drawing suspicion. Someone announces that everything is finished. With the enemy defeated and the city's main threat eliminated, the group prepares to leave the aftermath in the hands of the Order and return. Someone shouts in shock as the sky darkens overhead. One character confronts another about joining the Jestrad barony, leaving everyone in shock and confusion. 4 figures confront the priest at the gates, demanding an explanation for his reaction. One character awkwardly declares loyalty to another, but her insincerity is immediately noticed. The group agrees to return to the territory to officially ordain her after confirming her decision to serve. A man in ornate armor says farewell and parts ways after their cooperation. A butler enthusiastically welcomes his lord at the entrance of a grand estate as the staff assembles behind him. Karnak arrives on horseback with barrows and greets the group. The protagonists arrive on horseback and are warmly welcomed by a group of staff. one character confidently reveals a crucial detail, leaving the other in shock. A beautiful red-haired woman appears, leaving the attendants stunned and questioning her identity. A dark-haired man in armor introduces a red-haired woman as the new knight of the Jestrad barony in the sunlit courtyard. A concerned advisor warns that accepting just anyone as a knight could cause problems for the territory. Karnak orders Sarati to step forward and demonstrate her abilities. Sarati unleashes a powerful red aura from her sword, signaling the start of her demonstration. Karnak unleashes a massive red energy attack as a group of onlookers watches from afar. A destructive blast of red energy slams into the tree, sending debris flying. A group braces for battle as a massive, beastly shadow looms threateningly overhead. Someone is shocked to discover that their opponent can use aura. A confident woman introduces herself to the group and expresses surprise at meeting someone important in such an unexpected place. Weeks later, two opponents clash swords in a fierce and explosive duel. Three armored figures observe someone struggling, quietly discussing their own experiences with similar challenges. Despite their weight difference, she easily forces him back with raw strength, showing dominance without even using her battle aura. A sword is knocked from someone's grasp and soars through the sky. Sarati confidently holds her sword after disarming Karnak, who stands in shock. The armored man ends the day's training session, and the red-haired woman acknowledges his effort with a smile. After a successful training session, one knight thanks another for her help and invites her to have a drink as the other knights talk in the background. A young man eagerly volunteers for his turn, holding up two wooden practice swords with a confident smile. Two swords collide with a surge of energy. A white-haired young man clashes swords with his red-haired opponent, criticizing their awkward use of battle aura. During a fierce training duel, one character criticizes the other's inefficient use of power with each sword strike. Karnak strains to hold back a powerful attack with his glowing red sword. Sarati lunges forward, swinging her sword at Barrows as their training match begins. Sarati anxiously suggests repeating the body possession so she can get used to the experience. The boy warns that repeating the ritual more than 3 times will corrupt the soul and cause madness, shocking the girl. The sparring match ends as one character encourages the other to rely on their own talent, and reminds them of their upcoming training session. Sitting alone in the empty office, he struggles to find any answers. Karnak sits on the throne, troubled as he wonders how to merge his own power with another energy after witnessing Straff's combination of necromancy and divinity. Someone internally questions whether important information has been kept from them. Karnak clenches his hair in frustration, unable to find any answers. A character urgently prepares to block the darkness spreading from the vortex. Someone reflects solemnly on the impending darkness. A mysterious force moves through time and space, spreading across the land. Karnak focuses his power, creating a swirling red energy as he prepares to forge a powerful physique capable of investigating dangerous time and space. Dark energy strands surge violently as a powerful attack is unleashed. A swirling red vortex forms as powerful magic is manipulated with precision. A monstrous red eye radiates dark energy as an intimidating power is unleashed. A man unleashes a surge of dark energy from his chest as he completes the activation of the Eye of Darkness. 3 people sit around a campfire in the dark forest as one questions another's lack of battle aura, despite his reputation as a top martial artist. Sitting by the campfire, the two reflect on how the loss of the Death King's power and dark battle aura has complicated their journey since the regression. 3 people sit tensely around a campfire as one reacts in shock to an awkward conversation. Someone angrily questions if these people are responsible for all the trouble. Sarati struggles to process the shocking revelation about world domination and space-time regression. The protagonist realizes that the ominous figures before the burning tower are not just knights and nobles, but powerful transcendents who once ruled the world and have also regressed. While 2 companions laugh and eat by the campfire, one man sits apart, wondering how he ended up with them. 3 figures huddle by a campfire at night, weighing the dangers of using necromancy in foreign territory to avoid detection. Barrows furiously confronts Karnak about past wrongs, while Sarati looks on in confusion and Karnak grows visibly nervous. Under the bright moonlight, the atmosphere grows tense as preparations for a pivotal moment begin. A figure summons a glowing, red eye-shaped flame above their outstretched hand. One character reveals the Eye of Darkness and announces a plan to send it through time-space to find a way to close the door of darkness. A colossal red apparition descends menacingly over 3 startled figures around the campfire. 2 figures silently watch as a red beam of light shoots into the night sky. The characters quietly discuss the lack of disturbance as they observe, but do not open the time-space. One character prepares to enter the Infinity Realm using the eye and instructs the others to protect him while he is unconscious. He closes his eyes and steadies himself, preparing for what lies ahead. A fiery red orb descends toward the dark pool as the ritual begins to take effect. Ominous red orbs swirl with dark energy as an unknown force begins to gather power. A fiery orb hurtles down from the glowing sky. A mysterious glowing object floats in a dark, eerie pool beneath the twisted tree. A massive, corrupted red tree named Astra Schnaf is discovered in the swirling darkness. A monstrous, twisted tree radiating red energy is revealed as the true form of the authority once wielded. A dark energy descends from the sky as a menacing red eye watches over a sharp beam striking the water near jagged rocks. A character analyzes the spreading darkness and realizes they must stop the vortex at its source. Twisted branches part to reveal a glowing, red core as the search intensifies. A massive, corrupted tree radiating purple energy is spotted in the distance. A figure lifts a dark, glowing orb from the murky water, considering how to extract information from it. A dark magical barrier appears, blocking entry and startling the intruder with a dire warning. A terrified figure demands to know the shadowy entity's identity as it emerges from the darkness, revealing itself as death and destruction. A panicked figure is violently overwhelmed by swirling dark energy as a glowing core forms at their chest. An overwhelming mass of red and black energy seizes control, leaving the character stunned by its power. A powerful invocation of Tezranic echoes through the ominous darkness. A monstrous, fiery eye erupts from the darkness, signaling the sudden arrival of a powerful force. A powerful command is activated as glowing mystical text emerges within a swirling dark aura. A monstrous tree-like entity with a glowing red core erupts in a surge of dark energy. A male figure is struck by a powerful attack, blood spraying as he cries out in pain. Two figures kneel urgently over the gravely injured man, calling out to him as he lies unconscious beneath the night sky. Clutching his forehead in confusion, the young man struggles to understand what just happened. After regaining consciousness in the forest clearing, the weakened figure dismisses concerns about his condition and urgently asks about the god worshipped by the cultists. A character mentions the god of death, hinting at the involvement of a powerful entity. The group discusses Tezranic, the dark god of death and darkness worshipped by the Order of the Black God. The two companions react in shock as they realize the cultist god is real. Karnak stands in the darkness, stunned as he realizes something unbelievable. Someone demands to know why such a thing existed. Three figures are abruptly summoned, each standing alone in a pillar of light. A stern figure steps forward in the golden light and announces a critical problem within the sanctuary. A masked figure explains that the sanctuary is protected because nothing can approach it. A priestess notices something unusual as she stands in the golden light. Determined to uncover the truth, the character decides to verify the situation personally. A hand urgently rings a bell in the dim sanctuary, signaling that something is wrong. A maid enters the room and stands at attention as a bell rings from the desk. The poised woman requests that someone bring Hudel to her immediately. A legendary mage, known as the Imperial Mage of the Linarcia Empire and one of 3 archmages, is introduced. The attempt to prevent the opening has failed. The group debates the risk of being discovered after repeated failed attempts to approach their target. He sits in deep thought, analyzing the motives of the Order of the Black God and questioning their true stance. A hooded figure strikes the mystic tree with a staff as another crouches nearby, both surrounded by fallen orbs, while the source and nature of their power are questioned. She demands to know what sets the two apart. A hand reaches toward the glowing red tree as the speaker reveals that disturbing it allows for reality-altering feats, including the first-time regression spell. Realizing the Order of the Black God's overwhelming power, one character clutches a medallion in distress while another watches with concern. The group reacts with alarm as an unexpected enemy is mentioned, prompting tense questions and uncertain answers around the table. Two people argue in the library about whether power can become conscious, with one dismissing the idea as impossible. The dark-haired man calmly challenges an assumption, prompting the blonde man to react in surprise. Someone struggles to understand the situation. 3 people argue at the table about whether the sentient tree has truly become a god, with skepticism and frustration escalating. Sarati acknowledges their uncertainty as she reflects on the unanswered questions in the dimly lit room. The group quietly considers their next move as one of them decides to investigate the higher officials of the Order of the Black God for crucial information. The 2 men discuss the challenges of locating their targets and acknowledge the limitations of their current methods. A character declares that they must enter the King's Order, signaling a crucial turning point. The King's Order, an imperial force established to hunt the Order of the Black God, is formally introduced. Inquisitors and a mage launch a devastating magical attack at a hooded figure fleeing through the chaos, as the continent faces new threats from the Order of the Black God. Many influential nobles and royals join the Order of the Black God, making it hard for the 7 Goddess Order to manage the situation alone. The 7 nations form the King's Order, granting its members authority to investigate, arrest, and occasionally execute suspected cultists. The strict selection process allows admission to the academy only through referrals. An unspecified speaker expresses concern about the referral-based admission system. 3 people discuss their lack of imperial connections and question each other's plans around the table. She offers to help by arranging a referral and suggests they can apply immediately. The cheerful man quickly announces their departure plans while his companion focuses on eating bread. A blinding light engulfs the mansion while someone frantically calls out to their lord. A man discovers a farewell letter, breaks down in tears, and frantically wonders where someone has disappeared to without warning. The group sits outside a city cafe, quietly taking in their new surroundings as a sense of anticipation builds. The group quietly discusses their secretive nighttime departure from the tavern, expressing concern about leaving without notice and the risk of being stopped. 3 figures gather in the town square as another arrives and apologizes for being late. 2 cheerful young men eagerly welcome the new arrival at the sunlit entrance. 3 people gather at an outdoor table, reconnecting and catching up over tea after a last-minute invitation. A young man in priestly robes welcomes someone with a warm smile while holding a teacup. A man pauses by the window at night, recalling being asked about a recommendation from Alias. One character insists that the King's Order and the 7 Goddesses' Order are not entirely separate, revealing a hidden connection between the organizations. Sarati firmly explains that a cleric is necessary to catch a necromancer. A high-ranking inquisitor presents a glowing recommendation scroll to support the group's acceptance into the order. As the group hurries down the shadowy forest path, one urgently reveals that the information came directly from Alias. The speaker reveals that they were summoned to the Ranfeld family incident as part of a plan to receive a recommendation. A young man in green priestly robes cheerfully shares his disappointment about missing the chance to recommend the group to the king's order after their sudden departure. 4 people reunite at an outdoor table, relieved and happy to be together again. A sealed recommendation letter is handed across the table for delivery to headquarters. 3 young adventurers receive an encouraging blessing and express their gratitude outside the sunlit tower. The scene shifts to the majestic capital city of Drunta, where birds circle above its towering walls and central palace. Several figures gather outside the imposing headquarters, some conversing while others head inside. 2 figures stand over an unseen person with authority while another walks away from the confrontation. 2 men walk through the grand hall, quietly assessing the skills of those around them. 3 armed figures survey a new arrival in the courtyard, noting the unexpected presence of 2 aura users from the capital. An official informs the 3 travelers that their recommendation letter has been verified and offers to guide them to meet the Order Lord. 3 individuals enter the office and are greeted by the man seated behind the desk. A commanding figure steps forward and formally announces his position as the leader of the King's Order. An official reviews the documents and confirms that the 3 adventurers are qualified and their identities are secure. A gloved hand presents a recommendation letter, capturing the attention of the 3 figures standing before the desk. An older man questions someone's qualifications to join the King's Order. The group learns that all new members must undergo a training period to prevent infiltration by pagans. A confident man announces their first task, prompting a shocked outburst from the person seated before him. The group learns they are immediately assigned a heavy workload, leaving the newcomers visibly overwhelmed while a seasoned member reacts with amusement. A bearded man enthusiastically welcomes the newcomer to the King's Order as doubts surface about their future treatment. A cloaked figure leads a group into the ornate hall and commands the others to introduce themselves. A cheerful mage steps forward and announces he will guide the group through their practical placement. 2 new allies introduce themselves to the group, one holding a glowing staff. A newcomer is welcomed into the group but learns they must join a mission immediately due to unexpected orders. 2 men discuss the unexpected revelation that the general is a mage, questioning the hierarchy between mages and aura users. He quickly tries to clarify his words to avoid causing offense. A young man explains that family influence outweighs individual ability in their profession. The King's Order's main duties, collecting information and tracking down pagans, are explained amid swirling secret documents. 2 figures hurry through the shadowy corridor as they infiltrate the facility, preparing for abduction and interrogation rather than combat. One character questions the morality of their missions while another laughs and openly admits their tasks are wicked. Mages are favored over aura users in this field, with most generals in the King's Order being mages. Sarati challenges the requirements by asking if clerics should also be qualified. One character explains that the King's Order was designed to counterbalance the 7 goddesses' authority, while another acknowledges the logic behind not giving a priest a general's position. Someone begins to explain the mission, signaling the start of the briefing. A messenger informs the group that a regional noble has joined the Order of the Black God, intensifying the tension in the hall. The group decides to infiltrate Breland County disguised as adventurers to gather evidence against the suspect before carrying out the king's justice. The group receives incomplete information, leaving them uncertain about whether their target is truly a pagan. One character loudly reveals that the King's Order is meant to uncover a specific secret, causing the others to react to his excitement. Overwhelmed by the workload, the group slumps in frustration as the exhausting challenges take their toll. Lightning flashes over Count Breland's castle as a storm rages. A man rushes to the bedside as the young patient suffers a violent coughing fit. A hooded figure urgently informs the man by the bedside that his son's condition is rapidly worsening. A wary young man sharply refuses to get involved in necromancy, fully aware of its dangerous consequences. A grim figure contemplates the futility of resurrection, dismissing it as merely animating a corpse. The hooded figure explains that true necromancy requires serving Tezranic and wielding its dark power. In a shadowy, grand room, a figure questions whether healing the sick can truly be considered an evil act as others watch in silence. His eyes widen with anxiety as he hears that his son is still young. A frail young man questions the fairness of accepting a child's death while lying weakly in bed, holding his father's hand. A pale man pauses mid-cough, visibly unsettled by the tense situation. One man coughs weakly as he admits that the 7 goddesses' order was no help. A determined father tightly grips his son's hand on the bed, promising to give him a new life. A young man pleads to join Tezranic, awaiting the hooded figure's response in the dim room. Arriving at a sunlit inn on the outskirts of Breland County, 2 figures pause outside. 2 young men quietly plan their undercover investigation, ensuring their true affiliation remains hidden. A document is handed over the table, and the group realizes it is a wanted list connected to their secret mission. 3 individuals carefully examine a wanted poster, suspecting the criminal depicted may be connected to the ongoing case. A surprised blonde man listens as a cheerful red-haired man announces that their group will now act as bounty hunters pursuing a criminal. Someone questions the motive behind gathering information as a bounty hunter. The group decides to split into 3 teams to begin investigating the area. Karnak shows a photo to 2 townspeople and asks if they recognize the man, while his companion watches their reactions. Outside the building, the group discusses whether anything unusual has occurred in the city. A large mansion stands prominently beneath a clear sky, surrounded by vibrant trees. Two visitors from the Adventurer Guild introduce themselves as bounty hunters to the Count. A young man urgently requests help to pursue a fugitive who has escaped to the county. The young man agrees to cooperate to deal with the threat in their territory. Karnak and Barrows politely thank the seated man and prepare to leave. Walking side by side along the sunlit path, one character questions if that is truly all there is to the situation. Karnak, frustrated after their brief encounter with the Count, questions the point of their visit as they prepare to return to the inn. A cheerful young man smiles confidently and declares that their effort was enough. Someone confidently announces their realization. A group gathers outside the building, ready to share important information. They discuss Count Brelant's loss of his wife, and the incurable illness afflicting his only son. The group discusses how the sudden drop in crime and the expulsion of criminals could be an opportunity for cultists to exploit. One character questions if any mass disappearances have occurred in nearby towns, suspecting necromancer involvement. One of the young men eagerly shares that they visited the Count and discovered something interesting. Thick curtains covered every window, casting the ornate room into shadow and hinting at a deliberate effort to keep out the sunlight. As the group stands around the table, one of them pieces together a crucial connection from a familiar story. A blood-red moon rises over the castle of Count Brelant, revealing their next destination tied to the vampire legend. Two figures sit in tense silence across a long dining table, each measuring the other as red light pours through the windows. A solemn man confronts his son at the table, anxiously asking if he is despised. A young man with red eyes lifts his glass of wine and admits he feels unexpectedly calm. A character defensively justifies their actions by claiming they only consume what is already obtained, insisting they do not harm anyone. Two men sit across from each other at a lavish dining table, discussing how one's new diet is a necessary change for survival. In a dimly lit room, a serious man quietly reconsiders his beliefs about the Order of the Black God after reflecting on his son's character. A foreboding proclamation declares the emergence of a new truth for the new age. A determined figure vows that when Tezranik establishes balance between life and death in these lands, his son will finally have a chance at a normal life. A resolute man assures someone that their current suffering is only temporary and promises relief. Someone calls out as the calm sky is shown. Two investigators walk down a sunlit street, debating whether to continue their search for conclusive evidence. Sarati supports the exhausted companion down the village street as someone approaches. A brown-haired man confronts the seated pair, presenting a scroll and demanding to know if they are the bounty hunters. Outside, two figures are stunned as they receive urgent news that the wanted man has been found. A large manor covered in vines stands quietly under the bright sunlight. The group debates the reliability of the Count's claim about the criminal's hideout and considers setting an ambush. Two men scrutinize a suspicious letter, quickly realizing it's an obvious trap set by a vampire. The group debates whether ignoring the new information about the cultists will make their situation more dangerous, fearing that doing so could alert the enemies and provoke retaliation. Frustrated by his companion's lack of understanding, Karnak expresses his annoyance while the others look at him in surprise. Two men debate a risky plan at the table, realizing they must proceed despite the danger. A decision is made to follow the enemy's plan as part of a larger strategy. A solitary cabin stands alone in the forest beneath the night sky. A tense silence fills the shadowy room as five figures confront one seated apart at the table, each watching and waiting for someone to speak. One character asks about the strength of vampires, and another calmly explains that they are several times stronger than humans but not a cause for concern. One character points out that ancient vampires are powerful but usually get discovered and killed quickly. A character wonders what would happen if an aura user or a mage became a vampire. The group discusses how losing access to aura or magic makes them weaker, forcing them to retrain using dark mana. Three armored individuals relax on a bench under lamplight as one boasts confidently about their group's strength against vampires. A blazing meteor hurtles from the sky toward the building as a roaring, whistling sound fills the air. A massive explosion engulfs the area, scattering fire and debris in every direction. A group of adventurers reacts quickly as they realize an enemy has launched a surprise attack. A group of red-eyed enemies suddenly appears from the smoke, revealing themselves in front of the glowing barrier. A red-eyed man unleashes a powerful aura through his glowing sword, stunning his shocked opponent. Two allies stare in disbelief as they realize the strongest knight of Count Brelant has become a vampire. A resolute young man declares that Count Brelant has allied with pagans and proclaims the group as enemies of the goddess and the king. An authoritative figure orders someone to kneel and face royal judgment. A group of armored figures with glowing red eyes refuse to kneel, defiantly challenging the command. Five figures stand ready for combat as one demands compliance, warning that refusal will lead to judgment. An armored attacker leads a furious charge against the defending swordsman and his group of soldiers. A shouting figure leads a surge of red-eyed soldiers charging forward at high speed. A male character is violently struck and hurled backward, screaming in pain. The silver-haired warrior launches a rapid series of sword strikes, blue energy trailing behind his blade. A determined fighter lands a powerful sword blow, wounding the armored opponent. Clutching his smoking chest wound, the wounded man curses his royal enemies through gritted teeth. A fierce spellcaster unleashes a surge of radiant magic as her ally stands ready behind her. Two attackers rush forward through blue energy blasts, targeting the priestess. A hooded attacker lunges with a battle axe, forcing Sarati to raise her glowing staff in defense as Barrows reacts in shock. A young man drives his fiery weapon into the ground, forcefully summoning something to stop the unfolding action. A male character is struck by a glowing weapon that slams him into the ground, scattering debris everywhere. A towering stone golem smashes into the fray, sending someone hurtling through the air. A young man thrusts his glowing spear forward, releasing a massive lightning blast. A man is overwhelmed as a massive surge of blue lightning energy engulfs him. Peering through the trees at night, the young man anxiously reassesses the enemy's strength after witnessing unexpected power. A group of warriors blocks a powerful energy attack as the battle intensifies. Karnak slashes through his opponents with a powerful sword strike. Karnak and Barrows launch a fierce, coordinated assault against their hidden opponents, overwhelming them with energy and sword attacks. A young man braces himself and grips his crackling energy weapon, preparing for the challenge ahead. A powerful spell hurtles toward the desperate dagger wielder, who dodges as his opponent attacks relentlessly. A devastating blast erupts, shattering the ground and sending debris flying. The outcome of the battle depends on the clash between the aura users. Two red knights exchange powerful sword strikes as their duel intensifies. A colossal burst of energy explodes between two opponents as their attacks collide in the forest. The ground erupts as crackling energy tears through the debris. A distant scream echoes through the dark, ominous forest. A red-haired figure slams a glowing sword into the ground, shattering the earth and creating a deep fissure. A lone figure lands forcefully on the cracked ground, signaling a dramatic arrival. The cocky swordsman taunts his opponent, while brandishing a glowing red blade in the dark forest. Bruised and exhausted, Sarati kneels amid rubble, struggling to recover after being overpowered. A devastating lightning attack erupts across the battlefield as weapons and spells collide, forcing the warriors to defend themselves against the overwhelming surge of magical energy. Amid a chaotic clash of magic, one combatant urges his allies to stand firm as dark energy surges around them. Karnak and Barrows fight together against a vampire who unexpectedly wields powerful aura abilities, while Karnak worries about another enemy joining the battle. Someone asks about Miss Sarati's condition with evident concern. A red-haired woman is knocked back by a powerful blow. Sarati struggles to fight back as her opponent's unexpected power leaves her at a disadvantage. A character confidently displays a glowing red sword, boasting about the forbidden power granted to him and his ability to wield battle aura despite his transformation. Amid a fierce battle with a monstrous foe, one fighter urgently asks another about vampire weaknesses. The two fighters stand back to back, weapons ready, as they face a powerful, glowing tentacled threat and dismiss the idea of exploiting weaknesses they never deemed useful. Sarati anxiously asks for Barrows' help, admitting she can't handle the situation alone. One character frantically rejects the idea of possession, panicking over the potential risks, as the other suggests switching to Plan P. She refuses to back down and unleashes a blazing aura, determined to defeat her opponent herself. One character wishes the other good luck while the second reacts with nervous apprehension to the upcoming challenge. Sarati swings her sword, releasing a powerful blast of energy. Karnak is suddenly hit by a powerful, mysterious energy attack. A fierce opponent charges forward, unleashing a powerful attack with her glowing sword as her rival stands ready to meet the assault. Two opponents collide in midair as one unleashes a powerful, crimson-charged attack. Empowered by supernatural forces, the silver-haired attacker unleashes a devastating sword strike that the red-haired opponent barely manages to block. A red-haired female warrior unleashes a massive, glowing sword attack that shatters the surrounding rocks. Sarati fails to push her opponent back with battle aura and grows desperate. Sarati hesitates in confusion as a correction is called out, while an energy slash strikes the enemies in the background. Karnak criticizes his opponent's inefficient battle technique while observing their intense sword fight. A disembodied voice instructs someone to remember the sensations from when control of their body was taken and to try to recreate them. She channels a surge of red energy into her sword, focusing all her strength to control the battle aura. A voice reminds her that her body still retains memories of the past. A determined warrior channels purified battle aura into his sword, intensifying its power. Surrounded by a swirling red aura, the battered protagonist gathers his remaining strength and prepares to unleash his overwhelming power. A red-haired character releases a massive, glowing energy slash from their sword. Karnak senses a sudden and dangerous surge in his opponent's power, reacting with shock. Karnak charges forward with his weapon glowing red, launching an aggressive attack. Someone silently wonders how Barrows would handle the current predicament. Red energy erupts as Karnak channels his power, his glowing eye burning with determination. A fierce attacker strikes with a surge of red energy, sending her opponent flying through the air. Sarati recoils in shock as she realizes her attempt was successful. Sarati unleashes aura attacks with her glowing sword, realizing how much she has improved. Amid a surge of crimson energy, the young man shifts his focus mid-attack, realizing his true target. A determined fighter unleashes a powerful sword strike, sending a shockwave across the ground. A fierce strike is unleashed as one combatant narrowly dodges with unwavering focus. A fierce attacker unleashes a devastating blow, but the opponent manages to block it. The protagonist urgently analyzes the situation to predict the enemy's movements. A figure hurtles downward with a glowing red sword, launching a fierce attack on two opponents below. A strategy is explained to exploit the moment when the opponents slow down. A fierce fighter unleashes a powerful, glowing swords strike as a spectral ally appears behind her, overwhelming the enemy. Karnak is struck hard in the torso, coughing blood and screaming in pain. The two observe someone's progress and agree there's no need to step in. The group stands victorious, confident they now hold the advantage as the conflict nears its end. Karnak strains to defend himself as his opponent unleashes an unexpectedly overwhelming power. A desperate figure cries out about receiving new power from Lord Tessernak. Refusing to hold back, the speaker resolves to finish the confrontation immediately. A young man unleashes a devastating surge of red energy as he screams in agony. A character unleashes a devastating, fiery energy attack with their sword, no longer holding back. As one character shouts in alarm about the reckless use of battle aura, the others react with shock and tension. A massive red energy attack surges towards Sarati as she braces herself with a glowing sword. Karnak stands his ground, refusing to retreat as he prepares to confront the threat. He reveals his ability to create a limb, stunning his opponent amid a surge of energy. A fierce combatant unleashes a powerful red energy slash, challenging her opponent to see who will win. A massive surge of red and white energy collides, unleashing a violent explosion. A devastating attack erupts, sending debris and energy flying in all directions. Shattered debris and powerful energy blasts tear through the chaotic battlefield as a destructive attack is unleashed. One character charges recklessly into combat while another shouts in alarm, and the rest of the group braces for the confrontation. Amid swirling debris and ruptured ground, a shocked figure surveys the destruction. One character is smashed violently to the ground by a powerful force as another figure stands menacingly over them. A figure is hurled backward as a devastating, glowing attack lands with explosive force. Sarati, battered but resolute, braces herself with a glowing sword as tension fills the air. A character raises a glowing staff and casts a healing spell, blue energy swirling around another character's injured arm. The group gathers in the forest as one character heals another with blue magic, and both express gratitude. A wounded survivor acknowledges that Sarati's intervention saved them from certain death. 3 individuals stand in the forest as one presents a glowing blue crystal containing proof of the Count's crimes and instructs another to contact headquarters. A grave voice announces that preparations are complete to judge the Count House of Brelant. Soldiers surround Count Brelant Castle under urgent orders to capture every vampire inside. A powerful surge of divine energy erupts from the staff, blasting light across the battlefield as onlookers brace themselves. A furious figure with glowing red eyes unleashes a devastating energy blast, hurling their opponent backward. A commanding man urgently orders a search for Count Brelant and his son. A worried man grips his sword and prays anxiously by the window, hoping for someone's protection. A man sits alone in a grand chair as blood spatters suddenly appear on the nearby window, signaling a violent incident. 3 cloaked figures race down a forest path toward the glowing mansion as one urgently calls for the young master to hurry. 3 cloaked figures dash through the dark forest, fearing pursuit as one urgently calls for their father. A furious young man sprints through the dark forest, vowing revenge against his enemies. A determined priest invokes the name of Tessernak and unleashes a powerful magical declaration. 3 cloaked figures tense up as someone approaches them in the forest. 2 hooded figures, startled, confront a mysterious person in the forest and demand to know their identity. 3 armored adventurers tense up in the forest as one warns about the danger of exposing necromancy, shocked to realize the king's order may be involved. 3 hooded figures frantically flee through the rain as one urgently conjures a glowing green spell to escape their pursuers. Karnak raises his hand and unleashes a surge of purple energy. A massive spectral claw seizes 3 hooded figures as one of them shouts in shock at the sudden use of necromancy. Dark energy gathers in the man's fist as he confronts his wary companion and demands clarity about who the villain really is. One character kneels to examine the glowing green energy on the ground while 2 others watch closely, tense and alert. 3 figures stand in the forest as one conjures swirling green magic, preparing the group for what comes next. A gloved hand snaps its fingers, unleashing a burst of magical fire. One character incinerates the corpses while another panics and insists they should be reported instead. One character boasts about consuming all the darkness, leaving the other in shocked disbelief. One character warns that the growing necromancy power is becoming uncontrollable and questions whether relying solely on chaos magic is wise. Realizing the urgency of the situation, the young man quickly reassesses his strategy in the forest. The 2 discuss their concerns about the threats posed by Durald and Straff while standing in the forest. A man channels both holy and necromantic energy at once, demonstrating his unique power. A young man unleashes a red aura from his sword, revealing his ability to wield aura despite being a vampire. The group discusses their recent victory but grows concerned that their defeated opponents still retain their powers. A character explains that energies cannot be combined, so learning a new one requires abandoning the others. A pivotal rule has just been broken, signaling a major shift in events. A mage channels dark energy, demonstrating the power to wield both magic and necromancy. A female fighter unleashes a devastating attack that combines aura and necromancy. An armored man explains the dangers of transforming into powerful undead, highlighting the risk of losing one's humanity or sanity. A character is granted the ability to maintain control over their mind while wielding both their original powers and necromancy. The powerful will soon turn to necromancy to rapidly increase their strength. They realize that even the strongest figures could become their enemies, and that gaining only a little more power will not be enough to survive. Karnak stands in the forest, determined to gather as much power as possible. The headquarters acknowledges the team's recent success. The man behind the desk informs the group that Tarman praised their conduct and hints at a question. Iranto von Nayas offers immediate membership in the King's Order, citing strong recommendations and past achievements. A young man reacts with shock as he receives unexpected confirmation. A confident man presents a glowing badge, officially welcoming someone into the King's Order amidst cheers. 3 adventurers cheer about their meal as another reminds them it's time to start working. A stern man assigns urgent work to the group, prompting immediate frustration as they face a daunting stack of documents. The group stares down at the sealed object, overwhelmed with regret and questioning whether joining the organization was a mistake. Several days pass as the work continues. A furious energy blast sends the cultists flying as one figure attacks relentlessly while another stands ready nearby. Dark energy surges from Karnak as he overwhelms the panicked necromancers with a decisive attack. One character angrily slams falsified reports onto the table, scolding another for not submitting a proper report, while a third person looks on, exhausted and stressed. A figure absorbs green dark energy from corpses while 2 others stand guard near the prison door. A fierce combatant unleashes a devastating slashing attack, cutting down enemies while an ally stands nearby. Dark magic immobilizes a terrified man while another observes the scene without emotion. Papers fly across the room as one person angrily throws them, causing the others at the table to react with visible distress and frustration. Karnak strikes his fallen opponent with another surge of dark green energy. Karnak absorbs dark energy from a glowing green orb, intensifying his necromancy power. Karnak focuses intently as he begins to separate the swirling chaos mana from the glowing green energy orb in his hands. 2 opposing forces struggle to recombine a magical core as energy bursts between their clashing hands. Karnak channels a surge of dark energy, preparing to unleash his power. Surrounded by swirling red energy, the protagonist achieves a breakthrough and reaches the 6th circle. Outside the King's Order headquarters, a rumor begins to spread among unseen voices. Word quickly spreads in the Grand Hall that Karnak has already reached the level of a 6th circle mage, shocking those who hear it. 3 shocked young men react to the unexpected rapid advancement of their confident peer. Karnak proudly reflects on his rapid advancement to 6th circle mage status while his companions celebrate and react to the achievement. Sarati, visibly distressed, begs for the dangerous actions to stop, fearing the consequences of the darkness of the end. A nervous young man approaches the imposing double doors and calls out to the Grand Master. A bearded man laughs with excitement as he declares the possibility of a Grand Mage among them. No one suspects the man's secret, and he enthusiastically announces more good news to the group. A stern man announces that the captain position for the 7th Division is vacant and offers it to the person before him, explaining the choice was made internally. Karnak is stunned as the group confirms he has been chosen for recognition based on his contributions. Someone reminds another person of the high expectations placed on them and urges continued effort. He accepts the promotion while standing resolutely in the formal chamber, with 2 companions by his side. Karnak groans inwardly as he realizes his new responsibilities will bring even more work. 1 week later, the scene shifts to the imposing border fortress Arthra southeast of the Usteel Kingdom. A figure in ceremonial robes prays urgently in the basement as a scream echoes through the corridor. A woman recoils in terror as she witnesses something horrific unfold before her. Someone silently acknowledges that inquisitors sometimes resort to torturing cultists when necessary. Overwhelmed by fear, she recoils from the cell door, relieved to remain outside while screams echo within. Someone passionately praises another person's character. A battered prisoner breaks down and offers to reveal everything under relentless torture while 2 others silently observe the interrogation. They pretend to interrogate their captive long enough to convince an observer, then decide the act is sufficient. An armored man coldly informs the wounded prisoner of someone's death, prompting a defiant reaction. Karnak confidently declares that it's his turn, gripping the table as he prepares to take action. Tezranic's dark and destructive power is introduced as shadows gather ominously. A proclamation declares the coming of the Genesis God, who will establish a new order in the world. A blue ethereal figure confronts a stoic man as they face each other with intense expressions. 3 interrogators, frustrated by another failed attempt, question a chained prisoner who remains loyal to their faith and unaware of deeper truths. Sarati analyzes the situation, noting that the enemy organization is controlled by 3 leaders. Someone reveals that there are 6 cardinals and 13 archbishops. A pyramid diagram illustrates the hierarchical structure of the church, with bishops in each region managing their own organizations. The group realizes their captured priests lack valuable information and decides they must capture someone of higher rank. A cloaked young man sits in frustration, wishing for a major incident that could involve someone more important. In a sunlit office, a man behind a desk clears his throat and begins briefing the 2 standing before him about the upcoming mission. A nervous man reveals a rumor about someone in the capital possibly cooperating with the cult, causing the 3 adventurers to react with concern. Karnak demands to know who the suspect is. A stern investigator prepares to reveal the suspect's identity while reviewing the document. The 2nd Prince of the Usteel Kingdom is formally introduced as Alfred Ludden Usteel, with his portrait displayed in the palace. The group reels in shock upon discovering the true identity of the prince. In the Usteel Kingdom, the king's 2 sons are locked in a fierce struggle for the throne. A formal presentation introduces the first prince through a framed portrait. The 2nd prince is introduced. Despite being the logical successor to the throne, the first prince faces obstacles due to his tragic past. A royal marriage was arranged to unite two families, but the couple's inability to produce an heir has become a major concern. To secure an heir, the king accepted a new consort, and within 3 months, news of her pregnancy spread through the palace. The king, afflicted by illness, named the first prince as his successor in the name of the goddess. Queen Melia gave birth to a son, introducing the second prince. A fierce struggle for the throne erupts between the eldest first prince and the direct bloodline second prince, leaving the royal household in turmoil. The king postpones his decision, telling the two princes he will choose once both are adults. While shopping in the busy marketplace, the two discuss the possible consequences of royal succession and past decisions. A young man remarks on the ongoing rivalry between the two families that have served the princes for decades. Barros mocks the chaos in the marketplace, suggesting they choose based on ability or personality, while Sarati looks increasingly frustrated. 2 young princes are being compared for the throne, with one described as calm and the other as violent, while their true abilities remain untested due to their youth. As they walk through the crowded market, the group questions why the king hasn't chosen Prince Lloyd, noting his apparent weakness. A young boy struggles with chronic illness in bed, unable to demonstrate the sword skills he has spent years learning. Prince Alfred's formidable strength and martial arts talent leave the observers worried as he confidently displays his blood-stained sword. The two discuss how the news of Prince Alfred's alleged collusion with the Dark Order was uncovered by a spy working for Prince Lloyd. An informal report is sent to the king's order, where the handwriting is recognized by the new commander due to his prior experience with the first prince. One character finishes sharing all current information and mentions that a messenger will arrive later with further details. 3 adventurers pause outside a rundown cafe, preparing to enter and meet their contact. The group cautiously enters the abandoned, dusty building, alert for any danger. The hooded figure singles out the nervous man across the tavern as his target. A cloaked man strides up to the table, catching the hooded figure off guard and breaking the silence. Karnak confronts a cloaked figure while his 2 companions watch cautiously from behind. Karnak holds up an emblem card and demands to know if the person before him received orders from Lord Lloyd. A cloaked figure steps from the shadows, their face partially concealed as tension fills the air. The hooded figure recognizes the group as those chosen by Sir Arantel. Karnak, standing alert, demands the other person's identity across the counter. Someone silently panics, unsure of what action to take next. The hooded figure pulls down his mask and reveals his face. A cloaked figure suddenly confronts the startled group in the sunlit hall. A blond man in a dark cloak lifts his hood and questions the sudden appearance of Prince Alfred. An unexpected revelation stuns everyone as it is revealed that Prince Alfred reported himself, leaving the group bewildered and tense. The character firmly admits that he is only wearing Alfred's face and is not actually Alfred. A man boldly reveals himself as the first prince and rightful heir to the throne, shocking his companion. Someone begins to question a surprising revelation. At the tavern table, the group confirms that a soul swap has occurred, leaving everyone in shock. A hooded figure realizes the soul hovering above the unconscious body does not match, signaling a serious supernatural disturbance. A hooded figure calmly explains that necromancy can easily cause the situation, while the other man listens in disbelief. A masked figure proudly explains that contacting the king's order was a smart move, trusting the other would notice the necromancy spell. 2 figures discuss whether ordinary magicians could detect necromancy, concluding that it would be impossible with just a magical eye. The masked figure challenges the other person's belief, questioning how they can be sure of his identity without proof. The young man points out that members of the king's order possess basic knowledge of necromancy, and questions the logic of reporting oneself under a false identity. A hooded figure desperately asks if magic can prove they are under a necromancy spell while the armored man watches in concern. The group gathers around the tavern table as one member prompts the others to recount the events surrounding the day of the soul swap. A hooded man pauses to remember a significant event that happened 5 days ago. A healer performs nightly holy magic on a young man, surprising an onlooker who learns this is a daily ritual. One character brings up the widespread rumors about his weak body, another awkwardly admits they're true, and a third sarcastically comments that even zombies might be healthier than him. Despite the estate's holy barrier and vigilant guards, the protagonist awakens in his brother's body, questioning the power of necromancy. One character points out that someone managed to use a powerful necromancy spell capable of breaking through the barrier, raising new suspicions among the group. Karnak considers the lack of hidden traps or preparations within the estate, deepening the mystery. A man regains consciousness and finds himself tied to a chair within a glowing magic circle in a dark, ornate room. A male character regains consciousness and tries to make sense of his surroundings. Bound to a chair, the man is surprised to realize his pain and fever have vanished. A young man, bound by ropes and surrounded by glowing magic circles, stares in shock at his unexpectedly muscular body. A young man wakes up tied with rope in a luxurious, shadowy room and frantically wonders if he has been kidnapped. A frightened, bound young man is confronted by 3 hooded figures in a dark room. Restrained and wary, the young man demands answers from his unknown captors. A hooded figure conjures a glowing green mirror, preparing to reveal something unknown. A blond man, bound in ropes, reacts in shock as a glowing green portal appears beside him. A young man is stunned to discover that he and the prince have switched bodies through magical means. A captive sits bound in a summoning circle while 3 robed figures and a shadowy presence confront him with ominous magic, revealing the involvement of Lord Tezranik. A furious young man struggles against his rope bindings and demands to know why the cultists switched their bodies. A man is restrained in a ritual circle as his captors address him as Prince Lloyd. He spots a threatening figure and tenses, alert to the danger. A stern-looking man appears at the front, immediately recognized as a possible henchman of Alfred, raising tension among the group. A captive tied inside a magic circle is interrogated by a robed figure who accuses him of betraying Alfred, while shadowy onlookers watch. The gray-haired man mocks someone's interpretation with a sly gesture and an amused smirk. The man silently suspects that Alfred is responsible for what happened. Hands bound tightly with rope, the captive struggles and demands to know what their captor wants. Barrows sits defensively as another person inspects the cut rope on the floor. A man with a sly smile steps through the door, illuminated by the light behind him. A desperate man rushes toward the closing door, reaching out to stop someone from leaving. One character admits that despite being held captive behind steel bars and locked doors, he did not actually hate the experience. The hooded figure reflects on the rare joy of eating well without sickness, savoring the memory with a contented smile. Two characters laugh together about the tough times they faced eating only wheat bread, while another looks on in disbelief. The hooded man demands to know how the other person managed to escape. The cloaked young man hesitates, nervously stalling for time as he clutches his mug. A mysterious figure warns that their story will be hard to believe, setting the stage for a shocking revelation. Four elite knights escort a noble through the hallway, drawing suspicious attention. Two armored guards mock the prince's lack of sword skills as they pass through the castle hallway. An attendant knocks on the door and announces that it is mealtime. Two figures search the dim corridor, urgently looking for the missing prince. A determined character forcefully strikes the glowing barrier, pushing against its resistance. A white-haired man lands a glowing, powerful blow on his dark-haired opponent, who cries out in pain. A white-haired man suddenly charges at a group with a glowing sword, forcing his shocked opponents to react defensively. The swordsman lands a precise strike on his opponent's weak spot, shocking the defending group with his unexpected skill. A confident young man challenges his listener by revealing he once learned swordsmanship, while his body was failing. An instructor explains to a group of armored trainees that they must use strategy and technique while minimizing their movements. A character confidently hints at a significant change now that they possess a healthy body. A fierce, blonde-haired man charges forward, launching a direct attack at his opponent. A violent attack lands with explosive force, sending someone reeling in pain. A horrified woman cowers as she witnesses the aftermath of a brutal fight, with a blood-stained sword lying next to a fallen armored figure. A stern man looms over the bloody bodies, causing the terrified maid to recoil in fear. A young man calmly assures the other person that he means no harm. A blood-spattered woman instructs someone to stay hidden while she stands in a room filled with bodies and an intruder peers through the door. Fueled by anger, the character storms through the grand hall, cursing Alfred. Gripping a dagger, the silver-haired man moves cautiously down the ornate hallway, determined to leave undetected after his disappointment. Two armored youths are startled when a guard suddenly blocks their path in the dark hallway. A determined figure grips the hilt of a sword, preparing to confront his opponent immediately. A voice breaks the darkness with a sudden question. A surprised young man hesitates in the hall, realizing that Prince Alfred shows no fear in response to his presence. Determined to keep his identity hidden, he reminds himself that no one must find out who he truly is. A masked figure reveals that only a few people knew about the secret body swap, which allowed him to sneak out undetected. One person admits feeling lost and uncertain about where to go, fearing their servants won't believe their situation, while the group listens in a quiet tavern. The masked figure finishes his story, revealing he sought help from the king's order and then hid in the slums. The protagonist discusses the difficulty of capturing cultists who are adept at hiding. The group decides to lure the necromancers out by forcing them to make the next move, rather than wasting time searching the evacuated manor. A hooded figure decides to act as bait, believing his companion alone cannot draw enough attention for their risky plan. A confident man warns a startled figure that knights would be enough to capture him, prompting the other to anxiously ask if there is another option. He outlines a bold plan to lure the necromancer, while his companion reacts with uncertainty. Several days later, a hidden mansion serving as the hideout for Prince Alfred's supporters stands on the outskirts of Drunta. Two men discuss the risk of their enemy contacting supporters and agree they must prevent it. Bishop Detzers informs the others that their spies in the palace have not reported any information yet. Two men quietly confirm they have prepared defenses against any schemes from Prince Lloyd. The group finalizes their scheme to transport Prince Alfred's body at the designated moment. A man checks the stability of his necromancy spell, Soul Change Ring, and confirms there are no issues yet. Two figures in a candlelit study discuss the possibility of using necromancy to track down Prince Alfred's body but admit it is not feasible. A man reveals that even the spell's casters do not fully understand all the required conditions. A cloaked figure bursts into the dim library, announcing that the prince has been found. Alarmed by urgent news about a disturbance near Delane Street, one man abruptly stands up from the table, while the others react with surprise and concern. He assesses the location of Prince Lloyd's supporters and questions whether their forces have established contact. A hooded figure calmly orders a subordinate to dispatch the Crimson Flame squad after their targets. A man breathes a sigh of relief and prepares to bring an important figure into the room. A cloaked figure moves cautiously along Delane Street while being watched from the shadows and balconies. A hooded figure quickly turns to escape as 3 uniformed individuals stand alert under the night sky. 3 figures stride through a dim hallway, their footsteps echoing as they enter a new area. Karnak steps forward and challenges the group, demanding to know their intentions. 4 cloaked figures arrive in the moonlit courtyard to rescue Prince Alfred. A cloaked figure challenges the other person about being mistaken for someone else during a tense nighttime encounter. 3 cloaked men gather in the darkness, quietly confirming that someone is behaving irrationally. Armed men block the cloaked figure's path and announce their orders to take him away, prepared to use force if necessary. A cloaked figure lands forcefully, prompting alarm and confrontation from those nearby. A hooded figure brimming with magical energy challenges the intruders to try taking the prince. A blue-cloaked figure unleashes a surge of icy energy, startling everyone in the hall. A hooded woman raises a grimoire and summons sinister purple spirits, shocking onlookers who suspect necromancy. A figure floods the area with necromantic energy, sending characters reeling in pain and shock. 3 terrified figures panic and flee as the necromancer's dark energy takes control of the prince. A man recoils in shock as a swirling portal with green, glowing tentacles bursts open before him. A magical portal bursts open, releasing monstrous tentacles that seize and violently slam 2 struggling characters. A devastating dark attack slams into both figures, leaving one of them wounded and reeling. A giant green tentacle bursts through the wall, attacking as a terrified character tries to escape amid gunfire. A cloaked figure recoils in horror as they witness terrifying magic swirling around them. 2 days earlier, a group arrives at a battered hideout in the slums of Runta. Someone asks about the purpose of bait for necromancers, seeking clarification of the plan. One character requests clarification while another observes how quickly the newcomer adapted. They devise a plan to lure out necromancers by creating a threatening enemy under similar conditions. One character spits out his drink in shock as another reveals the plan to use a necromancer as bait, while a third looks on, clearly annoyed. A hooded figure drains power from a fallen necromancer while another analyzes the growing threat of alliances and betrayals among their kind. 2 figures debate at a table as one proposes a plan to feign cooperation with a necromancer. A character proposes using confiscated necromancer items and magic to fool their enemies, admitting the plan is a trick. The group agrees to move forward with the risky plan, but one member hesitates about taking on the necromancer's role. Under the moonlight, the group discusses the recent incident, with one person feeling guilty while another checks if the prince is unharmed. The group quietly discusses the unsettling magic they witnessed, confirming it was real magic rather than necromancy. A tense conversation unfolds as one man confirms that an enemy has escaped and will likely report what happened. The young man confidently explains that their plan is to wait for the necromancers to fall into their trap. A shocking revelation about necromancy emerges as the scene shifts to a lavish mansion concealed by night and trees. A squad member confirms witnessing the event firsthand, leaving the other man stunned into silence. The protagonist confronts the revelation that Prince Lloyd has allied with necromancers, questioning the motives behind this betrayal. 3 necromancers step forward, confidently assuring the others that they will handle the task. He confidently entrusts an important task to a skilled subordinate. 3 men stride purposefully through the dim room as one vows to bring their target here. Under the pouring rain, the man smirks and resolves to seize the necromancer's power after learning they defeated the Crimson Flame squad. 3 cloaked figures huddle in a deserted street, devising a strategy against rival necromancers who may covet their powers. A man in dark robes instructs 2 others to lure the necromancer while he prepares to ambush from hiding. 2 young men in dark cloaks walk through a shadowy corridor, realizing they have been made the bait. Under the ominous full moon, the next phase of the plan begins. A young man lifts a glowing lantern, summoning blue energy as he calls upon sacred power. A figure summons undead warriors as glowing souls rise from swirling blue energy. 2 figures unleash streams of dark magic, seizing control of the armored soldiers and sending them to hunt their master's enemies. A decrepit building looms in the darkness as someone approaches the abandoned house. Karnak uses surveillance magic to confirm that a necromancer has arrived. 3 figures tense as a swirling red barrier forms, reacting to the sudden threat of attacking ghosts and the rapid arrival of a new presence. The group quickly arms themselves and prepares to move out, their attention fixed on the glowing red artifact. The group informs the prince that he is not required to join the mission this time, leaving him surprised. A caged man assigns an investigation to a seated subordinate, who accepts the task and prepares to leave. He struggles to hide his anxiety as he faces an uncomfortable revelation. One of the adventurers questions another about the strange equipment he is carrying as the group stands in the shadowy, cobweb-filled room. The young man grins and confidently explains that his unusual outfit is the optimal anti-cultist armament. A colossal spectral knight materializes in a surge of blue energy, towering over 3 stunned onlookers. A figure slips into the building through a glowing blue portal. A cloaked figure suddenly bursts into the dining room in a flash of blue energy, startling the 2 people at the table. Magical energy blasts tear through the dark town, striking shadowy figures and sending them screaming in pain. 2 figures crouch behind cover, watching as chaos erupts and blue energy swirls through the beleaguered town. One character questions whether their actions are necessary, pointing out that no harm is being done and that things seem fine as they are. One character explains the practical benefits of corpses for necromancers, while the other questions if this mindset is common among them. A spectral knight bursts into view, startling the 2 characters with its sudden appearance. A hand lifts the lantern, revealing its eerie blue flame. The group realizes that the spirit energy has dropped as the lantern's blue glow dims. A man narrows his eyes, urgently searching for the missing location. Karnak unleashes a surge of dark magic, striking a figure in the empty nighttime street. A man urgently sends his spectral minions ahead and prepares to move forward with his companion. Two warriors clash fiercely with a group of armored enemies as energy surges around them. Two cloaked figures spot a potential enemy and tense up under the rainy night sky. Two armed figures unleash glowing attacks to drive back spectral warriors as onlookers react in shock. A green energy blast from a mop forcefully drives back the armored attackers. Sarati charges at armored opponents, swinging a frying pan surrounded by green magical energy. Two cloaked figures watch suspiciously as others carry strange items, questioning if unknown necromancy is involved. As the group arrives, the two prepare to execute their coordinated plan. A fierce attacker swings twin maces in a burst of energy, forcing the defender to react quickly. A powerful green energy attack is unleashed, striking down enemies all around. Karnak launches a red energy attack while his ally stands ready behind him. Blackened hands surge from the blood-red swamp as two cloaked figures stand at its edge, facing the unleashed necromantic power. The armored young man observes the enemy and notes their increased skill. A figure with pale hair urges immediate action as a shadowy, clawed hand radiates red necromantic energy above. Amid a chaotic red-lit battle, the protagonist swiftly evades a barrage of monstrous, shadowy attacks. A monstrous, clawed hand erupts from a pool of red energy as two cloaked figures observe from a distance. She relentlessly smashes through her shadowy enemies with the pan, refusing to back down. Two warriors brace themselves and prepare a coordinated attack as shadowy hands close in. Two spiked will weapons are launched forcefully toward their target. Shadowy arms burst from the swirling red pool, forcing the two robed men to recoil in shock. The two warriors unleash a powerful green energy attack with their swords. A surge of green energy bursts outward as one figure supports another, leaving the onlookers in shock. The two figures stare in disbelief as their necromantic field is overwhelmed and obliterated by a stronger surge of necromantic energy, leaving the street in ruins. Karnak confidently blocks the attack, taunting the opponent as his ally stands ready behind him. One man questions the mysterious spells being used while the other steps forward, insisting on taking control of the situation. A horned figure erupts with a dark, fiery aura, unleashing the power of hell. Clutching his abdomen, the man unleashes a surge of chaotic power as energy and red lights swirl around him. A character slams their foot onto the ground, sending cracks spreading across the floor with raw force. A man erupts with red energy as he transforms into a demon, shocking everyone around him. One character quickly withdraws, leaving the other two to face the confrontation. Sarati unleashes a surge of green energy at the massive, horned enemy. A horned, enraged figure unleashes a powerful demonic assault after his initial attack is deflected. A red-haired woman mocks her opponent as she slashes her sword, unleashing a burst of energy. A horned, enraged figure unleashes a surge of red energy and prepares to end the confrontation. A muscular man unleashes a furious outburst, his body tensed with rage as dark red shadows swirl around him. A woman braces herself with her sword as a giant, lightning-charged weapon crashes down toward her. Sarati thrusts her weapon upward, releasing a surge of energy at her target. A fierce warrior slams his massive sword into the ground, unleashing a devastating shockwave across the battlefield. A monstrous figure erupts with power as a cloaked opponent stands firm against the onslaught. A frustrated fighter realizes their attacks are useless whenever the enemy swings their weapon. A lone figure studies the swirling green energy, trying to decipher the mysterious magic enveloping the distant city. Unfazed by the attack, the young man laughs mockingly as green energy swirls around him. One character exposes that the frying pan and mop are just diversions concealing a much greater dark power. Karnak secretly channels green magical energy while worrying that his story will soon be discovered. Karnak senses something unusual and tries to understand the strange situation unfolding before him. A sudden magical attack is deflected with a burst of green energy, as the group realizes the true source of the death energy is still hidden. A character notices a strange green glow and magical energy coming from a distant building at night. Realizing the enemy's trick, the cloaked young man reacts in alarm. A cloaked figure urgently warns the red-skinned demon to stop fighting and focus on a more important threat. The group spots the true necromancer on the rooftop and prepares to confront them as tension rises. A demon lunges furiously at the two heroes as one taunts him, revealing they've already seen through his spell. A demonic figure unleashes a torrent of purple energy, declaring their only goal is to defeat the real necromancer. A surge of purple energy crashes against the building's green barrier shield. A massive burst of purple and green energy erupts, violently shattering the surroundings. The red-skinned man laughs off the attack and taunts his opponent, while the cloaked figure watches warily from behind. Karnak stands confidently on the balcony at night, taunting his opponents and revealing that he is unharmed as shards of glowing green energy swirl around him. Two fighters ambush a horned enemy from above, catching him off guard as he reacts in shock. A brutal strike lands, sending blood spraying from the impact. Two wounded figures are trapped by a swirling dark aura, struggling in pain as they try to resist its grip. A man forcefully tries to wake two unconscious, cloaked figures surrounded by a dark aura, while two others watch tensely nearby in the night. Two battered figures stand together, dark energy swirling around them as one defiantly vows revenge. A man unleashes a surge of ominous energy, leaving his stunned opponents reeling at his overwhelming power. A young man, surrounded by dark purple energy, confidently reveals himself as a necromancer and proposes a conversation to those present. Realizing they are outmatched, the two crouch together and prepare to avoid hindering their group. A glowing red heart radiates energy as voices invoke Lord Tezranik for protection. Two men are struck in the chest by a dark force, violently coughing blood in the pouring rain. The group observes their enemy's sudden suicide and questions the logic behind such a desperate act. A glowing, clawed hand strikes the blue-armored figure with tremendous force. A sinister green energy rips two blue spirits from the bodies of their terrified victims. Two glowing spirits are dragged out of the dark sludge while two men watch, and one suggests moving the spirits somewhere calmer to talk. The group decides to take the bodies, noting they still contain usable necromancy power. The cautious man suggests using the necromancer's followers as bait to draw out the last hidden enemy. As the group gathers at night, one person questions the lack of action from their adversary while another presents a mystical lantern as evidence. He reacts in shock and regret, realizing he was too late to stop both allies from being defeated. A cloaked figure watches from a broken balcony, reflecting on how easily the others were deceived. He hesitates under the night sky, uncertain how to proceed as he gauges the skill of a potential threat. A cloaked figure resolves to pursue the group and take all three of their powers. An abandoned hall in the slums stands alone at night, setting the stage for secretive events to unfold. Three figures stand over two seated captives, demanding information as a magical blue aura surrounds the group. Two men introduce themselves as direct underlings of Bishop Detzras. Acting on secretive orders from the Usteel Kingdom's authority, the figure prepares to intervene in upcoming events. A character reveals that Bishop Detzras is a necromancer and a fifth circle mage who was acting under orders during their mission, as three figures observe ghostly apparitions in a magical blue flame. The group realizes the hidden enemy is both a mage and a necromancer, as a blue aura reveals his presence. A tense interrogation unfolds as one figure demands to know how forbidden magic was used to swap the prince's bodies without breaching the holy barrier. The investigator realizes the curse was actually aimed at the other prince, who shockingly cast it on himself to further his own scheme. Two men finalize a plan to use a body-swapping curse involving Prince Alfred to proceed even without access to Lloyd. Karnak questions whether the target must consent for the curse to succeed. A magical mirror projects the image of someone on a bed as a hand reaches through a glowing portal, revealing a deception involving necromancy and a powerful curse. He wonders aloud why Prince Alfred would switch bodies with Prince Lloyd, questioning if there is any benefit to gaining such a weak body. Two figures freeze in shock as a mysterious glow emerges from the ground. A blinding green energy slash tears violently across the battlefield. A man surrounded by swirling green energy issues a final ultimatum, demanding surrender. A voice demands to know who is being addressed. Karnak's eyes widen as he abruptly notices something unexpected. The group confronts the dark sorcerer, shocked that he dodged their attack while casting a necromancy curse. The confident young man swiftly identifies his opponent as Detrasas. He steels himself and sharpens his focus, ready to face the challenge ahead. A lone figure unleashes a torrent of icy magic at three armed opponents. A powerful ice blast erupts through the frozen landscape as the protagonist stands resolutely beneath massive icicles. Massive icicles crash down as two figures stand ready, bracing themselves against the sudden attack. A pack of ice-armored wolves emerges from the swirling frost, preparing to attack. Sarati freezes in place as she realizes the room has suddenly transformed into a frozen, hazardous environment. Three armed figures stand tensely outside a snow-dusted building, discussing how the upcoming confrontation feels similar to their battle against a previous formidable enemy. Four armored figures examine the corrupted ground, noting that both mana and necromancy have been used together. One character expresses concern about the potential danger, but the other dismisses it as unimportant based on their previous experience. The group prepares a magical barrier as they advance toward the spectral beast swirling with dark energy. Shadowy tendrils and icy shards collide in a tense struggle. A man recoils in shock as dark energy erupts and an icy figure appears beside him. Several massive ice wolves rise from the misty water, their bodies glowing with an eerie light. The necromancer reels in shock as his barrier shatters and three armed opponents confront him amid the rubble. A wary man realizes someone knows how to break his curse and becomes even more cautious. Karnak declares that his power, granted by Lord Tezranik, is not yet fully revealed as Sarati watches him with concern. A man descends amid swirling dark energy, violently summoning spirits as the ground shatters beneath him. A group of armed individuals is confronted by a swarm of spectral wraiths, realizing their enemies are trying to overwhelm them with numbers. One character urges retreat, but the other insists they stay and fight instead. Karnak fires a barrage of scorching magic bullets at his target. Three figures brace themselves as a barrage of red and blue energy blasts crashes toward them in a chaotic explosion. Karnak stands confidently in front, declaring that they have changed, while another man watches seriously from behind. Fiery magic bullets are unleashed in a powerful attack. Three characters brace themselves as a powerful armored enemy ambushes them with a barrage of red energy attacks. A shocked observer realizes that someone has unleashed a powerful forbidden magic previously thought impossible for a necromancer. Karnak confronts Sarati about her false identity as ghostly spirits swirl around them, and she reluctantly admits the truth. A character unleashes a massive red energy slash, blasting forward with explosive force. Sarati swings her sword in a blazing arc, cutting down several cloaked enemies at once. A tense man in a robe clenches his fists in shock as he realizes his opponent has an aura user. Karnak summons green spectral ghosts and commands them to attack the enemy. Karnak braces himself as he fends off a swarm of spectral enemies in the glowing arena. Summoned skeletal forces slam into each other with explosive force amid the chaos. Spectral forces erupt as a shocked observer accuses the cloaked figure of wielding both necromancy and magic simultaneously. A suspicious man prepares to unleash magical energy, refusing to fall for another trick. Karnak lunges forward, unleashing a rapid series of glowing weapon strikes through the debris. Sarati unleashes a powerful attack while Barrows, exhausted and frustrated, reacts in the foreground. Barrows storms into the room and condemns his two adversaries. A man radiating green energy prepares to unleash his divine power. Sensing a dangerous mix of necromancy and magic, the protagonist becomes tense as the atmosphere grows more ominous. A powerful surge of green energy bursts from the ground as Earth souls are summoned. A massive stone golem crashes down and unleashes a furious roar, scattering debris everywhere. The two assess the golem as a disappointing opponent but recognize its toughness will make it difficult to handle. Sarati steps forward confidently, volunteering to defeat the golem, while the others watch and agree to let her handle it. A caped figure hovers above a glowing green vortex and unleashes a powerful command as three opponents brace themselves on the ground. A massive armored entity materializes, gripping a glowing sword as green energy swirls around it. Sarati voices her frustration about the intangible enemy, but her companion assures her that he knows its weakness as they prepare to counterattack. A fervent spellcaster summons a surge of green divine energy and releases a devastating attack while calling upon a higher power. Green energy erupts as the suit of armor bursts apart, scattering fragments in all directions. A massive stone golem crashes into the scene, scattering debris and green energy. An armored figure is engulfed by a surge of ominous green energy. The protagonist, eyes glowing blue, declares his intention to end the confrontation. A towering golem knight surges forward as its master commands it to attack. The group braces as the golem, now empowered by fused magic and necromancy, prepares to strike with deadly precision. With a menacing grin, the man swings his glowing weapon and unleashes a powerful attack. An armored figure charges a powerful attack, raising a sword overhead as green energy swirls around. An armored figure releases a surge of green energy toward a group of four. A character leaps forward and unleashes a massive green energy wave as the others look on in astonishment. A character hurls a spear crackling with red energy into a massive green energy wave, causing the ground to shatter from the impact. Sarati blocks a devastating attack from a force stronger than most high-ranking demons. Karnak launches a devastating authority attack at the armored opponent as his allies prepare for battle. An armored figure staggers under a relentless hail of bullets as chaos erupts around them. The group realizes their plan has failed, and uncertainty hangs in the air as they look to their leader for guidance. A glowing armored figure launches a sudden attack as three characters scramble to react and dodge. A massive explosion erupts across the battlefield, scattering debris and plunging the area into chaos. Two figures collide in midair as one swings a glowing red sword, lightning crackling around them. The group lands together and quickly divides their targets, with one preparing to face Detzras while another takes on the golem knight. Three armed fighters rush down a dark street, shouting as they attack an opponent wielding a glowing red sword. A towering golem knight charges forward, swinging its glowing sword as the group scatters across the shattered ground. An armored attacker charges forward with a glowing green weapon, forcing the white-haired character to react in shock. The armored figure slams a devastating green energy attack into the smaller opponent, who cries out in pain. Sarati leaps forward with her sword to challenge the massive mechanical enemy. A powerful explosion erupts, shaking the battlefield. Sarati attacks the armored foe but fails to inflict any real damage. A heavily armored figure unleashes a massive green energy slash at three startled opponents. A wild-eyed man exults as a colossal, green-glowing armored entity is summoned, driving its sword into the ground. The group anxiously discusses their inability to attack and urgently seeks a new plan. Under the tense night sky, two demand that the third reveal his hidden advantage without delay. Facing imminent danger, the group hastily decides to follow a new plan despite clear reluctance. The character kneels and activates the glowing green magic circle on the ground. A tense confrontation unfolds as one figure challenges the towering golem knight while two companions observe, one openly questioning the leader's bravado. Karnak kneels over his subdued opponent and releases a hidden surge of glowing green energy. Dark energy spreads across the pile of green stones, causing them to pulse ominously. A wounded man collapses, writhing in agony as green flames engulf him while three figures in a giant armored being watch. Two men engulfed in green flames stand before their master, awaiting orders as they confirm their loyalty. A confident figure points toward the rising necromancers, highlighting their mastery as green energy crackles through the ruined landscape. A cloaked man anxiously calls out for his missing companions in the smoky darkness. A resolute figure raises a glowing lantern and begins to summon cursed warrior souls as swirling blue energy fills the air. Armored warriors materialize through swirling blue energy as the ground fractures beneath them. A horned, muscular man unleashes a surge of hellish energy as he undergoes a violent transformation. A man staggers back in shock as he witnesses someone wielding advanced necromancy in the pouring rain. A robed figure orders spectral knights to attack as his terrified opponent braces for the assault. An armored figure releases a surge of green energy, sending blue-armored soldiers flying across the battlefield. A muscular, horned man charges forward in a furious attack. A man forcefully grabs his opponent by the neck, causing him to grimace in pain. A powerful armored warrior blasts a green energy attack, sending someone flying as others look on in shock. The protagonist mocks his defeated enemies after the confrontation. Two armored figures stand over their wounded foe, asserting dominance as debris swirls around them in the night. The man dismisses his opponent's efforts, declaring that they cannot kill him. Karnak, scanning the area as magical portals fire bullets, questions whether their opponents are truly alone. A character is blasted in the chest by a surge of red energy, reeling from the impact. Three fighters charge forward, launching a coordinated attack against their formidable opponent. Two warriors clash at high speed as one eagerly charges forward, turning the confrontation into a true battle. A horned man commands his servants as he confronts a cloaked figure holding a glowing lantern amid the rubble. A powerful command orders the elimination of all enemies. Karnak steps forward, lantern raised, as swirling blue energy blocks his path in the moonlit street. An armored figure launches a powerful slash as a demon charges forward and magic crackles in the air, while others react in the background. Surrounded by ghostly attackers, Karnak urgently summons the Golem Knight to shield him. A knight, surrounded by green energy, unleashes a powerful mid-air slash with a glowing sword against multiple opponents. A towering armored figure attacks a female warrior, their weapons clashing in a burst of energy. A masked, armored figure unleashes a devastating glowing sword strike at their opponent. An armored figure smashes through a barrier of green energy, demanding to know if their attack was insufficient. A horned, muscular man charges at an armored opponent with a furious roar while the other braces for the impact. A horned fighter smashes through his armored opponent's defenses with a single, explosive punch. The armored attacker is thrown off as the crouching woman's move succeeds, while the horned man stands ready behind her. His armor shatters, leaving him exposed and alarmed. Four main characters brace themselves as mysterious figures appear above them in the night. A sudden sword attack catches the armored figure off guard, prompting a desperate call for the Golem Knight to block it. Karnak strikes with his enchanted sword, clashing fiercely against the towering armored golem. Amidst the clash of glowing swords, one fighter urges their ally to keep pushing forward in the intense battle. Two opponents collide with overwhelming force as their weapons meet in a violent clash. A cloaked man realizes the armor of darkness is about to be destroyed and reacts with frustration. Several fighters launch a coordinated assault against a massive armored enemy, striking with swords and bursts of energy. A cloaked man shouts in anger as an armored figure powered by glowing green energy prepares to attack. A man, surrounded by glowing green energy, desperately begs the god of darkness for power. A man is caught in a violent explosion of green energy as power erupts around him. A towering armored figure, crackling with green energy, appears and overwhelms the two startled characters. A towering armored attacker, engulfed in green flames, swings a cursed sword at the two defenders as they scramble to react. The group charges forward through a barrage of green energy blasts toward the armored enemy. A cloaked figure restrains a horned, monstrous enemy with a glowing blue object as the creature writhes in pain. The group realizes their current attacks are too weak and prepares to find a stronger solution. Karnak steels himself and prepares to act, accepting there is no other option. A menacing figure orders the Golem Knight to target two specific opponents while the defenders brace themselves in the ruined arena. An armored figure is blasted in the midsection, crashing into the ground as energy bursts from the impact. A figure surrounded by green energy charges toward two adversaries on a dark city street as the situation quickly worsens. One character urgently prepares to help, but the other calmly refuses any assistance. A massive armored figure unleashes a powerful green energy attack as two characters brace themselves. He observes as his target unknowingly approaches the bomb. A fierce green energy blast slams into the enemy's chest, leaving him reeling from the impact. A powerful blue explosion erupts, scattering debris throughout the area. Three figures recoil in shock as corpses and shattered armor tumble down the blood-soaked slope toward them. A man recoils on the ground, horrified as he accuses someone of detonating corpses. Karnak mocks his anxious adversary while his allies stand alert behind him. A terrified man braces himself, fearing that his captors will torture him for information. With determination surging, the protagonist resolves to bring the conflict to an immediate end. A desperate figure clutches a glowing heart and offers his soul to the looming shadow. Surati expresses frustration as the group finds the cloaked figure slumped on the ground after another failed suicide attempt, which the necromancer dismisses as pointless. A cloaked figure radiates a menacing green energy, catching a nearby character off guard. A sudden green magical barrier erupts, leaving everyone watching in shock. One character urgently reveals that a soul transfer contract was arranged, ensuring the soul would be sent directly to Karnak after death, leaving another character in shock. A soul vanishes inside a surge of green energy as two figures react in alarm. Three figures stand over a kneeling cloaked person as the green energy fades and the group realizes their target has escaped. Frustrated by a missed opportunity to gather information, the group suddenly notices something unusual on the ground. A blue-haired man, alarmed by the appearance of Detzer's soul, quickly questions why enemies are present instead of Karnak. Two young men react with surprise when a magical skill fails to send a soul as intended. Two characters mock a distressed individual trapped in a malfunctioning magic circle after a failed spell. A massive green magical hand surges forward, overwhelming the group as they scramble to defend themselves against the powerful spell. Karnak confidently initiates a confrontation, displaying his power as he suggests they talk. A silent, shadowy building stands empty at night, setting the scene for what is to come. The group gathers in a secure room and prepares to begin the meeting as anticipation builds. Karnak channels a glowing green magic in his hand as his ally questions whether he will use his usual method. A supporter warns that frequent use of necromancy is extremely dangerous, but notes the practitioner is likely prepared for the risks ahead. Karnak raises his hand, summoning a servant with a surge of green magical energy. Karnak collapses to his knees as dark energy overwhelms him in the pouring rain. A massive demon of insanity appears above the group, radiating dangerous energy as everyone reacts with shock and alarm. A foreboding presence fills the scene as the abyss is reflected upon. A monstrous demon engulfs the terrified man, overwhelming his mind with insanity. She hesitates, visibly nervous, before speaking. The demon writhes in agony while three onlookers discuss its sudden breakdown. One character reacts defensively and recoils in shock after another calmly makes a pointed remark, while a third looks on in surprise. The character effortlessly banishes the green creature as it dissipates. Sitting on the ground, the protagonist worries about his soul's nature while the others observe, and one reassures him that nothing has changed. Karnak demands to know the reason behind Prince Alfred switching bodies with Prince Lloyd. One man dismisses the idea of temptation and reveals that the curse was simply a scheme for Prince Alfred to seize the throne. A commanding figure demands an immediate explanation about the plan involving the crown, intensifying the tension in the dimly lit room. A concerned figure asks if the prince is alright while surveying the damaged building at night. Three adventurers enter a dimly lit room and report that all the necromancers have been defeated. In a dimly lit room, one man reports the discovery of a way to undo the spell and reveals an enemy's plan, while the other urges him to share more details. They confirm the body swap is only temporary and that the prince also plans to return to his own body. He holds up the glowing red jewel and explains the ritual needed to return to their bodies. A mysterious figure drips fresh blood onto an ornate medallion, initiating a dark ritual. One man realizes his body was targeted for its fresh blood, while the other reveals the motive behind the recent body swap. Inside a dimly lit room, the group learns that a plan was devised on the night of the full moon, sparking immediate tension and surprise. A young man reels in shock upon learning that someone planned to assassinate the king while inhabiting his body. A shadowy figure enters a dim chamber, preparing to stab the unsuspecting king with a knife. He considers the risks of a body-swapping plan, realizing his weak physical state would make it difficult to pull off. A man sits alone in a dark prison cell, realizing that even a failed attempt would leave him facing lifelong imprisonment or execution for attacking the king. Realizing the gravity of the situation, the man notes that only one heir remains, narrowly avoiding a crisis. They decide to stay alert and plan their defenses until the full moon, now that Alfred's body has disappeared. The white-haired man, seething with anger, clutches his collar and threatens drastic action as he struggles with the aftermath of the body swap. One character warns that any harm to the body could disrupt lifting the curse, while the other reacts with visible annoyance. One character reveals that Prince Alfred may be unaware his body is still missing, prompting the other to demand clarification. One man informs the other that Alfred can no longer contact his subordinates now that his necromancers are gone. In a dimly lit room, the group discusses how their enemy might react after losing contact, anticipating his next move. The group quickly decides to act, convinced their opponent will proceed with his plan. One man questions whether the other truly needs his original body back as the group discusses their predicament in a tense atmosphere. Sarati questions whether being in a healthier body is actually an improvement, while Karnak watches the tense exchange. A hooded figure explains that possession is temporary because the body and soul are incompatible, while a ghostly apparition hovers nearby. One character warns the others that if the soul and body continue to clash, it could lead to madness. The white-haired man urgently explains that body swapping is only possible during the full moon and will last 3 months due to their blood relation, leaving the anxious young man alarmed at their limited opportunities. One man panics about the looming threat and his inability to stop it, while another stands by, remaining calm. After capturing a high-ranking cultist, he considers whether to leverage this victory for greater influence. Someone challenges another to take action against Alfred. Startled and nervous, Barrows immediately submits to the imposing figure's demand. Karnak confidently announces that he has a plan and suggests an idea. The scene shifts to the imposing entrance of the Steel Palace, where armored soldiers stand guard as the sun sets. A weakened man struggles to stand, gripping the nightstand for support as he trembles in pain. A frustrated spirit struggles to adjust to his new, frail body, overwhelmed by its weakness. The young man vows that today will be the last day as he stands resolutely by the window. The long-awaited day has arrived, signaling a major turning point. Unable to reach the cultists, the man grows frustrated but insists on moving forward with his urgent plan. A guard urgently warns the prince to evacuate. A woman urgently tells a surprised man to follow her as armed guards approach. A startled young man is forcefully carried by a determined woman while another person assists, as he protests their actions. An urgent warning is shouted as a woman rushes to carry an injured companion, while a nearby armored man reacts in shock to the threat of an imminent sword attack. A young man urgently questions why his companion is behaving out of character. Someone demands to know what Lloyd is plotting, heightening the tension. A furious man swings his sword and demands submission in the sunlit hall. A blond man with a sword is confronted by 5 armed figures in a shadowy hall. A palace guard captain defiantly warns his adversary that his mission is focused solely on Lloyd. A determined man issues a forceful ultimatum, threatening to ruin his opponent's reputation and asserting that his rivals will soon become his subjects. Guards charge forward with weapons drawn after receiving urgent orders to subdue the prince without causing harm. A man stands firm with his sword as 3 armored attackers charge at him in the hallway. Karnak swiftly defeats several opponents with overwhelming sword strikes. Karnak braces himself as 2 armored opponents wield their swords, ready for battle. A fighter unleashes a powerful, glowing sword attack that sends his opponents reeling. Karnak anxiously watches the sword fight, realizing that Prince Alfred's skills have advanced to a challenging level. 2 figures stare upward in shock as a mysterious glowing light streaks across the sky. A massive blue energy blast erupts, hurling several figures away in all directions. A tense group of armored men reacts with shock and suspicion as they confront an unexpected threat in the dim hall. 3 young warriors rush toward a surprised man to deliver urgent news at sunset. A knight steps forward in the shadowy corridor, demanding the cloaked group's identity. An armored man presents the King's Order emblem and announces he was sent by Prince Lloyd, prompting another to question the reason for the King's Order's presence. A sealed letter signed by Prince Lloyd is presented as proof of royal authority. The armored man confirms the handwriting on the letter and questions if the prince orchestrated this situation, while his 2 companions watch tensely. Intent on avoiding responsibility, the man devises a plan to shift any consequences onto others. A defiant man brandishes his glowing sword and challenges his opponents in the ruined hall. 3 armored figures prepare to restrain Prince Alfred, issuing strict orders not to draw blood. Sarati stands ready with her sword as she prepares to face Karnak and his group in a tense confrontation. A group of armored soldiers recoil in shock as a massive, red, ore-infused sword materializes above them. A fighter leaps from above with a glowing red sword, launching a fierce attack as his opponent dodges below. A fierce combatant delivers a glowing sword strike, forcing her opponent to recoil in pain. 2 opponents lock eyes, each bracing for the confrontation to begin. Amid the chaos, 1 fighter struggles to follow shouted orders as swords clash and visibility drops. A sudden surge of energy puts the group on high alert as they sense mysterious aura movement nearby. A red-haired woman charges forward and unleashes a powerful, glowing sword strike at her opponent. A man is struck unexpectedly and recoils in pain. Armed figures cautiously approach the collapsed figure, uncertain if the conflict has truly ended. Armored soldiers gather in the corridor, reacting tensely as they discuss the impressive feat of restraining someone without spilling blood. Karnak extends his arm and casts a restraining spell, causing glowing magical restraints to swirl around his hand. A furious man struggles on his knees against glowing magical restraints, his sword discarded on the ground. A confident figure takes command from the group as responsibility shifts and the situation stabilizes. A commanding figure orders the soldiers to imprison someone until further instructions from the king, and the soldiers swiftly acknowledge the command. A young man in a cape looks up and addresses Sir Zeliad inside a grand hall. Someone prepares to reveal important information. Someone learns that Alfred has been captured and is now imprisoned in the palace jail cell. A woman informs the man that someone is currently under the watch of the king's order and questions how another person is connected to them. A worried young man questions the postponement of dinner plans with his father, emphasizing the prince's safety as the main concern. A man urgently announces the cancellation of dinner plans with the royal figure, leaving everyone in a state of confusion and alarm. They decide to prepare and serve dinner in a safe location. Karnak panics as he realizes the full moon worsens his curse while he remains trapped in prison. Karnak is stunned as he realizes something about himself has suddenly changed. A young man abruptly senses an alarming presence, his face contorted in shock. Startled by a sudden disturbance, the man kneels in his prison cell and looks up in alarm. The man, now back in his original body and chained, panics as he realizes the sudden change. A man clenches his fists in panic, fearing that Lloyd may have discovered his secret. 3 cloaked figures confront a startled man in front of a cell door, demanding to know his identity. A confident young man threatens someone off-panel with a glowing green magic as his target panics and questions his intentions. A chained captive squirms in fear as their captor restrains them and threatens them with a glowing green staff. The captor delivers a menacing threat, while the captive cries out in pain amid the darkness. A few days later, a prince arrives at the academy and is greeted at the gate. The group meets someone in their true form for the first time and reacts with curiosity and amusement. A well-dressed man sincerely thanks his ally for preventing Alfred's plan from succeeding. One character acknowledges his actions as a noble duty, while another responds knowingly in the elegant study. Armored guards escort the captured supporters through the corridor after swiftly ending the investigation. A well-dressed man expresses sincere gratitude but admits he cannot provide a proper reward. A conversation unfolds about keeping recent events secret, leading to concerns that important achievements will go unrecognized. A tense warning is given about the risk of public suspicion if necromancy is revealed, threatening a key contender's claim to the throne. After capturing an elder of the Order of the Dark God, the group reflects on their decisive victory and the unexpected nobility of their allies. A worried character anxiously asks what will happen to Prince Alfred. The seated figure prepares to reveal a closely guarded secret to the 3 adventurers standing before him. 2 guards discover Prince Alfred's body hanging in the prison cell. A serious figure reports that priests have discovered evidence of an impending darkness linked to pagan involvement. Three characters argue as one is accused of wrongdoing and defensively denies any involvement. One character confronts the other about the needle, prompting a defensive explanation about only altering memories to avoid suspicion. One person offers further assistance to the group of three adventurers gathered in the chandelier-lit room. The young man asks for assistance in dealing with the pagans to prevent interference from nobles or royalty. A confident young man announces that he has made his own preparations for the situation. One character hands an ornate gold medallion to another, prompting immediate curiosity. A commanding figure officially appoints someone as their representative by granting a seal of authority to aid in dealing with the pagans. A character triumphantly unveils a glowing golden medallion as the others watch in amazement, certain it will prove invaluable. A well-dressed young man assures another that the item will be put to good use. A heartfelt plea is made for someone to help the world. A failed scheme at Usteel Kingdom is reported to Lord Hudel. Two cloaked figures discuss the aftermath of Prince Lloyd's recovery and the bishop's death, checking if all matters are resolved. Someone reports that all individuals connected to Alfred and recent events have been eliminated. A frustrated man reacts angrily as he realizes someone is interfering with his plans. A small black orb is placed into an open palm as one figure hands over Prince Alfred's soul. With their plans in ruins, the young man anxiously considers how to handle the Usteel Kingdom as ordered. A woman orders her subordinate to monitor the northeast continental region near the Usteel Kingdom. A woman in a red dress warns to stay alert for any unusual events. The young man hesitantly asks for clarification about what was meant by odd. She warns her allies to watch for schemes that could falsely implicate them. The young man struggles to understand why they are being blamed as suspicion falls on the group. One man informs the other that there is still a problem to solve, prompting a tense exchange in the dimly lit office. A man learns that while the prince's soul has been retrieved, Bishop Detzer's soul is missing, leaving him in shock. A young man slams his hands on the table in shock after learning that the goddess's followers may have gained unexpected power. A man urgently orders another to prepare a necromancy ritual as papers scatter across the dimly lit office. A voice summons as glowing potions illuminate the shadowy shelf. A command to summon a follower echoes through the ominous alchemist's workspace filled with open tomes and bubbling vials. A man commands the summoning circle to respond as another figure watches from behind. He anxiously wonders if the soul is truly gone or if the goddess's followers intervened. He dismisses the idea that magic or holy power of such magnitude could be responsible, since no one with that level of strength is known. A hooded figure conjures a glowing green energy orb while suspecting that a powerful necromancer may be acting outside the order. He processes the shocking news that someone has managed to erase the dark god's branding. A young man inspects a glowing green stone in the laboratory, suspecting the prince has discovered something important. A commanding figure summons forbidden power, channeling swirling green energy into a dark orb. A glowing figure emerges within a magic circle as another character watches from below. A pale-haired man demands to know if anyone outside the Order of the Dark God has made contact regarding the throne. A young man reacts with alarm upon hearing mention of the Order of the Dark God. One character, visibly confused, challenges the other's claim by questioning whether the Order truly supported their plans. The blue-haired man reacts with confusion, questioning what is happening. A young man reacts with disbelief upon realizing that someone has forgotten the Order's assistance. A tense young man questions whether the prince's memories have been tampered with and doubts that an ordinary necromancer could be responsible. The protagonist realizes the enemy has set a trap to frame them, while a figure smirks confidently in the shadows. Two men stand in a shadowy courtyard, discussing who should be sent to investigate the Usteel Kingdom. A character silently devises a plan to create a distraction and buy time for their investigation. Two young men argue about using a dangerous sword they cannot control, standing beneath its ominous, chained form. A confident young man smirks in the shadows, vowing to uncover the mastermind behind the situation. A secluded lodge on the edge of the capital is sealed off by a swirling, ominous purple barrier. A tense confrontation unfolds in the forest as the protagonist faces the Dark Cardinal. Karnak sits alone on a tree stump, practicing his control over swirling blue magical energy beside a lantern. Karnak discreetly observes his target, determined to uncover the scheme unfolding before him. A figure rushes toward the young man seated on the tree stump, calling out urgently. Two people enjoy a lively meal outdoors and invite someone to join them. A man teases his companions as he approaches their outdoor table, interrupting their laughter and meal. One character asks the group if they've found any useful resources or information during their mission. Crucial information about the Dark Cardinal behind the Order is revealed, identifying him as Hudel Grenthal, a young operative from the Empire active near the western border. The group takes a break in the forest and plans to return to the King's Order to investigate further after discovering something new. Karnak calmly generates swirling blue and green magical energy between his hands. A swirling green energy appears above the table as one character explains discovering the fusion of magic and necromancy during an interrogation, startling another while the third listens intently. The young man considers combining magic and necromancy as he gestures toward the glowing green orb. A few days later, three figures gather in a forest clearing as one explains that he needed time alone to learn how to use his new powers. They discuss the fusion technique demonstrated earlier, seeking to clarify its details. Chaos magic is explained as a fusion of mana and death energy, producing an effect opposite to its original creation. In the forest, Karnak explains that he has figured out how to use the discovery for himself and prepares to demonstrate it to his companions. A cloaked figure summons a surge of earth energy, triggering a powerful eruption. A massive stone golem towers over a group of 4 as they prepare to confront it in the misty forest clearing. The group discusses different spellcasting techniques as one character explains he cannot use death armor in the same way as another caster. Karnak unleashes a massive explosive attack, scattering debris through the air. A massive group of stone golems emerges from the cliffside as the 3 companions stare up in astonishment. 3 adventurers react in shock and curiosity as they witness an extraordinary number of golems being summoned, questioning how such a feat is possible. A character explains how chaos magic is used to control and summon multiple golems by inserting residual thoughts into each construct. The group discusses a new magical strategy that combines the strengths of magic and necromancy while ensuring greater safety. He decides to develop new spells to become even stronger. A colossal stone golem emerges from the forest as a challenging spell is unleashed. In a forest clearing, 3 figures discuss the dangers and immense potential of combining necromancy with other powers. In the forest, one character expresses frustration over failing to awaken his aura while another encourages him to keep trying. One character reveals the reason another was unable to awaken his aura, surprising those listening. Someone addresses Barrows with a tense interruption. Karnak reels in shock upon hearing that he was once a necromancer. Facing the others in the sunlit clearing, one character anxiously questions how to embrace necromancy after a lifetime of swordsmanship. They discuss the need to manipulate dark energy, but one of them reveals he has been avoiding it since returning to the past. A menacing armored figure is confronted with the revelation that his soul has been deeply corrupted by dark energy from his time as the Dark Knight. The armored young man reels in confusion, struggling to defend his actions when challenged about the difference from a necromancer. A desperate figure pleads for a cure as a regretful companion admits they missed the chance to cleanse the affliction. One character collapses in despair while another tries to comfort him, and a third watches anxiously, realizing their efforts have failed. Discouraged by his inability to awaken his aura, the protagonist realizes he must find his own unique path forward as his companion acknowledges the challenge. 2 figures turn and leave the distressed man behind in the forest as he desperately calls out for help. One character vents frustration under the bright sky, overwhelmed by the demand to help. Several cloaked figures arrive at the Grand Headquarters building a few days later. After a period of training, 2 figures walk confidently together, with one boasting about newfound strength and rest. One character, frustrated by his lack of progress, confronts the other, who reacts with shock to his admission of insecurity. Inside an ornate hall, 4 cloaked figures discuss a challenging problem with no clear solution, realizing the process will take longer than expected. A subordinate rushes forward to welcome the captain and his companions as they return to the Grand Hall. Anxiously rushing down the Grand Hallway, a messenger approaches 2 figures to urgently relay that the commander is calling for them. News arrives of a blood-drinking monster threatening the southern region, prompting immediate concern and scrutiny. The scale of destruction is revealed as the number of casualties over the last 10 days reaches 500, while a shadowy figure stands amid the devastated battlefield. The group reels as one of them exclaims in disbelief over the shocking news that 500 incidents have occurred in just 10 days. A man stands at the head of a conference table and announces the arrival of the group, signaling the start of an important meeting. A stern man with a dark goatee addresses the assembled group, signaling the start of an important meeting. A silver-haired man summons the group urgently and addresses them with a serious apology for the short notice. 2 knights from the 1st Battalion, the Blue Knight Aide and the Red Knight, are introduced as they prepare for an important meeting. The group realizes the situation is dire when the elite 1st Battalion of the King's Order arrives, prompting a tense discussion at the table. A stern man prepares to explain important information to the 2 people seated before him. 10 days ago in the Jatova region, villagers discovered a massacre in Marita, where humans and animals were found dead with their blood drained. A series of villages were attacked and destroyed over 5 days, leaving every investigation team dead and a map marked with the locations. A monstrous red energy attack devastates the city of Akenbart, forcing panicked citizens to flee and leaving many witnesses to the destruction. The true form of the monster is revealed to be a young child wielding a massive, menacing great sword. Investigators discovered that the ominous sword was responsible for the recent troubles after comparing witness accounts with old records. The curse of the magic sword is revealed. It possesses a human host, turning them into a bloodthirsty vampire who kills to strengthen the blade, and it is now named Marita after the site of its first appearance. One character reacts in shock to the mention of a magic sword, while the others watch with concern and confusion. 3 cloaked cultists plot to unleash evil artifacts and create chaos. The Order of the Goddess suspected the Order of the Dark God, prompting the 5th Battalion of the King's Order to intervene. During a tense strategy meeting, the group learns that the entire 5th Battalion has been wiped out. A figure in shadow explains that headquarters was uneasy because of a recent incident, while the others listen seriously. A grave meeting begins as the organization's top members are assembled to confront an unprecedented crisis. 2 men assess the near impossibility of defeating the 5th Battalion without rest or food. A man acknowledges that the magic sword is the reason behind their success. One character questions the existence of a magic sword powerful enough to rival a purple knight as the group discusses the unusual situation in the hall. Someone demands an explanation for another's unwavering confidence. The lead figure reveals he has never encountered or created such a thing during his time as the Death Knight, prompting the others to watch him closely. Sarati confronts the other person, demanding an explanation for a series of impossible events, including those involving Detsras, that have all come true. Karnak, visibly frustrated, questions the situation's lack of logic. A man screams in agony as he struggles to withstand the overwhelming power erupting from the magic sword in his hands. Karnak pauses and suspects that something more is happening beneath the surface. The commander declares he will personally join the mission, shocking the group gathered around the strategy table. Two men discuss the possibility of cultists trying to lure them into a trap and agree that the combined strength of the battalions should be sufficient. A determined subordinate steps forward and firmly asks to be entrusted with handling the incident. He hesitates, then finally agrees to trust the group with the task. A commanding figure appoints someone as the new commander-in-chief. An older man appoints Karnak as vice-commander, and Karnak acknowledges the order. A joint operation between the 1st and 7th battalions is organized to defeat the magic sword Marita. Birds take flight against the backdrop of a vivid sunset sky. A sinister figure unleashes dark energy as the group faces a tense confrontation at sunset. A wounded figure writhes as sinister red energy overwhelms him. The group arrives at a devastated countryside village, surveying the ruins and the injured or dead scattered among the rubble. The observer surveys the devastated scene, horrified by the bloodied bodies strewn among the ruins. The group learns that most villagers were killed by the demonic sword, but a few survivors are now being sheltered at the temple. One of the armed figures reports that the demonic sword is unable to stop all the villagers from escaping and urgently calls for the commander. Amidst the ruins, a shadowed figure receives confirmation that the magic sword's exact location has been discovered. Darkness from the demonic sword spreads into the forest as two inspectors investigate the devastated area. The group quickly prepares to pursue their target after receiving urgent instructions. The group prepares to enter the forest, staying alert as they question whether they have found the right person. A white-haired girl, disoriented by the demonic sword's power, wanders through the forest while leaving traces behind. The group discusses the ease of finding their target and shifts focus to the greater threat posed by the demonic sword, questioning if it can be handled. Someone resolves to confront the unknown, determined to find answers. A figure collapses in agony, bleeding heavily after a brutal attack in the dark forest clearing. Three figures crouch in the bushes at sunset, cautiously watching their target. Kneeling on the ground, the white-haired man senses an intense surge of death energy radiating from the ominous black and red sword. Kneeling before the group, the strategist warns that the demonic sword grows stronger with every drop of blood, so no one can afford to get hurt as he explains the plan. Karnak orders Barrows to lead the team and execute a plan to capture the demonic sword, and Barrows agrees. The leader orders the group to follow him to the designated location and prepares everyone to move toward the front line. The group receives instructions to stay on standby and fill any gaps during the reconnaissance mission. The two agree to proceed cautiously as they prepare to work together for the first time. A character delegates a task and steps back, signaling trust in the other's ability. 5 armed figures advance cautiously through the sunlit forest, weapons drawn and senses alert for an ambush. 2 armed men close in on a wounded captive who cowers against a tree stump at sunset. Within the glowing ritual circle, a terrified woman cowers as 2 armed men cautiously approach with their swords drawn. A hidden observer considers ambushing a wounded figure as a group of armed people approaches at sunset. A spellcaster raises a flaming staff and unleashes a powerful fire attack. A massive pillar of fire crashes down, engulfing the area in a violent explosion. Intense flames surge through the forest as the group realizes their enemy wields the devastating magic of a 7th circle. The protagonist is struck by a vicious, dark attack, but refuses to fall. A figure unleashes a massive, fiery sword that crashes down and engulfs the ground in a violent explosion. A corrupted figure unleashes a surge of dark energy, brandishing a cursed sword with a maniacal grin. Barrows reels in disbelief as his move is unexpectedly countered in the forest clearing. A character, consumed by dark power, swings a massive cursed sword and launches a violent attack as others shout in alarm. A man shouts for help as a female attacker strikes another man with a surge of red energy, while a bystander watches in shock. A girl enveloped in dark energy unleashes a powerful attack as a man with a glowing red sword rushes at her from behind. A surge of dark energy tears through the group, knocking several opponents back with brutal force. A frenzied woman unleashes a brutal assault with a blood-red weapon, forcing 2 armored fighters to scramble in defense as dark energy floods the battlefield. A powerful ice spell erupts from the staff, sending shards flying as the surrounding figures brace themselves. A powerful magical attack unleashes a barrage of ice spears, striking and severely wounding the female character. A cursed sword erupts with crimson energy, unleashing its destructive power. Karnak braces behind a glowing red shield as waves of magical projectiles explode violently around him. Suspended in the air and wounded, Sarati succumbs to the cursed sword's dark power as ominous red energy engulfs her. Red-eyed and unstable, Sarati stands in the shadows as icy crystals spread across her head and shoulder. 2 fighters clash midair with glowing swords as a third collapses, defeated by a cursed blade. 2 combatants unleash simultaneous, devastating attacks that collide violently around the stunned woman trapped between them. A wild-eyed figure unleashes a frenzied attack, laughing maniacally as chaotic energy erupts around them. With their opponent immobilized, the group advances together to launch a coordinated attack. One character urgently calls for another to join the group across a sunlit forest clearing, as 2 others watch from a distance. As the sun sets, Sarati readies her glowing sword and follows the young master's command to move out for battle. Two figures clash in the forest, unleashing a powerful slash with their energy swords. A devastating sword strike injures an enemy as others recoil in shock and someone desperately calls for help. A crazed figure unleashes a surge of dark power with a corrupted sword, laughing maniacally. A silver-haired man assesses that the demonic sword has overtaken the woman's mind and believes they can now capture her. A commanding voice orders all mages, including one singled out as a leader, to advance. A surge of red energy erupts around the ominous figure as the opposing group braces for confrontation. At the front, Karnak raises his glowing staff and unleashes a powerful spell while three allies watch tensely from behind. A wounded figure with glowing red eyes struggles to stay upright in the midst of chaos and blood. A figure erupts with dark energy, leaving the crowd stunned and alarmed. A wounded woman screams in agony as blood and red energy erupt from her leg. Two figures react with alarm, drawing their glowing swords as they witness a sudden outburst in the clearing. A sudden cry startles the group as the young man grips his staff and everyone tenses at the ominous sunset. A surge of dark energy engulfs Karnak, forcing him to scream in agony. A massive wave of dark energy tears through the battlefield as one figure escapes amid the chaos, and others shout in alarm. Three cloaked figures watch as a sudden, violent force tears through the sky at sunset. Barrows reacts in shock as the demonic sword suddenly flees, leaving everyone tense and uncertain. As the sun sets, several characters confront Karnak, one raising a glowing staff while demanding answers. Karnak anxiously denies any involvement as the others watch him in the forest. Two characters stand outside at sunset, anxiously questioning whether the timing of her escape and the casting of the spell was merely a coincidence. The group gathers in the damaged clearing, surprised as they realize their enemy retreated after recognizing her disadvantage. Two figures quickly decide to pursue Marita through the forest before she escapes. A man instructs his team to resume tracking, but a subordinate warns him of an unexpected problem. The group notices that the demonic sword's pattern has changed and realizes there are no traces left behind from the escape. The group receives alarming news during their tense search in the forest clearing, realizing they may have missed their target. As the sun begins to set, the looming threat of Marita growing stronger at night forces urgent concern. Unable to pursue their target, the group decides to regroup and form a new plan. The group heads to an inn in Akenbart City to find safety for the time being. Two figures address the assembled group in the hall, commending their efforts and asking for continued support as they await their next move. The two discuss that the threat remains on the outskirts and will not approach the city center. The meeting ends as everyone is dismissed for the night. The wooden door slams shut, heightening the tension. Around a table in an elegant room at night, the group discusses that Miss Milia quickly fell asleep from exhaustion. The group questions the suspicious circumstances of Marita's escape and presses for answers from their leader. One character demands the truth as the group sits tensely around the table, waiting for answers. A tense young man demands to know what was done behind their backs. A serious young man hesitantly begins to explain something important. Three confused characters face each other, questioning whether the surprising revelation is truly serious. A blonde knight suggests the demonic sword reacted to the other man's corrupt soul, provoking an angry response. The group sits in stunned silence as one character questions the seriousness of the revelation. The armored young man doubts that Marita would be intimidated by the other person's current presence, suggesting it would be different if they were still the Death King. One character emphatically denies that Marita could know his past, while another reacts with surprise and questions if everything is just a coincidence. An anxious woman admits she doesn't know the answer as the others listen closely around the table. Three characters sit in tense silence around the table, with one woman visibly anxious. The group, frustrated and hungry, decides to set aside their problems and eat first. The group bursts through the doorway, led by an energetic figure who urges everyone to head to the restaurant, with the others following close behind. Two armored figures linger under the streetlight, chatting contentedly after their meal. Two men in matching cloaks agree to rest for the night before continuing their journey tomorrow. Two armored men walk down a dark street, discussing their confusion over the demonic sword's unexpected retreat. As two figures walk past a dimly lit building, they discuss the strange behavior of their commander during missions. Three figures stand in silence, locked in telepathic conversation, while another casually remarks on their habit of communicating this way. Two young men in matching uniforms speculate about what others might be doing as one of them suddenly notices something. Two armored figures freeze as they spot a massive, ominous red energy weapon ahead. A woman unleashes dark red energy and brandishes a massive, menacing sword under the moonlight. Two soldiers, realizing they are unprepared for a sudden threat, hurry up the stairs to report the situation to their commander. A white-haired figure grins maniacally as red energy swirls around, unleashing dark power. A devastating attack tears through the city street as shadowy figures scream in agony amid flying debris and crimson energy. At dawn, the adventurers find two of their group attacked and lying motionless in the street. Two figures discover a bloodless corpse and realize the attack matches Marita's previous victims. Two men stand under the dark sky, troubled as one questions how Marita moved through town unnoticed. One figure demands an explanation while the other two, holding ceremonial staffs, admit they sense nothing and one confesses to falling asleep early. The two men stand tense in the corridor, admitting they sense nothing unusual. He anxiously questions whether the Death King could really fail to sense something connected to necromancy. Karnak reacts in disbelief, visibly shocked by the situation. The group carefully inspects the deserted street and confirms there is no sign of dark energy. Inside a dimly lit room, the group discusses how the murders were concealed so that the priests could not detect any necromancy. She calmly deduces that the bodies were either killed elsewhere and moved or killed nearby, leading to a single conclusion about the culprits. A hidden figure channels energy to manipulate the possessed girl, revealing a third party's involvement in the demonic sword scheme. Suspicion grows as one man questions whether the Order of the Dark God is involved, while another quietly doubts his own ability to detect their presence. He grows tense and suspicious, considering the possibility that his opponents might be hiding something. A group of anxious adventurers reacts to an unexpected attack on the street, unsure of their next move. Two figures discuss the difficulty of searching for clues in the town center, noting how unusual it is for their target to be here. Two men exchange tense words as one voices his suspicion that someone may be targeting the king's order. An armored man suggests they wait for their pursuer to make a move. A man instructs the group to prepare for any incoming attacks. The group decides to track their target by waiting in a nearby town and prepares to find a place to stay. Karnak explains the need to establish a fortified area within the city for rest and preparation against future attacks. A determined figure arrives at the academy and begins searching the grounds. One character presents a large building as suitable accommodations for all the troops while the others assess the offer. The group hesitantly asks to use the nobleman's estate, and he calmly assures them that it's not a problem. The man assures the group that they can stay comfortably at his cousin's house. The group reacts with shock and admiration after seeing the protagonist's impressive status. Workers unload supplies from a wagon as the city supports the effort against Marida. The group discusses the urgency of the king's mission and prepares to work overtime to fulfill their objectives. The group agrees to prepare carefully while waiting for news about Marida. A maid silently observes as a group of trainees practice sword drills outside the window. A man strides down the grand hallway, leaving the maid standing alone in silence. Sarati sits at the table, frustrated by 4 days of inactivity. While two at the table eat without concern, the third vents frustration about sleepless nights. A red-haired girl snaps at a blonde boy and pulls her food away as he tries to take it. A young man in armor sits at the table, irritably questioning his tense companion. A shadowy figure recoils as the sunlight weakens the death energy, making it harder for demons and monsters to move during the day. The group shares a tense meal while one of them warns against letting their guard down. The two men debate whether the cultists are using the demonic sword as a pretense to launch attacks, questioning the complexity of such a plan. A blonde-haired man laughs triumphantly as a fiery explosion erupts outside the window. 3 people seated around a table full of food suddenly react in shock to an unexpected event. A shadowy figure appears from the explosion as soldiers scramble into defensive positions. 3 soldiers spot something alarming and brace themselves, weapons drawn. A lifeless figure floats above the ominous demon sword as its dark power fills the air. A group of soldiers recoils as the shadowy figure unleashes a surge of dark power despite the daylight. The girl unleashes a surge of overwhelming power, attacking with her massive, energy-infused scythe as a violent aura engulfs her. A massive dark red energy attack devastates the ground, hurling enemies through the air. The warrior swiftly dodges the incoming red-bladed sword strike and prepares to counterattack. 2 fighters collide mid-air as their swords unleash a burst of red energy. A powerful figure radiates dark energy above the battlefield, causing the armored warriors below to freeze in shock. A group of armed men urgently search for missing allies on a dark, deserted street, with one shouting for answers while another explains that someone is expected to arrive soon. A character vows to stall the enemy until reinforcements arrive. A figure wreathed in red-black energy charges forward as 2 startled characters brace for the attack. A sudden, forceful sword strike crashes down as one defender struggles to block the attack. A surge of black and red energy blasts through the street, sending armed guards flying. A determined woman charges past the stunned group, brandishing a glowing red weapon. A fierce woman charges at the terrified soldiers with a massive, ominous red weapon. Surrounded by a sinister red glow, he endures the agony as dark energy violently surges from his arm. A surge of red energy blasts into the 2 armored figures, hurling them backward amid chaos. A massive red force crashes down on the 2 men, catching them completely off guard in the storm. A vicious blood-red strike lands, leaving the wounded man screaming in agony. Amidst the chaos, the demonic sword abruptly targets a single startled soldier from the 7th Battalion. A female attacker unleashes a dark energy blast on a soldier, leaving bystanders shocked and terrified. As armed men close in, Sarati unleashes a surge of energy to repel them while an ally urgently checks on the group's safety. A red-haired woman draws her glowing sword as a fiery entity suddenly appears, leaving the armored men stunned and alarmed. A powerful red energy wave surges toward the armed opponents, forcing them to react in panic. A fierce fighter charges forward and unleashes a powerful sword strike at her opponent, who braces to defend against the attack. The blood-stained girl endures a painful transformation in the crimson-lit, hostile environment. A female warrior blocks the path of a shadowy intruder as he attacks from above with dark energy. With blood splattering around her, the battered fighter drives her weapon forward in a desperate assault. A devastating surge of dark energy erupts from the ground, catching one character off guard amid the chaos. A fierce combatant charges forward and unleashes a devastating magical attack with her glowing red sword, shaking the street. Sarati charges forward with her glowing red sword, determined not to let her opponent escape. A red-haired fighter unleashes a devastating energy slash across the rooftop, sending a surge of force toward her target. She freezes in place, startled by something unexpected nearby. A red-haired character stands on the rooftop and realizes that someone has disappeared from the academy campus. Two men react with shock as they learn that the demonic sword attacked during the day but unexpectedly retreated without harming anyone. The group examines the enemy's strategy, noting its bold daytime attack and swift retreat when outmatched. The group debates whether the evidence proves that Marita possesses its own consciousness. Two troubled individuals sit at a desk, debating the dangers of something acting on its own will. The group meets to determine why the demonic sword is targeting the king's order. Barrows and Karnak discuss the strange events that occurred during the last attack while searching for answers in the library. A mysterious attacker targets a specific soldier amid the chaos, prompting the realization that all recent victims belong to the 7th Battalion. A character realizes that Marita began acting strangely after meeting the 7th Battalion's commander, and questions the connection between the demonic sword and the battalion. Two men analyze the recent attacks and debate whether Marita is deliberately targeting the 7th Battalion. One of the group suggests verifying the information themselves, prompting another to question how they would do it. Sarati proposes reorganizing the sleeping quarters to improve their current situation. A leader finalizes the camp's defensive layout, assigning battalions to key positions and moving the recently targeted member to the safest area. The group decides to wait for another attack from Marita, hoping it will provide a clue for their next move. He agrees to test the new plan. Guards patrol the academy grounds under the moonlit sky. Karnak grips his glowing staff and surveys the moonlit street as figures on the rooftops prepare for a confrontation. Karnak trembles with anxiety, struggling to endure the overwhelming dread as he waits helplessly for an attack. One person sits on the bed in distress, questioning why the demonic sword is targeting them, while others below discuss the likelihood of another imminent attack. The group resolves to remain vigilant against the unpredictable threat as tension mounts in the room. One man questions the situation while the other nervously scratches his head, uncertain if a misunderstanding has occurred. The protagonist anxiously wonders if being targeted was merely a coincidence as he stares at the spreading cracks above him. A character erupts with uncontrollable red energy, devastating the surroundings as others watch in shock. Surrounded by a sinister red aura, Sarati grins maniacally and unleashes a surge of dark power with her cursed sword. Three armed figures ready their glowing red swords, preparing to confront the rapidly approaching threat. Two armed figures collide midair with glowing swords as others watch the intense battle in the wrecked room. A fierce combatant unleashes a powerful red energy attack that sends an enemy flying, while another figure stands defensively in the background. Four fighters prepare for battle, coordinating their attack as one raises a massive red sword. A character snarls with glowing red eyes, losing control to rage as a dark aura surrounds them. A monstrous red energy sweeps away with the captive as the sword-wielding figures rush to stop its escape. Two enraged figures surge upward, chasing the fleeing monster through the fiery sky. A fierce woman launches a dark, red energy attack at her two opponents under the night sky. Two combatants crash together midair as red energy crackles across the city, their manic laughter echoing through the chaos. The two dash forward with glowing swords, determined to close the distance as their coordinated pursuit begins. Swords blazing with crimson energy, two attackers charge fiercely at their opponent, who counters with dark power surging from his arm. A massive red energy attack hurtles toward two defenders as one urgently calls for an aura shield. The red energy attack slams into both defenders, sending them reeling in pain. Two figures are blasted backward by a massive red energy explosion. Both fighters are hurled backward, swords in hand, struggling to regain their footing after a fierce clash. A wave of sinister red energy erupts over the city, signaling the release of a menacing power. Frustrated after failing to capture their target, one character vents while the other tries to find reassurance in confirming their suspicions. Sarati insists they need to test the results again after confirming the situation with Leffen. A tense group approaches a mysterious captive seated inside a glowing magic circle. The group discusses using a magic circle to conceal someone's presence and prevent others from locating them. A young man explains that the magic circle blocks all attempts to sense anything inside, describing how it protected the room during the previous attack. A protective magic circle is activated as one character reassures another sitting inside it while the group prepares for what comes next. Frustrated by his confinement, the young man slouches in his dimly lit room, feeling trapped. Daybreak arrives at the academy as birds chirp in the peaceful morning. A group of students discuss another student's prolonged absence from his room over breakfast in the dining hall. A man sits at the table, expressing relief that Marita is not after him. A sudden red explosion erupts in front of the group, catching everyone off guard. Debris explodes into the classroom as students reel in shock from the sudden attack. A powerful figure bursts through the rubble in the cafeteria, sending students into panic as another attack begins. The group realizes the threat has unexpectedly appeared in their room instead of pursuing its original target. A character grins maniacally as a surge of red energy erupts around him, unleashing a dangerous power. A massive blood-red energy slash rips through the group, throwing the room into chaos. A violent, red-tinged attack destroys the table as one character looks on in shock. A devastating red energy wave tears through the ground, overwhelming two figures caught in its destructive path. A wild-eyed girl unleashes a surge of dark energy, gripping her cursed sword as chaos swirls around her. A massive swirling red attack suddenly veers toward the startled pair. A terrified young man tries to escape as a deadly red energy slash races toward him. One figure collapses to his knees, overwhelmed, as a red blur streaks past and another rushes forward to respond. A massive red energy wave erupts as one figure desperately calls out to another in warning. A red-haired leader urgently commands the group to focus on Marita as a blue-haired fighter charges forward with a glowing sword. Sarati, overwhelmed by a surge of dark energy, struggles to maintain control as the aura intensifies around her. A warrior enveloped in blue energy struggles to withstand a massive red energy slash amid the chaos. The fighter reacts with frustration as the enemy vanishes again, while his ally watches the situation unfold. 4 figures examine the aftermath of an attack, suspecting that the 7th Battalion was targeted again. Barrows, sweating intense, realizes that 4 targets cannot be a coincidence. Under the damaged ceiling, one man nervously asks for answers while the other admits he has none. One member of the group asks the commander for permission to share an unconventional idea. A young man hesitantly suggests a possible theory, his worry clear as he looks upward in the decorated room. One man admits they have no ideas, while the other urges him to share any information he has. One character suggests that the targets might be chosen based on their closeness to someone in the group, prompting confusion and further questions from the others. 6 armed figures encircle the protagonist in a tense forest clearing. One man questions a recent realization while the others consider its implications in the midst of their discussion. One man admits his desperate plan while the other listens seriously in the dimly lit room. The group gathers on the cracked ground, debating whether the attack pattern is real and deciding to test the claim since they have no other leads. 2 men discuss who is closest to Karnak, with one identifying Krant and pointing out his likeness. A silver-haired man proposes confirming their suspicions during the next attack as he addresses another man near a damaged building. The young man instructs his companion to include 2 more people in the magic circle and to keep the plan secret from another individual for now. A sinister figure unleashes a devastating crimson energy attack across the rooftops, laughing maniacally as chaos erupts. 4 figures stare in shock as a black and red energy slash rips through the night sky above the building. On a dark street, one character confirms their suspicions about the attack while another, visibly shaken and kneeling, recounts a close brush with death. Startled and anxious, the kneeling character reacts defensively as an unseen figure confronts him with pressing questions about his involvement. Uncertainty surrounds Marita's motives for targeting the 7th Battalion and any connection to Sir Karnak. The group devises a plan to limit Marita's movements by exploiting the predictable pattern in her actions. 2 figures strategize beneath the looming demonic sword, preparing to set a trap using their battalion. The group decides to leave the city and track the demonic sword in a remote area to make it easier to pursue their target. A silver-haired man proposes choosing a wide, open area to ensure clear visibility of their surroundings. The group decides to camp in the northern field to prepare an ambush for the demonic sword Marita. The leader orders the group to prepare for departure by the end of the day as everyone at the table responds with determination. An older man informs the gathered group that the sudden change of location is part of preparations for Marita. The leader presents the battle strategy, assigning roles to Lefen and Fros as the team listens attentively. A trap equipped with magic circles is set at the ravine to ambush Marita as soon as she appears. A silver-haired man outlines the mission: lure out the demonic sword, rescue the possessed girl, and destroy the sword without harming her. A young man raises his hand and suggests to the commander that targeting the host, a little girl, might be the easier strategy. A determined man urges his group to do their best to save every life while carrying out the king's orders. Under a clear sky, the red-haired woman enthusiastically declares her pride in being human, while the others listen. The 3 argue about whether harming the host could lead to complications, prompting an annoyed outburst from one of them. The group receives orders to spread out and stay alert, while waiting for the demonic sword to appear. As the sun sets, soldiers patrol and guard the tense encampment. A soldier nervously addresses Commander Karnak as the group sits tensely around the campfire. 2 cloaked men discuss their concern that Marita's next attack is imminent, noting she has been assaulting them daily. A tense alarm is raised as a group of armed figures urgently prepares for the arrival of a powerful enemy. A figure wrapped in dark energy launches through the sky, unleashing a powerful attack over the sunset landscape. A wild-eyed figure crackles with manic energy, unleashing a surge of dark power. A commanding figure orders the group to prepare for combat as everyone quickly moves into defensive positions. The armed group quickly mobilizes as their leader signals the start of a coordinated attack. Armored warriors brace themselves at the front lines, warned not to let the demonic sword draw their blood. A commanding figure orders the soldiers to focus on defense and exhaust the demonic sword wielder's energy. A group of armed soldiers, led by figures with red hair, charge forward across a fiery battlefield. A lone figure brandishes a red-tinged weapon as he prepares to face a charging group of armed opponents across the empty field. A frenzied child unleashes a devastating wave of dark power, overwhelming the armored opponents. Armed assailants surround the female fighter and coordinate their assault, forcing her to retreat toward their intended target as she fights back with a surge of dark energy. A fierce warrior unleashes a devastating red energy attack against the surrounding enemies. A woman armed with a massive, glowing red sword descends from above, unleashing a powerful attack as 3 shocked opponents brace themselves below. A man urgently orders everyone to retreat as danger approaches in the rain. A massive burst of dark energy explodes from the ground, scattering everyone in its path. A male warrior releases a devastating red energy attack toward a sword-wielding opponent. A fierce warrior cuts down 2 armored opponents with a single, powerful strike, sending them flying. As darkness falls, the group hesitates, realizing that a direct confrontation has become much more dangerous. As dusk falls, the leader urgently orders the group to target their enemies' blind spots before she grows stronger. A powerful force slams into the ground, obeying a command with explosive impact. 2 warriors launch a simultaneous aerial assault on a white-haired figure wielding a glowing red sword. A red energy slash tears through the group, sending one man crashing to the ground in agony. A commanding figure shouts for everyone to hold their positions as chaos erupts and a fighter charges forward with a sword. 2 warriors collide with blazing weapons, unleashing a surge of red energy in a fierce clash. A white-haired character with glowing red eyes unleashes a furious attack, surrounded by bursts of red energy. A lone man stands his ground in the empty street at night, sword ready for confrontation. Karnak blasts a devastating wave of red energy at the armed opponents as the storm rages overhead. Karnak descends with a surge of dark energy, striking at his enemies as a fiery explosion engulfs the battlefield. A swirling red energy force speeds toward the camp as an urgent warning is raised about the imminent attack. The white-haired man issues orders to his group, instructing them to retaliate as planned. A warrior unleashes a devastating red energy attack with a massive black sword as 2 cloaked enemies close in. 2 cloaked figures raise their lightning-charged staffs, summoning a thunderbolt under the stormy night sky. A colossal magic circle ignites in the sky, surging with yellow lightning. A massive golden lightning bolt crashes down as a character desperately shields themselves with a red magical barrier. A fierce young woman channels dark energy into her weapon and unleashes a desperate, powerful attack. 2 figures with staffs watch as their target is engulfed by red lightning, confirming their plan has worked. 2 terrified figures sprint away as a menacing shadow looms behind them. Dark energy erupts as the figure cuts down 2 armored enemies, standing resolute amid the chaos. A group of armed men charges forward as Sarati, surrounded by dark red energy, swings her sword in a desperate counterattack. A character with glowing red eyes screams in agony as a devastating attack strikes him. A massive explosion devastates the town, lighting up the night sky. A knight watches as a young fighter demonstrates exceptional speed and skill during a duel, outclassing everyone in the battalion. 2 observers analyze the fighter as he efficiently targets his opponent's weak points within the glowing magic circle. He evades a deadly dark energy strike, anticipating his opponent's every move. An armored man observes that a formidable swordsman is having difficulty channeling battle aura. A female figure violently unleashes red magical energy, overwhelming a group of armored attackers. The group successfully lures their target to the designated spot and prepares for the confrontation. The attackers unleash a powerful dark energy wave, pushing the defenders to consider falling back to the next line of defense. A young man forcefully interrupts the situation and orders it to stop. A female swordsman unleashes a dark energy slash at 2 armored men, prompting one to shout in alarm while the other quickly deflects the attack. A young knight urgently commands his troops to retreat as chaos erupts around them. Surrounded by a menacing dark aura, the soldiers hastily retreat from the powerful figure at the center. A girl radiating dark energy readies her weapon as a man in armor flees into the distance. Sarati reveals her malicious intent with a menacing grin as her eyes glow red in the darkness. A character unleashes a surge of dark energy, laughing maniacally as the attack erupts. A powerful figure descends, wielding a massive red-black energy weapon and startling the defending swordsman. The 2 charge forward as one of them declares it's their turn to attack, leading the assault with a red glowing sword. Sarati hurtles through the air and unleashes a powerful attack with her blazing sword. The 2 opponents collide midair, each releasing a surge of red energy as their weapons clash with explosive force. A desperate figure fights to break free from the swirling red energy. 2 battered warriors brace themselves as they withstand a relentless red energy attack, realizing their enemy has grown weaker. A powerful red energy attack slams down between 3 armed figures as one urgently commands the group to follow their plan. 2 armed fighters coordinate as one charges toward the trap amid a burst of red energy. 2 sword wielders clash violently, unleashing bursts of red energy, while another figure escapes in the background. A sword-wielding figure unleashes a powerful red energy attack, striking an opponent midair. A young man sprints desperately as a massive red magical attack crashes down behind him. He arrives at the mountain, gripping his sword with determination. One character urgently orders another to hide inside the magic circle and conceal their presence as practiced. 2 combatants collide with explosive force as a magic circle pulses nearby. A frenzied character unleashes a surge of dark energy in a violent attack. A man in a purple scarf is blasted by a powerful red energy attack and cries out in pain. Karnak narrowly evades a massive, explosive attack as a glowing magical circle surrounds him. A character seizes the cursed sword as dark energy swirls around him. The group corners their disoriented opponent as their strategy unfolds exactly as intended. 2 figures stand at the cave entrance as the others prepare for the final step of their mission. A robed man signals an armored warrior, prompting another figure to step onto the glowing magic circle as the ritual begins. A figure steps onto the illuminated magic circle, triggering its activation. Fueled by rage, he glares with glowing red eyes and prepares to strike back. A massive red energy wave hurtles toward 2 defenders as they brace for impact on the battlefield. A red spirit bursts into the room as 3 armed figures brace themselves for its attack. One figure orders the other to retreat before launching a surge of blue energy at the threat. Two figures collide as red and blue energy erupts around their clashing swords. Two combatants unleash powerful energy attacks as their fierce battle intensifies. A kneeling swordsman struggles to withstand a surge of menacing red energy. A woman engulfed in a violent red aura charges at a lone man on the dark arena floor. A young man hurls a crackling lightning arrow from his outstretched hand. A figure engulfed in red energy hurtles through the crater as a storm of yellow lightning descends. A devastating sword strike erupts with explosive energy, shattering the area. A menacing figure hurls blazing fire lances at a lone defender who braces with a fiery staff. A terrified character screams as a massive dark energy vortex erupts in a fiery explosion. A fierce clash erupts as one fighter swings a glowing blue sword while the other blocks with a cursed red blade. Red energy explodes around the enraged figure as they lose control in a furious outburst. A devastating red energy blast collides with a blue glowing sword as the two opponents clash fiercely. A male swordsman is overwhelmed as he receives a brutal, bloody strike from his opponent. A powerful figure bursts onto the battlefield in a surge of red energy, halting the attacker's advance. Three armed figures corner a wounded enemy radiating a red aura as the confrontation reaches its climax. Surrounded by ominous red energy, the young character endures the intense surge of dark power, gritting their teeth in distress. A female swordsman slashes at the barrier near the glowing blue crystal, forcing the armored guard to react as she attempts to break free. The silver-haired mage frantically channels energy into the artifact, ordering his ally to hold off the attacker as the spell nears completion. Three fighters, engulfed in blazing energy, charge forward into battle. A red-haired fighter narrowly evades a devastating, glowing sword attack during the intense battle in the rain-soaked arena. A warrior enveloped in blue energy charges upward, unleashing a decisive attack against the red aura. A woman unleashes a frenzied attack, swinging a cursed sword as dark energy erupts around her. A devastating red energy attack crashes into the ground with explosive force. A bloodied female figure, consumed by frenzy, hurtles downward in a violent assault surrounded by red energy. A figure engulfed in dark, red energy erupts into the sky, unleashing chaos over the snowy landscape. Sarati, radiating a dark red aura and glowing eyes, forcefully commands everyone to stop. A cloaked figure blocks the path of a glowing captive trapped in a red magical seal. A young man grips his glowing staff and demands to know what stands before him. The character doubles over, struggling to withstand a surge of intense pain. A dark aura engulfs the panicked woman as she screams and retreats, while another figure observes her from the cave. Alias quickly casts a powerful containment spell with his staff to trap the enemy. Blue energy beams barrage the character as a magical attack is unleashed in the chaos. A character is blasted backward by a powerful attack, surrounded by a burst of blue and red energy. Red energy engulfs the character as blue beams crash down, overwhelming him with a powerful attack. A character writhes in agony as a powerful magical blast strikes them at the center of a glowing ritual circle, while armored figures watch. A powerful red glowing attack smashes through the magical blue barriers as the others watch from below. As the others restrain their opponent, Karnak charges forward, preparing to unleash a decisive blow with his glowing red sword. Karnak raises his staff and unleashes a powerful binding spell. Karnak unleashes a devastating arcane attack that shatters the ground and blasts debris into the air. Surging with red energy, a figure descends over the battlefield and unleashes a devastating attack as massive golden chains crash into the ground. Fiery magical chains wrap tightly around the struggling character, restraining him with overwhelming force. A battered girl, bound by glowing chains, desperately fights to break free while wielding a blazing red weapon. A figure screams in agony, suspended by glowing chains as two others watch tensely from below. A golden chain smashes through the fragile ground, causing instability as two opponents confront each other. Engulfed in a red aura, Sarati charges forward, unleashing a desperate, berserk attack with her flaming sword. Glowing chains crash down with explosive force as three characters brace themselves against the magical assault. Magical chains burst forth as one figure charges ahead, followed closely by two allies, confronting a cloaked enemy. Karnak summons the spirit of the earth, channeling a surge of mystical energy. Channeling a red, glowing energy, Karnak confronts the towering stone golems while another figure watches intently from above. Two armed men tense up as multiple golems are suddenly summoned before them. A blue-haired man grips his staff tightly, stunned as he reacts to the overwhelming display of power before him. A cloaked figure summons a massive stone golem and commands his servants to attack the enemy. An armored hand crushes the glowing golden chain, shattering the enchanted restraint. Four armored figures restrain a bloodied character with glowing chains as he screams in agony. One figure yells for the group to advance as another, surrounded by red energy, charges forward while the others prepare to support the attack. A red-haired character shatters the magical chains restraining her with a fierce attack. A furious attacker drives her sword into a chained opponent, who screams in agony as blood and energy erupt around them. A devastating red energy blast hurtles toward two defenders as another figure restrains a shadowy entity with glowing chains, urging the others to break their connection. Surging with blue energy, the protagonist leaps down and brings his sword down on the restrained, monstrous foe. An armored figure charges forward, unleashing a powerful attack amidst a surge of energy. A powerful blue energy attack smashes into the monstrous tendril as multiple characters watch its impact. A man raises his glowing staff and unleashes a surge of magical energy to subdue his target. A massive burst of energy erupts, shaking the entire battlefield. Magical golden chains tighten around the chaotic red entity as two men work to restrain it. One character anxiously checks on the unconscious woman, while another confirms that she is not injured. Battered but satisfied, the strategist realizes their plan has succeeded. A man raises his staff and launches a burst of blue magic into the night sky. The group waits tensely around the glowing magic seal for the priests to arrive and seal the demon's sword, while suspicion grows that something is amiss. The group examines a girl who survived the recent battle, noting her unusual lack of injuries despite fighting against them. A wounded girl lies unconscious on the ground while another character anxiously checks her condition, questioning if the demonic sword has harmed her. A character freezes in shock, eyes wide as something unexpected appears before them. A young woman collapses in pain while the group watches tensely in the rocky cavern. As one character regains consciousness, the group quickly notices that something is wrong. A lone figure kneels in the cracked arena, engulfed by ominous purple energy as two shocked onlookers approach. A girl releases a surge of crackling purple aura in a desperate attempt to save others. The group reels in shock upon discovering that one of their own is a purple knight. Sarati unleashes a surge of dark purple energy in the shattered arena. A figure vanishes in a burst of purple energy, leaving cracks on the ground. Surging with purple energy, one figure charges toward another, who remains oblivious to the imminent attack. A powerful, glowing kick lands squarely on an opponent's face, sending him staggering back in pain. A man recoils in terror as a supernatural force overwhelms him. A fighter, glowing with a purple aura, suddenly lunges at her shocked opponent, while another lies defeated on the ground. A powerful, glowing punch slams into the opponent's chest, crackling with energy. A shadowy figure radiating purple energy confronts the group, prompting one person to urgently call for protection as others brace for a fight. A woman, surrounded by purple energy, slams her fist into a man's head as another person watches in shock. Surrounded by a powerful purple aura, Sarati charges at her red-haired opponent, launching a magical attack as he reacts in shock. A furious woman surges forward, unleashing a violent wave of purple energy at her enemies. Sarati grips her glowing red sword, startled as she wonders if the child knows an important secret. Sarati unleashes a fierce assault, attacking her white-haired opponent with multiple shadowy duplicates. The red-haired woman charges forward with intense bloodlust, her movements aggressive yet predictable. A barrage of magical projectiles explodes around Sarati as she braces herself against the shadowy attacker's assault. Karnak demands answers as he confronts the sudden, ominous surge of magical energy. A wounded figure collapses from a magical attack while two opponents face off, weapons drawn and energy crackling between them. A desperate figure screams for help, surging with frantic energy as the tension escalates. He reels in shock upon realizing that someone knows his name. A massive surge of dark energy hurtles toward the stunned opponent as they desperately plead for a pause. A panicked young man recoils in green flames after accidentally unleashing necromancy and being attacked in response. A lone figure is hurled backward as green and purple energy collide in a violent explosion. Golden bolts of energy surge downward, unleashing a devastating attack in the darkness. A powerful magical barrier erupts as she desperately shields her captain from the oncoming attacks. A vigilant figure urgently warns the group to beware as necromancy is being used in the icy cavern. Realizing his allies have fallen, the blue-haired man looks up anxiously from the ground. A man in armor, shocked, witnesses the demonic sword now chained and separated from the girl, unable to grasp what is happening. Barrow sits on the ground clutching his head as Karnak and the guards rush to his side in alarm. A furious figure surges forward, cloaked in purple energy, launching a sudden attack at an unsuspecting opponent. A character is violently thrown back by a surge of purple energy as another looks on in shock. A knight is shocked to realize that someone knows his former title from before he regressed. A young woman surges forward with intense purple energy, forcing several armed knights to their knees as she protects the wounded man. A determined figure stands before a pulsing aura, vowing to save humanity. Amid a chaotic battle, Sarati lands a glowing punch on her opponent and urgently warns her allies about additional threats beyond the demonic sword. Two armed attackers leap down toward the girl as she stands ready, radiating ominous energy. A surge of purple energy blocks the incoming swords as one character recoils in shock. Sarati delivers a fierce blow, catching two armored enemies off guard. A young man staggers as a violent energy slashes across his chest and arm, leaving him in agony. Sarati effortlessly overpowers her opponent with sheer strength, leaving everyone stunned. She quickly incapacitates her opponents with precise, non-lethal strikes, leaving the others confused by her restraint. The group realizes their enemy possesses knowledge from before the regression and prepares to face her immense power, even without a weapon. A tense group assesses a mysterious woman's impressive abilities while one member struggles to recall where he has seen her before. A character cries out in distress as ominous energy surges behind him. A powerful, glowing attack lands, forcing one combatant to cry out in pain. A fighter recoils in shock as her glowing sword is knocked from her grasp. A figure urgently raises a glowing blue sword as their opponent charges a fiery magical attack, escalating the confrontation. Sarati unleashes 3 distinct auras at once, astonishing everyone with her control. The soldiers tense up as one questions how a young girl could accomplish a feat even their commander cannot, warning the group to stay alert. A devastating magic wave erupts, scattering the armed opponents as they desperately try to halt her advance. One character questions another's ability, prompting a calm explanation that such a feat requires reaching the 4th stage of aura mastery, typically reserved for Silver Knights. He realizes her aura manipulation rivals that of a Silver Knight, and senses a strangely familiar soul wave. A colossal blue blade crashes down before the group, forcing them to react in shock and alarm. Purple energy crackles as the man clenches his fist, straining to suppress its surge. A furious attacker charges forward, shouting in rage as a fierce opponent wields a glowing sword. A shocked young man hesitates, struggling to find his words. A sudden memory shocks the group, leaving one character confused as the others react with exaggerated disbelief. Karnak, gripping his sword, wonders aloud in the shadowy cave why she keeps using strange titles for him, while his companion stands alert behind him. 2 armed figures discuss the tragic toll the demonic sword has taken on a young victim. Karnak urges his allies to stay focused and defeat their opponent, as red energy beams fill the air. Gunfire erupts as a figure surrounded by a purple aura fights off armored attackers in the dark hallway. A long-haired man is engulfed in swirling red and purple energy as he deflects a rapid, powerful attack. 3 armed figures in the cavern tense up as they notice something unexpected blocking their opponent's path. 2 worried men in a cave discover that 3 of their allies have mysteriously vanished. The group stands together, uneasy and frustrated as their enemies retreat once again without any discussion. A uniformed character reassures the group that the problem is routine and urges everyone to focus on their current situation. Someone remarks that anyone witnessing the scene would feel disturbed. A spellcaster urgently conjures a glowing hexagonal barrier to deceive approaching enemies. The group hides behind a magical barrier as one member demands to know the identity of a mysterious woman, just as a sudden pain interrupts the conversation. The group is startled when someone unexpectedly identifies Rapunzel in the cave, causing confusion among them. Inside the dim chamber, the group learns that the current King Velsha's apprentice will become the 4th martial king in the future. Karnak suddenly understands the situation, his face tense with realization. Sarati is stunned to learn that the child will become the martial king in the future. The identity of the King of Cyphras, one of the 4 martial kings, is revealed. Velsha adopted her and gave her the family name, leading her to become the youngest martial king and a lifelong rival to the Death King. Someone recalls that Rapunzel held an intense grudge against another person. One character demands an explanation, but the other dismisses the question with clear frustration. A warrior brings down a glowing sword, delivering a devastating blow to a woman writhing in pain. A remorseless necromancer brutally splits his captive's bones, soul, and body into 3 undead guardians to defend the gates of Necropia. Confused and desperate for answers, the protagonist confronts the frustrated woman, demanding to know why he is being targeted, only to be reminded that selling his soul has serious consequences. 2 men urgently debate how Rapunzel's soul could have traveled through space-time and ended up in her younger body, questioning how she managed to follow them. One of the men dismisses the current concerns, insisting they can resolve the issue later. Sarati unexpectedly attacks her allies with a glowing sword as the others watch in shock and confusion. 2 armored figures lie defeated on the cracked ground after resisting mind control, with one reaching for a sword. One character wearily blames the other for the current situation caused by their past actions, while the accused stands beside her, visibly uncomfortable. 3 people crouch behind a rock, nervously discussing how to defeat their powerful opponent, and questioning if one of them still has the strength he once possessed. One character defensively insists he was stronger in the past while another questions why only one among them can use aura after their souls returned. The group sits tensely in the cave and shifts their focus to discussing the urgent matter of the sword. One young man suddenly realizes something important, prompting the other to question his abrupt reaction in the dim cavern. One man reveals he knows how Rapunzel regained her aura, prompting the other to immediately ask for an explanation. Someone deduces that Rapunzel's recovery was probably aided by an external force. Amidst the chaos of battle, a fighter observes his opponent's unnatural power and questions how she retains such formidable skill despite her inexperience. A character reveals that Rapunzel gained a dark battle aura by unleashing the power of the demonic sword. She changed the dark aura back to her original one. Sarati reels in disbelief, questioning if such an event could really happen. Karnak reflects on the challenges he faced against a skilled swordsman who consistently overcame obstacles. Karnak outlines a plan to exhaust their opponent's power by forcing her to use up all her energy and emphasizes that Barros must use aura for them to have a chance at victory. In a shadowy cave, one character urges the other to wield the demonic sword while promising to cast a stealth spell for support. A man is knocked back as a blast of blue energy slams into his face. Amid shattered ground and fallen foes, the empowered character stands victorious, energy crackling around her. A pale-haired figure surrounded by a glowing purple aura smirks and begins to speak ominously about humans. A glowing woman braces herself as a towering, ominous figure enters, escalating the confrontation. He freezes in fear as he realizes the threat is coming straight for him. A glowing figure advances menacingly toward a frightened young man as others hide and cry out in alarm. A young man raises his glowing fingers and begins to summon a powerful earth spirit inside the cave. A lone figure commands a golem army to advance and defeat the enemy on a battlefield strewn with fallen soldiers. Sarati stands resolutely, empowered and ready to confront the towering stone golem in the cavern. A character launches upward from the ground, wielding a glowing blue sword and unleashing a surge of purple energy. A figure unleashes a devastating magical attack, shattering massive stone golems with bursts of energy. A tense standoff erupts as one figure casts a glowing sigil to stall for time and urgently demands a plan from the other. A figure summons dark energy, preparing to command their servant. Sarati struggles desperately against the overwhelming surge of dark energy trying to take control. A bloodied, armored combatant drives a furious strike through the chaos, red energy tearing across the battlefield. A woman stands empowered in the blood demonic armor as a man reveals it will help her face Rapunzel. Two figures confer urgently about using necromancy to stall for time, both visibly anxious in the dimly lit room. A glowing, armed figure urgently calls out to two startled people in a rocky cave. A hand unleashes a devastating attack with a massive, crackling purple sword. A furious fighter charges forward and strikes with a glowing sword, sending a surge of energy through the battlefield. Two combatants collide in a violent burst of energy, as one launches a fierce attack with a glowing purple sword. A character, eyes glowing with rage, unleashes a furious cry as purple energy crackles around him. She braces herself and blocks the glowing purple attack with her armor. A red-haired armored warrior brings down a fierce attack on a glowing, purple-shrouded figure pressed against the rocky wall. A fierce character releases a massive, glowing purple energy wave that overwhelms the area. A character releases a devastating burst of red energy in the midst of fierce combat. Two opponents collide in a fierce sword clash, releasing a surge of red energy. Karnak is struck by a surge of purple energy and reels in pain. A massive purple energy blast violently hurls the man backward as he cries out in agony. Clinging to survival, the wounded figure braces against the rocky wall, desperately hoping for help before her damaged armor fails. He watches as chaotic magical attacks collide in the distance. He pushes himself to move faster, driven by the urgent situation. Karnak kneels beside the chained, blood-stained weapon, tense as he prepares to test its power. A gloved hand lunges forward to seize the weapon restrained by a glowing magical chain as crimson energy flares nearby. A wounded young man in armor is trapped and writhing in pain as sinister red chains tighten around him. A cursed sword surges with power as fiery chains and energy bursts ignite around it. Karnak descends through swirling red and black energy and unleashes a fierce sword attack. Karnak surveys the battlefield, finding all opponents unconscious after the fight. Karnak reflects on how the current situation makes necromancy easier to use. A figure enveloped in a green aura summons his servants as magical attacks erupt around him. A lone figure summons ghostly undead minions, commanding them to attack the forces of light. Surrounded by menacing green spirits, Sarati brandishes her glowing sword and braces for their attack. Sarati is knocked back as she takes a searing hit, gritting her teeth through the pain. Radiating intense purple energy, the protagonist slams a glowing sword downward in a powerful attack. A powerful burst of radiant energy surges from a magic staff, striking the shadowy enemies. Karnak charges forward and unleashes a powerful energy attack with his glowing sword against the spectral enemies. A female knight in dark armor freezes in panic as she realizes imminent danger. A powerful sword attack arcs toward the distant figure as someone urgently shouts a warning to dodge. A powerful purple energy attack strikes the protagonist, leaving him wounded and shocked. Sarati cries out in panic for Lord Karnak as rain pours down. A cloaked figure collapses and disintegrates into blue particles as two others watch in a dark cavern. After narrowly escaping danger, the man catches his breath while several cloaked figures and a woman with a glowing sword stand ready in the cavernous chamber. Two cloaked men wait in a swirl of magical energy, preparing for Barrows to return. A furious girl charges at a blue-haired figure, swinging a glowing purple energy sword and vowing to kill everyone. Magical beams tear through the battlefield, scattering cloaked figures in bursts of energy. Realizing the enemy was an illusion, the armored woman urgently searches the cavern for the missing leader as her anxious companion calls out. A blue-haired young man hides behind a rock and urgently signals for silence while watching someone approach. Someone is called out for hiding nearby. Illusions shield them as they take cover behind a rock from the onslaught of glowing purple attacks. Someone worries about how much longer Rapunzel can keep fighting without rest. A weakened figure kneels on the ground as the others observe, noting that her fading aura signals she may collapse soon. Low on mana and fearing defeat before their ally returns, the two crouch behind a rock to strategize their next move. Amid the aftermath of a fierce battle, the protagonist hesitates to relinquish his control over the fallen warrior's souls while others react in shock to his inner turmoil. Sarati recoils in shock as she suddenly realizes a looming threat. A lone figure braces for impact as a relentless barrage of magical swords descends from above. Startled by the sudden appearance of the arc projection, the two quickly scan their surroundings for danger. A figure steps forward in the darkness, urgently calling out to check if Sarati is still alive. Karnak bursts onto the scene in a surge of magical energy, urgently calling out to Barrows. In the dark cave, one figure confronts another about arriving late, while a third quietly observes, as tension rises. A young man braces himself and summons a powerful purple aura, preparing to unleash his hidden strength. One character checks on the sword wielder, warning about the weapon's dangerous influence, while another reassures everyone that the situation is under control. A monstrous figure unleashes a menacing power as three alarmed onlookers brace themselves. A shadowy armored figure violently pins an opponent by the head, stopping any attempt to escape. Barrows manages to control the cursed sword while his companion, after checking on him, feels relieved. Karnak takes charge of the dark projection, while the group assigns Sarati to protect the young master as they prepare for the coming threat. Barrows steps forward and confronts the glowing opponent, readying his enchanted sword. A defiant warrior brandishes a cursed, purple-flamed sword, preparing to confront his accuser. Two opponents collide mid-air as their glowing swords crash together in a burst of energy. Two opponents unleash powerful energy attacks that collide violently at the center. Two men collide in a violent surge of magical power, both struggling to overpower the other. A powerful magical attack crackles through the air as two figures clash in a storm of energy. Karnak swings his sword and releases a massive wave of glowing purple energy. A white-haired man unleashes a surge of crackling energy, blasting his opponent across the shattered battlefield. Karnak blocks a powerful, glowing sword strike with his weapon in the midst of a fast-paced battle. Karnak raises a glowing sword and unleashes a powerful magic technique. Karnak descends and releases a devastating energy strike with his glowing sword. A colossal, glowing serpentine entity surges forward as a lone figure braces with a sword amid swirling energy. A lone figure stands firm with a glowing sword, facing a massive summoned dragon that looms before him. A furious character unleashes a devastating energy slash that shatters the ground. A colossal, radiant purple bird-shaped energy bursts forth, overwhelming the area and startling everyone below. A teal creature and a pink creature unleash their ultimate powers as they collide in a swirling vortex of energy. A massive explosion detonates between the combatants, knocking one back in pain as the other presses the attack. Kneeling and breathing heavily, she channels a desperate surge of power through her glowing sword. Two figures confer urgently as one warns that Raphael is rapidly weakening. He pauses, his eyes sharp with determination as he prepares to confront the challenge ahead. Barrows grips his sword tightly as its power steadily fades. Panting heavily, the protagonist grips a glowing sword as two figures watch from behind, sensing a surge of power. A sudden realization reveals the true reason behind the strange actions, prompting urgent questions about its potential benefit to the group. Two figures discuss the legend of Raphael's soul being split to guard Necropia's doors as a ghostly armored entity looms nearby. One figure explains that each fragment of her soul was given a separate command, and when they reunited, the commands merged, as a monstrous stitched figure stands in the shadows. A powerful knight, unsettled by sudden new orders, stands alone before a massive door. He realizes the three distinct orders have dangerously merged. A figure with glowing red eyes commands others to target and kill the Death King's closest allies. One character angrily questions the other's judgment after a costly mistake, while the other admits fault and focuses on dealing with the consequences. Karnak cautiously suggests that they might have found a solution. As magical energy crackles between them, one character proposes healing each part of her split soul to subdue her. Karnak hesitantly channels healing energy, unsure if he can help. A figure stands within a glowing magic circle, chanting to summon spiritual energy while another person watches cautiously. Two combatants clash with glowing swords as energy bursts through the rocky cavern. A fierce attack catches the defender off guard, forcing him to block the strike in surprise. Karnak focuses his power to seal Raphael's memories and heal her soul as two figures anxiously watch in the glowing cavern. A furious assailant lunges from behind with a glowing sword, catching her target off guard as he shouts for someone to hurry. Karnak is hit by a surge of purple energy and staggers in pain. A colossal wave of purple energy surges forward, flooding the cavern with destructive force. Karnak desperately struggles to defend himself against his opponent's unpredictable, shifting blade. A purple-haired attacker lands a glowing, powerful strike, wounding the older male fighter. A young man recoils in shock as he is suddenly confronted by swirling, ominous green energy. A monstrous skeletal creature attacks, sending two terrified people into a panic. Karnak recoils in surprise as the spirit quickly escapes. Sinister green energy swirls around as the demonic sword appears, forcing the group to react in desperation. She smirks confidently, taunting her opponent as energy crackles behind her. Sarati slashes her glowing purple sword at Karnak, landing a powerful blow that makes him cry out in pain. A white-haired man recoils in pain, clutching his shoulder after being struck by a figure wielding a glowing purple weapon. A furious attacker swings a glowing purple energy sword at a screaming opponent, launching a deadly assault. A figure brandishing a glowing sword charges forward to protect an injured ally from an armored attacker. Sarati unleashes a powerful strike, channeling fierce energy into her attack. A furious character unleashes a desperate, glowing attack as blood and energy surge around them. A female warrior unleashes a devastating magical strike with her glowing weapon, catching her opponents off guard. Karnak unleashes a devastating, energy-charged sword attack with fierce determination. A red-haired warrior is knocked back by a powerful purple energy kick to the midsection. A character is hurled to the ground by a devastating energy attack. Two opponents clash swords in the pouring rain as one struggles to block a powerful, explosive attack. A fierce battle erupts as one fighter masterfully channels dark aura, overwhelming their opponent, while an observer watches in awe. A wounded young man in armor stares upward in shock, questioning how someone mastered a skill he never considered. The protagonist freezes in shock as he suddenly notices something alarming about his wounded arm. Engulfed in purple energy, Sarati slams her glowing sword into Karnak, knocking him down as he struggles to defend himself. She struggles to hold back the powerful, glowing attack, her strength nearly gone. A silver-haired warrior swings a glowing sword down at a surprised, red-haired opponent, forcing him to block the attack. A character is violently blasted by a surge of red energy, scattering debris in all directions. Surrounded by ominous energy, she charges forward and unleashes a desperate attack with her glowing sword. Karnak activates his aura, causing his sword to glow intensely in the cavern as he experiences its power for the first time. Sarati anxiously calls out for Barrows while looking upward in the dim, rocky surroundings. A powerful energy surges as a character stands within a glowing green magic circle, beginning to awaken a hidden force. Sparks fly as two opponents clash swords in a fierce, high-energy battle. Surging with purple energy, she lunges forward and unleashes a devastating attack. Two combatants collide in a fierce magical explosion as others watch tensely from the sidelines. A defiant character unleashes a burst of power, forcing through pain as energy swirls around them. Karnak observes that Rapunzel's aura is beginning to weaken as energy swirls and light explodes around him. A fierce fighter lands a powerful, red-glowing sword strike, forcing the opponent back as she struggles to defend herself. A blond man swings his glowing red sword down in a forceful attack as his purple-haired opponent struggles to block from below. A long-haired character is violently struck by a powerful attack, blood bursting from the impact. Karnak exclaims in victory as Rapunzel's soul collapses. Karnak unleashes a surge of swirling green magic as he casts a powerful spell. He braces himself and endures the force of the swirling magical energy as the ground cracks beneath him. A violent surge of green energy engulfs both figures, causing one to cry out in pain. A young boy screams in agony as dark green energy overwhelms him. A girl clutches her head and screams as a surge of green energy explodes around her. A decisive blow sends the opponent flying backward as the figure with the blazing red sword stands firm. The young man collapses from exhaustion onto the rocky cavern floor, battered and unconscious. Karnak, strained but relieved, urgently calls out for Barrows after narrowly succeeding. In a tense forest clearing, Sarati stands bleeding as a dark aura swirls around her, while two others approach and question if she has finally awakened her power. A confident man reveals his newly awakened power, stunning the two figures in front of him. He admits that his soul has been corrupted by dark necromantic powers, just as previously described. Barrows reacts in shock upon discovering that he was considered a necromancer. A sinister armored figure stands shrouded in darkness as the corruption of the soul is revealed. Inside the cave, the group discusses creating and storing battle aura in the body as an alternative solution. The group observes as the unconscious girl instinctively masters the demonic sword's power, impressing everyone with her natural talent. He swiftly demonstrates his newfound aura control, astonishing his companion with rapid progress. One character boasts about his former strength as the Death Knight Lord, while the other reacts with clear skepticism. The group discusses their next steps in the cave, with one character expressing excitement about using a new opportunity to strengthen their aura reserves. A disoriented girl suddenly wakes up, causing the group in the cave to react with alarm and uncertainty. He reassures his companion that he sealed her memories, so she will not remember them. Three smiling figures greet the newly awakened character and ask if they remember who they are. The young character stands silently, staring up at the glimmering lights with resolve. The group stands together, sweating nervously as they react to an unexpected situation. A startled girl demands to know who the group is, while the tense adventurers realize she did not recognize them. The young man warns his companion to keep their identities hidden while subtly checking if he has been recognized. A dirt-stained girl suddenly remembers her forgotten name in the cavern's shadows. The group panics as they realize the memory-sealing incantation has failed. Someone hesitantly asks if anything is remembered besides a name, while standing near a moonlit cave. A red-haired woman demands answers from a confused figure surrounded by unconscious bodies, questioning if he is responsible for the chaos and the sword in her hand. The injured young man stares upward in confusion, struggling to remember anything about himself except his own name. The group quietly observes the confused woman as they realize she only remembers her name. Two young men confront a silver-haired figure in a cave, unsure if they recognize each other. A character recoils in shock, struggling to process the unexpected attention. Sarati confesses her emotional pain as she looks down, visibly struggling with her feelings. The protagonist clutches his chest in distress as he realizes the cause of his pain. Karnak reels in shock as he learns that he and the other person are mortal enemies. A young girl timidly asks if she can stay by someone's side, her expression filled with hope. The group is caught off guard as a cute, glowing chibi bird version of Karnak appears, causing one companion to react with comedic distress and guilt. A message acknowledges progress toward understanding human emotions. The young man confronts the other person, insisting that they cannot quickly decide on a place to stay and questioning their understanding of the situation. The conversation is postponed as the shaken figure quietly agrees to wait until things are settled. Barrows anxiously asks the young master what he plans to do next as both stand tense before the looming threat. They decide to keep her close to monitor if the memory seal holds. They discuss finding a reason to keep her nearby while one of them encourages the other to rest. The group gathers in the morning camp, exchanging remarks about having slept well and feeling refreshed. The two young men question how they ended up in this situation after collapsing from exhaustion. Two armored guards receive shocking news outside a military tent. The group questions whether the girl has been possessed by the evil spirit of the demonic sword, but no clear evidence is found. The group confirms that the demonic sword has been mostly cleansed of corrupt energy, explaining the surge of power witnessed after its control ended. The group uncovers residual corrupt energy lingering on the demonic sword as magical green energy swirls around the anxious youth. Stone golems with glowing red eyes march forward, summoned to defend against the threat. A group gathers around the child as a robed figure uses a glowing staff to check the child's condition. The threat has vanished, and everyone has recovered. A priestly figure decides that the demonic sword will be sent to the Grand Temple for further investigation. A priestess announces that the unidentified child will be sent to a nearby temple as the adults in the room react with tension and resignation. A stern figure reminds an anxious subordinate of a previous order, prompting a tense acknowledgement. One character hesitantly asks if they can take in the child, surprising the other. Karnak confidently asks Sarati for permission to take on a talented swordsman as his squire. The woman agrees to the proposal, expressing support for what is best for the child as the boy reacts with visible joy. One man confidently assures the others that, under Sarathi's guidance, she will become an excellent knight. A cheerful young woman raises her arms and vows to try her hardest as her supportive group looks on. Two men begin a tense conversation in a dimly lit room. One person prepares to ask an important question, raising the tension in the room. One man questions the other's request to exclude him from the report about handling the demonic sword. One man calmly clarifies that he has no intention of taking credit or harboring envy, addressing the other's misunderstanding. A stern man, surrounded by swirling magical energy, acknowledges that the other person dealt with demonic sword Marita. A blinding surge of energy erupts as the group delivers the final blow. Karnak hesitates to join, explaining that his rapid promotions under the king have already caused enough trouble. A young man acknowledges the tension caused by someone's rapid promotion. Two men argue over whether to leave the truth about the evil spirit out of their report. A young man questions whether they should report that the king's order was deceived by a pagan trap. Two figures quietly agree to conceal what happened to protect their future plans. A man in a shadowy room confirms that Rapunzel will avoid public attention and the attack on the 7th Battalion will remain uninvestigated. Two characters express gratitude and promise to support each other during difficult times. Several people gather outside the headquarters as news spreads that demonic sword Marita has finally been stopped. Several people discuss how only the commander and vice commander of the 1st Battalion managed to stop Marita after the 1st and 7th Battalions fought. Two men discuss the impressive victory of the King's Order squadron and the resulting setback for the 7th Battalion. Barrows blushes and laughs with excitement as he celebrates finally becoming an aura user. Two in the group celebrate Jestrad's rising reputation, while the others signal it's time to leave. Karnak tells Sarati about his short vacation, and Sarati reacts with surprise at the news of another break. He states that he needs to check something with Rapunzel. Sarati expresses relief after worrying about leaving Rapunzel alone at the inn. He considers finding a new house to ensure the child's safety. In the southern part of Drunta, training instructions are given at a grand temporary mansion. A determined trainee practices sword swings under an instructor's supervision outside the building. Karnak hides behind a tree while Barrows approaches and questions his actions. A man is startled and pinned against a tree when his intense focus on a sword training session draws sudden attention. Karnak confirms that the memory seal is functioning correctly. The protagonist abruptly questions the other's reason for hiding. One character enthusiastically offers to help, but the others admit they feel too guilty to talk to her. The group discusses their suspicions and plans to verify how someone managed to travel back in time after them. Karnak realizes that another time regressor arrived years earlier, explaining the world's current distortion. The blonde man incredulously challenges the dark-haired man's claim, insisting that not even the three great mages could achieve such a feat without decades of effort. The figure on the throne dismisses the four martial kings as candidates because they are aura users. The dragon emperor lies defeated and enslaved by dark magic, raising the question of who possesses such power. Two figures recall their previous use of the Altar of Time regression as it radiates vibrant purple energy. Someone realizes their mistake was not handling something properly after casting magic. Karnak worries that changing the past might erase everything in the future. A character hesitates, plagued by uncertainty as a glowing crack pulses in the darkness. A cloaked figure stands before the glowing altar, pondering its unique power to affect timelines and regression. Three powerful figures, the Tower Master of Dawn, the Protector of the Fae, and the Empire's Royal Mage, are introduced as crucial allies. They discuss the possibility that someone has learned to use time regression by studying the altar. One young man blames the other for the problem, while his companion insists he is trying to fix it. The group concludes that sending the young swordswoman first was likely a test. He pauses outdoors, considering how to test his theory. A man reports to a reclining figure in the tower that he has identified the suspicious individuals. The Royal Mage of the Empire, one of the three Grand Mages and the Priestess of Destruction, is introduced in the report as a key figure. A dossier is opened to reveal the profiles of two high-ranking military leaders, introducing them as key figures. A suspicious man considers the possibility that necromancy was secretly used after the demonic sword was destroyed without any witnesses or lingering corrupt energy. Sarati questions the unseen figure about their intentions after realizing the evidence is not conclusive. Surveillance is assigned as caution is urged regarding two influential figures. Someone accepts a command without hesitation. Shocked by the news, she learns that the demonic sword killed hundreds of people in just a few days. One figure demands confirmation about a report, while the other nervously affirms the astonishing power of the demonic sword described within it. A man recalls how giving something to an orphan girl led her to spread the teachings of the proper god to hundreds. She questions why the demonic sword's power exceeds expectations, suspecting something unusual about its spirit. A woman orders a man to retrieve the demonic sword, but he hesitates, pointing out that it has already lost its power. A blond young man instructs someone to retrieve an item despite his doubts about learning anything from it. Sensing danger, she voices her unease in the dimly lit room.